The Book of Nine Secrets is a legend that was passed on all over the continent. In it, the Demon Emperor wrote down long-lost teachings, after which he entered everything he got into his book. The ancient Demon King is the strongest on the entire continent. All his knowledge was recorded in a book, which was subsequently lost. By practicing the knowledge from this book, a person could become the strongest, commanding the world in his hands. This book is now in the hands of the Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor Zhuo Yifan sat on his intimidating throne, with a red eye on the back. This information has become known to everyone, and now he is the target of all martial artists because of the book that is in his hands. On the flying island, which people flew around on their swords, there was a building where the emperor was sitting. One of them approached the master on the throne and reported bad news. Their detachment in the mountains was destroyed. The speaker's name was Zhao Cheng. He was a disciple of the emperor. He assumed that the 7 emperors would be here very soon. The emperor asked the young man not to panic, because even the 7 emperors would not be able to attack him. Yifan did not expect that they would be able to pass through his troops. We need to look at them. Looking down from his balcony, the emperor heard shouts from the troops to give them the book. Zhuo Yifan asked this bunch of insects how they even dared to come to him. He flew up, and they all shouted that they needed to be on the alert, because the demon emperor was approaching. As if flying through the bodies of enemies, Yifan stopped and was shouted at to surrender, but the emperor only grinned. He was glad that the rest of the emperors finally came, who demanded the Book of 9 Secrets from him, and they even promised to save his life for it. Suddenly, Yifan turned to the Sword Emperor and told him that he had been recognized as the 8th emperor, so even if they attacked him all together, they would not win this fight. Why did they come here at all? Seek Def, one of the emperors, with a beard and in a golden robe, asked the demon if he understood what position he was in at all. He is the enemy of the entire Holy Land, so does he really think that there is no one stronger than him? Another emperor said that this book is a relic of the ancient emperor of the Holy Land. Behind him, Zhao Cheng told the master that this would not lead to anything good, because in front of them was the strongest emperor of the Holy Land. Zhuo Yifan grinned. The enemy of the whole Holy Land. How, even being an enemy to everyone, he will destroy them all? The disciple tearfully asked the master to just give up, because it was time to die. And then the demon emperor abruptly turned around and suddenly realized that his disciple was a traitor. He leaked all the information about the location of the Book of 9 Secrets. He raised Zhao Cheng, taught him everything, so why did he betray him? The disciple behind his back replied that even if he was his teacher, he should not have used that book alone. Having received the power, he would forget about the disciple in the blink of an eye. He didn't even let him look at her, as if Zhao Cheng was a complete stranger to him. The emperor was perplexed. Did the disciple betray him just because of that? But he replied that, whatever it was, he could think about him whatever he wanted. But now that there was no way for the emperor to escape, he should think about what he had taught him. The demon emperor had raised Zhao Cheng since childhood, but he thought so narrowly that there was no room for trust in his heart. Then the demon emperor laughed and said that now he would destroy this book with him, so that no one would get it at all. The other 7 emperors suddenly realized that Yifan was going to self-destruct. In the next second, the emperor lit up with a bright yellow flash, and his soul seemed to fly away from his body. There were dead bodies lying on the ground, in the forest, among the trees. The young guy seemed to be struck by lightning, and he opened his eyes. The soul of the emperor moved into the body of a young man. He began to examine him, arms, legs. The emperor did not expect that he would be reborn in the body of this boy. Suddenly, the guy turns around at the noise from behind the bushes, from where fierce wolves come out. The boy shouts at them to get away, and in response the animals only growl. Birds from the trees quickly darted into the sky while the predators were getting away. Not far away, a man was sitting on the ground and leaning against a tree. He asked Zhuo Fan to help him. The guy didn't know the man, but it was clear that the owner of the new body definitely knew him. This man's strength is at the 2nd level, which was nice because it can be used. Zhuo Fan went to the man in order to absorb his strength. He put his hand to the man's head and he realized that it wasn't Zhuo Fan at all. So who is he then? The kid replied that he was absolutely right. He was not Zhuo Fan. He is the demon emperor Zhuo Yifan. In the next moment, there was a withering touch. The man shouted to the whole forest. Later, when it was already light, the boy sat on the grass and reasoned that in the Book of 9 Mysteries it is written that the withering touch is the highest demonic technique that sucks the soul and strength of the victim to become stronger. However, the practitioner must train hard to use such a technique without harm to his health. Therefore, first you need to form dark energy in the body and then completely absorb it. Only one skeleton and a skull remained of the man. It's already morning. The guy didn't think that absorbing the soul of that man would take so long. Suddenly his hand began to sparkle and the guy shot lightning into a large stone, which also began to glow like everything around. The guy made a promise to the Sword Emperor and Zhao Cheng that he would be back soon, and when he returns to the Holy Land, it will be the end for all of them. The guy jumped very high and noted that the new body had risen from 0 to the 5th level. It looks like it will take him a long time before he can return to any land. The guy sat down on a tree branch and heard a strange sound. A bunch of people gathered below, arguing among themselves. A dark-haired man in uniform, whose name was Pan Tongling, the head of the guards of the Luo family, held a sword in front of him and told the Sun family that they were traitors because they had been deceived. The rival, Sun Guangjia, the butler of the Luo family, said that in memory of the fact that they worked together all these years, he warns Pan to give up better. The girl who stood next to Pan Tonglen replied to the man that the dragon's paw is a spiritual martial art of the Luo family, which has been passed down from generation to generation, and they will never give it up, even if they die. A little boy who was standing nearby told his sister not to try to stop him, because he would kill these traitors. All this time, Zhuo was sitting in a tree and watching the exchange. It's not surprising that the Luo family has problems. It is obvious that they are dealing with bandits. Something stirred up inside and the guy could not understand what kind of relationship he was connected with this family. He'd better get out of there as soon as possible. Quickly jumping down from the tree, the boy did not understand what was happening. His heart suddenly ached with a dull pain and Zhuo squatted down. What happened? Is this really the result of using his techniques? So his magic doesn't fit? Does this mean that this body is not suitable for cultivation? Is this child's body just useless trash? His heartbeat is stable, meridians are normal, and breathing is fine. In general, everything is fine. So what's wrong with him then? Suddenly the guy abruptly opened his eyes and climbed back up the tree. Of course, right after he saw Mrs. Luo's face, the pain in his heart disappeared. On the other hand, when he leaves her, the chest starts to hurt a lot again. The boy realized that it was all the magic of the heart. If a practitioner is exposed to the magic of the heart, then it is like a curse. The magic of the heart does not allow the practitioner to act freely, and if he resists, then only death awaits him. First you need to synchronize your memory with the memory of this boy, and see why this heart magic works. The boy's memories flooded in like an avalanche. His father sacrificed himself for the 7 Lo, and now they are his family. In the next memory, the mistress protected the boy from the servant and shouted that Zhuo Fan should not be offended because he was part of their family. Then Uncle Pan called the boy stupid and too small to fight. He will definitely teach him everything, but later when he grows up. The kid promised then that he would work hard and eventually become the strongest, and then he would be able to protect his mistress and the entire Luo family. Then someone shouted about the approach of bandits, that it was necessary to protect the mistress and the master, that it was necessary to kill everyone and not let anyone escape. They shouted that the head of the Luo family was dead. Then Xiao Tan, barely alive, lay on the lap of his mistress, who begged him to stay conscious. Through the pain and blood, the boy asked her to run away with the young gentleman as soon as possible. He really hates himself for being such a weakling because he couldn't protect the Luo family. Zhuo Yifan realized that this kid cherished this family and his mistress very much. He wanted this family to flourish, and as long as he resisted this will, the magic of the heart would slowly kill him. Damn, does this mean that the demon emperor should remain a servant for the rest of his days? It's better to die than to be like this all my life. He's the demon emperor of the Holy Land, and now he has to serve such a small family. Out of frustration, the guy hit a tree with his fist and all the birds that were sitting on it soared into the air, and thereby attracted attention to himself. A bunch of people turned around at the noise. The lady thought that help had arrived, but Pan refuted the guesses. It can't be, because there's no one left anymore. Zhuo Fan came out of the shade of the dense trees and told his mistress to give up this spiritual technique. What's wrong with giving it away? He doesn't want her to die because it would be a huge loss for the entire Luo family. The mistress was surprised when she saw the guy. She thought he was dead, didn't she? The guy asked her, isn't it wonderful that he was able to survive? Zhuo Yifan noticed that he was the weakest among all the bandits at the 6th level. Sun asked who he was and what he was doing here. Perhaps 15 years of slavery had driven him mad. Everyone standing nearby laughed. The guy realized that Sun Guangjia has a much larger volume of AI than others. And now, with his current strength, this will be a life and death battle. The Luo family stood and thought that this guy needed to be taught discipline, and Pan got angry at all. This kid is really a fool. Another said that the kid is scared, that's why he's talking this nonsense. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan continued to talk about how they were already on the edge of the abyss. So why do they need to protect this technique? The girl screamed at him and asked him not to talk nonsense. He must get out of this place immediately. Sun laughed angrily from the kindness of the mistress, who even now is trying to protect her faithful servant. Then the girl asked if he would let the guy go. He just laughed and said that it was not possible. First the mistress has to kill this stupid child and then everyone else. Loyal subject Sunya understood the order and began to carry it out. Zhuo Yifan realized that the jock is at the 7th level and he must defeat him at all costs. He only has one chance. The bully swung at the guy and shouted to him that he was already dead. The guy was able to restrain the sword that flew at him and restrained this attack. Everyone around was very surprised by this. The guy has to figure out what to do next, and with his eyes he found the mistress. He has to protect her and her little brother, but it's so troublesome. Zhuo just walked up to the girl and took her and her brother in his arms, like a sack of potatoes, and the next second he just ran away. Sun ordered his men to hurry up and catch up with the boy while the defeated fighter was lying on the ground and moaning in pain. Some guy ordered his men to stop Sun's gang because they can't be allowed to pursue their mistress. At this time, the mustachioed Sun Guangjia got angry because some damned boy dared to destroy his grandiose plan. Therefore, he would not let him escape so easily, and when he catches the guy, he will break all his bones and only then let the boy die. The mistress screamed and screamed for the guy to finally let her go. She can't leave her comrades in trouble. They urgently need to go back. Suddenly, the kid shouted to this despicable slave to finally let his sister go. Tired of listening to these screams, Zhuo threw the girl to the ground. She kept insisting they should go back because they can't let the guards of the Luo family lose their lives because of them. Leaving, the young man only said that if she wanted to go, then let her go already. But will she be able to defeat these bandits when she returns to the battlefield? Zhuo was still carrying the boy in his arms. The enemies are already looking for them. If they want to die, then let them fool around, let them go to the meeting then. The boy continued to swear at the cursed slave. And how dare he talk to his master? He must immediately put the boy on the ground so that he and his sister could return back. Zhuo Fan called the little one a stinker and said that if he didn't shut up right now, he would give the boy a kick in the ass. In response, only wild yelling and swearing. But the guy suddenly smiled and the boy froze in disbelief. Then he threw it to his sister, who said it was too much. The guy replied that it was only a small punishment and it was much better than the young gentleman dying in her arms. And then the guy asked her if there was a shelter nearby. The girl humbly replied that there were several farms on the square, but there was no shelter there. There is a misty forest on the west side of Black Wind Mountain, and most likely the bandits don't know that area. The guy suggested she just go there and ask the girl to keep her brother in check. Looking after the guy, the girl promised herself that she would definitely punish him as soon as everything was over. Walking to the mountain, she told the girl that there was a misty forest in front of them. The fog appeared there many years ago and fewer people can enter and exit there. Her father had told her that the head of Black Wind Mountain was very strong, no weaker than himself. But for decades, both sides have done nothing and she does not know why now the bandits suddenly attacked them so suddenly. The guy only laughed maliciously in response and said that this was a good place. The girl told Zhuo Fan to leave with her brother while she distracted the attention of the bandits. But the guy refuses such a tempting offer. He doesn't know the local area, and if she doesn't go with him, then there's no way he can take care of her brother. And if she leaves, he will immediately kill this child. The kid got angry again, but Fan didn't seem to notice it and continued to say that if they left now, it would still be certain death. They have to take care of their lives, which were saved by their own people, because their lives are very valuable. They had better destroy Sun Guangjia and his squad immediately. The girl screamed and asked if the guy was crazy. Does he really think he can beat them so easily? After all, Sun has a huge stock of AI, and 4 of his best experts are with him. What kind of nonsense is this despicable slave talking at all? The boy is in his repertoire. The girl said that even if he teamed up with Pan Tonglen, they were not their opponents. What then can the guy do in this situation? The brunette replied that that pile of garbage is nothing compared to him. However, he and his brother can listen to his plan or surrender to the bandits. The choice is only for them. Before the bandits caught up with them, the guy asked the girl for a moonstone, because the last hope of the Luo family is in her hands. Then the girl took off a green ring from her finger and threw it to the guy, not forgetting to mention that it was an ancient family heirloom. And if he lies to her, then the girl will not let him just get away with it. Zhuo Fan advised her not to take everything to heart and said he would be back soon. While he was walking deep into the forest, the young master informed his sister that this slave had become very arrogant, and she should teach him a lesson. The mistress replied to Yunhai that although this slave does not respect them, he helped them. And it's much better than those who are silent and harming, and they should be grateful to the guy. The girl did not understand what was going on with Zhuo Fan. He seemed to have changed. At this time, the guy was walking in the woods and saying something. Qinglong is the spirit of the east, Beiyu is the spirit of the west, Juk is the spirit of the south, and Xuanwu is the spirit of the north. Oh, the heavenly unicorn that aspires to the empty sky. There is a huge number of natural objects to get off, from which you can create a huge array. The guy will turn this place into a second Tian mountain. Zhuo made strange hand movements and ordered the 9 ghost gates to open. Then a quartet of evil spirits will appear and the ring will activate. Something strange began to happen around and the lady called her brother to see it. The forest was enveloped in a purple vortex and in the next moment the fog disappeared. Zhuo Fan appeared behind them unnoticed and the girl asked him what was going on and did he do it all now. The brunette only calmed her down because there is no need to fuss once again. He ordered the gentleman to follow him, because he would teach the girl magic shackles and other spells, and when the bandits were here, she would be able to twist them and kill them. The girl was in shock. Is there a way to defeat them? The array placement method is something more valuable than martial arts in this world. The guy walked ahead along the path while the girl looked at the arrays. This first level array is the secret art of the Eisenman family. The other array also has hundreds of thousands of linjai that cannot be measured in price. The guy was just a servant, but he was able to form an array so easily. She was about to ask how he did it all, but the guy interrupted her and told her not to worry. He has set a limit and now he will teach her. You just need to squeeze until they die. At that time, in another part of the forest, the speakers informed Sun that the refugees had entered the misty forest. Pan Tongling, who was tied up, started shouting at him to kill him right now, otherwise he would avenge those who died. The mustachioed man said that if he kept the man captive, his mistress would do whatever he asked. And since they are hiding in the forest, they need a guide who knows the terrain of the misty forest well. And that's why Pan will be a guide, because the kind heart of his mistress will not let him die. Pan swore that Sun couldn't just use him to threaten his mistress. Suddenly everyone noticed that someone was sitting under the tree. Sun recognized the guy Zhuo, who killed his fat man. Zhuo greeted me nicely and said that he had been waiting for everyone already, and he is sitting on the ground in a relaxed position. Sun replied to the guy that he must be very brave to meet him face to face, and ordered his men to kill the guy as soon as possible. Zhuo Fan only grinned at this. Zhuo Fan was attacked with a knife in the hope of killing the guy. These 2 gentlemen are now paralyzed and are in his hands. And so, when the sword was almost at the guy's neck, Sun suddenly ordered to stop. Is what the guy said really true? Is it true that the guy has them in captivity? The man was very doubtful. Then the guy offered Sun Guanjia to make a deal. Hearing these words, the mustachioed man reluctantly became interested. Zhuo said that he was handing over 2 people to them, and in return they should guarantee his safety. The bandits were surprised. Then Sun asked the boy why he betrayed the Luo family, to which he received only laughter and a counter question in response. He's also very curious. The mustachioed man only chuckled in response. Zhuo Fan said that people shouldn't dig their own grave. Now that the Luo family has been defeated, he won't be able to rebuild the whole family alone. Therefore, he uses the lives of 2 people in exchange for his own. It's common sense, so why should he seek death? Now the girl and her younger brother are at one end of the thread. However, there are a lot of forks along the way and only one Zhuo Fan will be able to distinguish them. Sun Guanjia appreciated the guy's idea to use a thread as a safety net. Thanks to this, they will easily find the lady and her brother and will also be able to find their way back from the misty forest. It's also interesting. In the end, after thinking everything over carefully, the man accepts Zhuo Fan's offer and hopes very much that the guy will not deceive him. He only assured that he was very honest with the man. The mustachioed man replied that he had no confidence in the guy, and then he laughed out loud. The boy, too. It's time to go to work, so it's time for the brunette to show the way. Curses and name-calling rained down after the guy, because he betrayed his master. People believed him, and he betrayed them so easily. And it's also Sun Guanjia, just a fucking bastard. Pan shouted that even if he died, he would curse them all his life. Zhuo Fan, who was walking in front, suddenly stopped abruptly, which aroused Sun's suspicion. Did they really come to the very place where the guy was leading him? The young man turned around a little and said that he had brought the man to the road of Longquan to kill him. The man instantly got angry and shouted words to the guy to die. He stretched out his hand to him, but the brunette seemed to have disappeared. Sun ordered his men to quickly find their way back. But the red thread was cut, and besides, Pan Tongling was also missing. Sun Guanjia was terribly angry that everything did not go according to plan. And how did this guy just dare to deceive him? Did he really think that this misty forest could stop him? Let him just wait, and the man will kill him. The sky seemed to light up in red and the laughter of the guy who mocked the man sounded around. After all, he would never have a chance to kill Zhuo again. The man did not understand why the fog suddenly turned red and what happened at all. He shouted to his men to be on the alert and look around carefully. But then he turned back and saw only emptiness behind him. Where did all his people go? They all suddenly disappeared, as if they had never been there. Isn't that an array? At this time, Zhuo Fan returned to the girl who was sitting inside the glowing circle. She informed the guy that everything was under control and everyone from the guards had been rescued, including Pan Tongling. And then the girl got up and asked what he was going to do next. The young man leaned towards her and replied that his next step was to help her and her younger brother. He abruptly grabbed her wrist and ordered her not to move, hugging her slightly from behind. He whispered in her ear to keep her still and concentrate. Zhuo controlled her hand and pressed it to the ground, and the next moment she felt an incredible force. And then the guy ordered her to kill people. The circle suddenly became bigger and brighter, and some black spirits flew from the sky at the bandits. They pierced the chest of their victims, one after another. And when one of the spirits flew at Sun, he tried to grab him with his hand. But the pain was so hellish that the man fell to the ground and howled in pain. His eyes suddenly turned red, and he was just wondering who Zhuo Fan really was. At this time, the guy was standing in the shade of the trees and said rather to the void that he was going to hell, and asked his king there. While Sun Guanjia was still trying to figure out who the guy really was, Zhuo Fan was summoning evil spirits to himself. In the end, he fiercely ordered, and from a powerful blow of force, the girl was thrown back a little. Did the guy lose control of his array? The guy performed a great demonic transformation while the black spirits circled and circled over his head. With each spirit, he reached more and more power levels, and eventually reached the peak level of the base of the body. His AI was almost at zero due to the use of this powerful technique. And the more such breakthroughs there are in the future, the more valuable his achievements will become. When everything calmed down a little later, the guy ordered himself to get ready. This time, the pulse during the breakthrough has become much more stable and the energy is 3 times more than with a normal level rise. Zhuo Fan raised his hand up and caught the rays of the sun that broke through the thick crown of the tree. Now that he has broken through, he definitely needs to practice martial arts. His mistress called him behind his back and asked where he had been. And why did the array suddenly get out of control? The young master noticed that the fog had disappeared. Zhuo Fan replied that most likely his disappearance was due to the fact that Linshin was too small, and that's why the array became unstable, and then completely out of control. The guy checked, and can say with certainty that Li Sunyi and his men are dead, and fortunately they were not able to escape. The girl suddenly looked to the side and saw that Pan Tongling was wildly angry. For a while, he and Zhuo Fan looked into each other's eyes. But then Pan suddenly fell to his knees and asked the guy for forgiveness for having dared to insult him for his act before. All because the man did not know that the guy was preparing a trap for those bandits. And if the guy wants to hit him, then let him do it and the man will not resist. Even if Zhuo wants to take his life, he won't resist it. Zhuo Yifan noticed that this Pan Tongling is very loyal. If only Zhao Cheng had such loyalty, then he wouldn't have got into this strange situation. The guy leaned over to Pan Tongling and said that he was the head of the Luo family's security, and the guy was just a servant. So how dare he punish a man? Besides, they wouldn't have been able to win without the lady's help. Hearing this, Pan jumped up and stared at the blonde with shock. He asked her if it was true, and having received a positive response, the man raised his head to him and began to ask for the blessing of the gods for the Luo family. And now they have the power of brothers Yuo. The dawn of the Luo family is definitely close. The guy asked the mistress what their new plan was, since now nothing threatens them. Pan said that they had originally planned to take the lady to Feng City to the Kai family. The man decided that the guy should know that the son of the head of the Kai family is marrying their mistress. The guy thought about it. The Kai family is one of the largest families in Feng City, and if they hand over Lady Luo to them, then perhaps the magic on his heart will disappear, and then he will finally be free. The guy got ready and said it was time for them to move out to the Kai family. The guy promised that he would definitely come back. The servant was kneeling in the middle of the path that led to the throne on which the man was sitting. Torches were burning all around. The atmosphere was basement and murderous. The man who was sitting with his elbows on his knees asked the servant if Sun Guanjia had coped with his task. The servant began to report to Mr. Shaijai that Sun Guanjia had failed the task, and now a group of people is in Feng City. The gray-haired man laughed and ordered her to continue watching the Lord and her guards. The servant obeyed and ran away from the oppressive atmosphere. Meanwhile, Mr. Shaijai got up from his throne and walked over to the curtain, pushing it aside. Behind the curtain lay the master, an old man with a long gray beard and a bald head. His eyes were open, but he was lying like a corpse. The gray-haired man approached the master and asked him not to worry, because very soon he would meet his old friend. Only he has to wait until he gets the dragon's paw, and then the man will reunite the old man with his brothers. The master continued to lie quite still, and only his eyeballs seemed to turn red. Malicious laughter rang out all around. 5 days later, the group arrived in Feng City. It was very beautiful around, the river was flowing, there were people everywhere. The girl called her brother Linhai and told him to look around. Standing slightly behind the lady and the younger master, Pan asked Zhuo-fan how he felt, because he had never been to Feng City. The guy thought to himself that this lousy town was no different from an ordinary village, but in fact he just ignored the man's question and asked if they were going to the Kai family. The blonde turned back and said that they could not go to them all at once, and therefore only she and her brother would go first, and then they would come for them. Pan agreed that there was not much way out, so they would not bother them. And the guy a little behind just chuckled and said that it was all very troublesome. Then Pan Tongling turned to him and said that if they went now, the Kai family would think they were some kind of ignoramuses. So, they can go to the hotel for now and have a good rest there. Zhao decided to leave everyone and told the guys to go first, and then they would all meet together on the spot. But first he needs to walk around the city. The boy shouted to Zhuo, as always calling him a despicable slave, that he had come to this city only thanks to his older sister. Then so he has to wait for his future son-in-law to come here, and then Zhuo will have to speak to him with due respect. Otherwise he will simply teach him a lesson. The guy kicked the boy in the back and said that while he was waiting for his son-in-law, the guy would teach the scoundrel a lesson right now. The boy fell to the ground with all his strength, and his sister immediately rushed to pity him. She turned to the servant and asked why he was acting like a child. The brunette replied that her brother was the first to start all this. They all just have to calm down, and if they suddenly decide that the guy is unpleasant to them, then they should just get rid of him. The girl just gasped noisily and looked after the departing guy. Pan followed the brunette and told him that no matter how much the boy infuriated him, he was still his master. How dare he kick him? Zhuo-fan rudely asked the man to shut up and continued on his way. Suddenly I heard some arguments nearby. A long-haired girl stood near the master's shop and told him that although the seller was a master of jade, he was selling a fake. The man was outraged. Does this girl even have the slightest proof that the jade is a fake? It's pure jade. He had to work very hard to get it. The girl agreed that she is not very well versed in stones, but she has seen real jade with her own eyes and she is absolutely sure that the man is selling a fake. The salesman laughed. She's only seen real jade once, and she's already starting to say that she can distinguish real jade from a fake. Well, this little girl is talking nonsense. The brunette continued to remain calm. She repeated again that she had actually seen a real jade and would be able to distinguish it from a fake. Then the men rudely asked her to hurry up and get away from his shop and not get into someone else's business. Suddenly, Zhuo-fan got into an argument and told the man that his jade was really a fake, and he has a way to prove it. The man got angry and started shouting where this guy came from and why he says his stones are fake, and how is he going to prove it at all. It seems to a man that the guy is just talking some nonsense. All his jade is real. The brunette said that if the seller does not believe him, then why not check it then? A little later, curious people gathered around the table, on which there were bowls of water. The guy explained that the liquid in the bowl, which everyone present can make, is sulfur and rock sediment. And if jade is soaked in this liquid, then they will be able to find out whether it is real jade or not. The seller agreed to try. He was determined to win this argument. A man throws a pebble into the sulfur and red particles depart from it. The man shouted in shock how this could happen at all and why. The liquid in the bowl turned bright scarlet, began to boil and bubble. Zhuo-fan asked onlookers not to be surprised, because this piece of jade was originally a fake, and that's why it started to fade as soon as it hit the water. The guy asked the man to admit that the lady was absolutely right from the very beginning. The seller was swearing, and the lady said that this fake jade is only equal to 3 spiritual stones. Suddenly a stone hit the back of the man's head and he furiously turned back. Who dared to do such a thing at all? It turned out that they were people. They attacked the man like vultures and started throwing stones at him, demanding to return their money for fake stones. The man cursed and blamed the damn kid for everything. And while he was being crushed by a crowd of people, he promised to get to the brunette and definitely take revenge. The girl standing a little behind Zhuo said that the young master was really very good, and she herself knew that the stone was not real, but she simply could not prove it. Zhuo replied that he also felt something similar, and then asked the girl if she really wanted to buy jade. After all, it was worth 3 whole spiritual stones. The brunette replied negatively and said that she only wanted to show people to which liar they give their money. After all, the true price of such jade is absolutely nothing. And then the girl went in the other direction altogether. Pan Tongling said she was very strange. Meanwhile, Zhuo thought that the lady's eyes were very poisonous, but fortunately for the guy, he has enough experience to resist them. The brunette abruptly turned to Lao Pan and ordered him to urgently return to the hotel and bring the guy 10 spiritual stones, because the guy has a very important case. The man was not happy with such an order, but after a while he shed tears for the money. Zhuo Fan went to work alone and walked between the buildings where the old man from the shop was waiting for him behind a tree. The man came around the corner and called out to the guy, and for some reason he called him boss and said he was looking for him. The man was surprised. Is this guy not afraid of him at all? The boy told him that he wanted to look at the jade that the man had sold before and then buy it for 10 spiritual stones. The old man's eyes lit up from such a sum, but for some reason he suspected something was wrong. The guy knows that the stone is not real, so why does he want to spend as many as 10 spiritual stones to buy it? That lady from the market just said that it costs only 3 spiritual stones. The guy replied that even if it wasn't jade, it would be very useful to him. Maybe he can resell it at a higher price. The man said he now understands why the guy wants to buy the stone. All this certainly sounds tempting, but does the guy even know how much the man lost because of him? He is insulted to the depths of his soul, and his honor is trampled on. Does the kid really think he can get away with it so easily? 10 spiritual stones is too little compensation for everything that happened. Then Zhuo exhaled and asked how much the man wanted, and he replied that he wanted his life. At this moment, the seller's men jumped sharply from around the corners, holding swords in their hands. Zhuo Fan continued to stand calmly, not even blinking an eye. He really needs this deal because there are no ulterior motives. The old man shouted that it was all complete nonsense. Didn't he want to ruin his business? Then the guy has to pay for it. He must die. Then the brunette realized that the deal would not take place after all. The man ordered his men to kill the guy immediately, but everything happened so quickly that all the swords fell, and the man was now standing with red eyes and pointed into the void. He wants to kill the guy, but now he has only found his own stupid death, that he just walked past an old man who fell to the ground and grinned. After a while, the guy was already in some building and asked Lao Pan to guard the door and not let anyone inside. Then he closed the other side and stood in front of the table, where he put the fake jade that was purple. He raised his hand over the stone and energy began to radiate from it. And then everything began to sparkle, and the young man realized that he was not mistaken after all. It was fairy blood. Fairy blood, as a rule, is extremely rare, accumulating tens of thousands of types of pure blood, absorbing the aura of heaven and earth, illuminating the essence of the sun and moon. Fairy blood has been formed for more than 10,000 years. The yin and yang magic stone is an incredibly rare treasure, so it was very well appreciated by cultivators. According to the records of the secret book of the 9 mysteries, the blood of fairies can help in the creation of the blood child. And when such a child was born, it was endowed with incredible strength. The blood child can also help the cultivator with his blood. Thanks to her, the practitioner became so dangerous that even cultivators at the level of the emperor did not dare to provoke him. Oh, if in a previous life Zhuo Yifan could create this child. It would be very curious to look at the faces of people from the Holy Land. The guy dropped some of his blood into the stone, and the next second something happened. He had no idea that he would be so lucky. He's just so damn lucky. The stone began to vibrate. It was already dark outside the window, but the guy continued to stay behind the closed door. Sweat was already dripping profusely from his face, but he didn't care about it at all. He thought that if someone wanted to cultivate the blood child technique, then he should drop his blood on it. And until his spirit gets stronger, you need to mix your blood with the blood of the child until you feel his heartbeat. The blood from his hand kept dripping, and it was bad because the guy had lost too much blood. Zhuo Fan also started to feel dizzy. Will he now be able to use fairy blood to create a blood child? He only has one try, and if he gives up now, there won't be another chance. The next second, Zhuo just started coughing up blood, which wasn't very good. If he continues, then his life will be in danger. Should he give it up? If his soul disappeared, would this fairy blood mean anything? The guy had flashbacks of the emperors ordering Yifan to surrender. They demanded to give them the book of the 9 mysteries so that they would keep him alive. They said that this book is a relic of the ancient emperor of the Holy Land. Aren't these emperors just villains who only see benefits for themselves? And yet this disciple turned out to be a traitor. They all wanted Zhuo to die, but he's not going to die. To hell with everything. Who is he anyway? He's the magic emperor, the demon emperor, and everything they took from him, he will try to return. Gathering all his strength after the strange monologue, the guy focused on the blood of fairies. The pebble suddenly caught fire, and the guy couldn't believe that it finally happened. Now the divine level technique was finally mastered, and Zhuo took the stone in his hand. He raised his head up, spread his arms to the sides, and shouted joyfully. He was finally able to recreate the blood child. However, it was unexpected. Everything turned out to be much simpler than Zhuo imagined. And now that he has a blood child, the martial arts he will study next have already been determined. Some time passed, and morning came. Pan was sitting tired, and got up when Zhuo Fan finally came out of the door. The man asked if the guy had finished all his business. Kai Fu came to remind them. Zhuo asked Lao Pan if he had been guarding this door for 10 days. The man replied that he didn't want anyone to bother him. Then the guy sincerely thanked the man and said that he had done a great job. Pan asked if the boy had any difficulties and said that they needed to hurry up, because they could not let the young lady and master wait so long. The guy did not understand why Pan did not ask questions about what he had been doing all 10 days behind these closed doors. And then the man simply replied that it was none of his business, so he didn't ask. He doesn't want to know anything, and the guy has to tell everything himself when he's ready. They need to hurry to the mistress because they are already waiting. Zhuo Fan pursed his lips and was surprised at such unconditional trust, because he had never experienced such a thing in his life. After a while, they came to a posh estate, expected for one of the best families in Feng City. Suddenly, they were stopped by security and asked who they were and how dare they enter the Kai family residence. Pan, standing next to Zhuo, quickly introduced himself as a security guard of the Luo family, and then introduced the guy himself, saying that he was the butler of the Luo family, Zhuo Fan. The young lady of their family is a guest on this estate. Zhuo wondered to himself, when did he become the butler of the Luo family? Pan Tongling slightly bent down to the brunette and said in his ear that a few days ago people from the Kai family came and said that he was now the butler of the Luo family. Apparently, that was how the lady introduced him. And then Pan congratulated the guy on his new title. Zhuo wondered how he, the great demon emperor, could be an ordinary butler of such a small family. However, the Kai family guards don't look very friendly. Meanwhile, the guards examine the uninvited guests from head to toe. And again, people from the Luo family. 2 liars have already come, eating the Kai family. Well, let them pass. At this point, Pan Tongling suddenly became angry. Yes, how dare they say that at all? The man was suddenly dragged back, and Zhuo realized that what is the attitude of subordinates, then such is their masters, and most likely they treat the mistress the same way. So, this Kai family can't be trusted in any way. As they approached the small house with a thatched roof, Pan Tongling continued to resent the guards' treatment of their mistress and young master. It's so cruel. They didn't even show the slightest hospitality. Then Zhuo Fan said that they were treating their mistress and master like some kind of trash, nothing more. Then they entered this thatched house, which turned out to be even worse inside, shabby walls with cracks, and nothing but a bed. A sad young gentleman was sitting alone on this very bed. He did not expect to see these two here at all, and rushed into the arms of Pan Tongling, who began to apologize to the boy for being too late. Standing to the side, Zhuo Fan asked the kid what about his sister. Where is she anyway? Then the boy dejectedly replied that his sister had gone in search of a groom. The head of the Kai family asked her to terminate the marriage contract. The attitude of these people and what they are asking for. It's like an insult. Zhuo Fan grabbed the boy by the arm and dragged him to the exit so that he would take him to the mistress. And how did the Kai family dare to do this? At this time, the young lady was standing in the courtyard, insanely beautiful, with a pond and a beautiful gazebo, and watched her so-called fiancé, Xiao Tingji, who was talking to another girl. The blonde called out to him, and when the guy turned around, he told Luo Yunshin that he had nothing more to do with her from that moment on. In his eyes, from now on, he sees only the beautiful Yu Fei. The latter stood side by side and said with a grin that time flies very fast, and brother Xiao has not loved Luo for a long time. The person he likes right now is standing right in front of her. The girl laughed mirthlessly and suddenly yelled at the newlywed. She doesn't expect Tingji to break off the engagement. However, she hopes that he will be able to convince his uncle, and will remember the relationship of their families in the past. At least let him help the Luo family. The guy turned around and walked away, throwing in the last that her problems in no way concerned him. Luo desperately shouted after them that they had grown up together. Was it so difficult for him to help her family? She's begging, isn't she? Then suddenly Sister Yu Fei came up and slapped a juicy slap in the face of the blonde. She shouted at Luo to stay away from Kai Xiao Ting because he now belongs to her. And then she turned her head to the guy himself and said that he should stay away from this woman, and if she saw him with her at least once, she would never forgive it. The young man asked Yufei to calm down, because in his heart only she and the other girls are just garbage in his eyes. The girl hesitated for the sake of appearance, but eventually cooled her ardor a little. At this time, the blonde was frantically looking for ways out. What should she do now? Wiping hot tears from her cheeks, the girl screamed for help. However, it was only in her head, and therefore no one could hear her. The next second, Zhuo Fan ran past her and slapped both Kai Xiao Ting and Yufei on the cheeks with gusto. The victims asked who he was in general, and in response they heard that they were non-entities. How dare they contact Mrs. Luo? Xiao Ting realized that the guy who came was about the same age as him. However, his speed is simply incredible. They are both considered geniuses, but neither of them could react in time. This guy even managed to give them 2 slaps in the face. How could he have reached such a level? At this time, Zhuo was thinking that his demonic heart had already seen, as if, all the sufferings of this world. So why does he suffer so much because this little girl is being bullied? Despite all this, the guy has no reason to feel pain in his heart. These feelings are connected only with the former owner of this body. Damn heart magic. It looks like Zhuo will have to deal with the Luo family for a very long time. The guy approached the blonde and gently wiped the tears from her cheek and then took her to the exit from the garden. Yufei shouted after them and asked if they didn't think they could leave so easily after this guy hit them. Does Luo Yunchen think that she can just walk away from here? The blonde turned around and asked her rival what she needed. The brunette said that everything is very simple. She wants the 2 of them to kneel and bow to them 3 times. And then, so be it, she will let them go. Especially that guy. The blonde said that Yu was asking too much, and then Kai shouted so that Lo would not disgrace herself. If they don't get down on their knees, then let them not expect to be able to leave here. Lo must remember that she is not alone. She shouldn't let her brother lose his life. Then Pan Tongling intervened and said that this was too much. But the blonde just hugged her younger brother and sadly said that they all need to get down on their knees. This state of affairs did not suit Zhuo Fan. His eyes became furious, and then he rushed at Yufei and Kai Xiao Ting. He poked them in the face with his hand and both fell back with all their strength. The girl had blood on her forehead, and she looked so angry that it might seem as if she was about to explode. Now, it turned out that these 2 misunderstandings were kneeling in front of him, and not the other way around. Zhuo looked down on them, and damn him, Yu screamed that even if they all begged her to let them go, she wouldn't do it. And for that, she got hit in the face again. This time with a shoe. Pan and the young gentleman stood aside and looked at all this with their mouths open, and the boy was completely happy with this arrangement. Zhuo Fan asked if they wanted him to kneel. Do they really think they deserve it? Suddenly, an angry question was heard from behind about who dared to disturb the Kai family. Everyone turned around and saw a long-haired and mustachioed man rushing towards them at full speed. The beaten junior Kai was glad that his father had finally come. Zhuo Fan looked the man up and down with his unreadable gaze. Is this the head of the Kai family? The younger one started snitching, just like a little kid. He said that this arrogant guy was giving him nothing but trouble. Then Zhuo suddenly blurted out to the man that he had a level 8 skeleton tempering. And Kai Sr. couldn't understand how this boy could know his cultivation level just at a glance. He told Joe that he had a great eye, but still, who is he? The brunette replied that he was the butler of the Luo family. The man recently heard that the Luo family was rehiring a new butler, but he never expected that he would be so young. Plus, this guy turned out to be very mysterious, and therefore, a man should not provoke people unknown to him. But fortunately, now the man has connections with whom he has nothing to fear. Yufei suddenly turned to Uncle Kai and said that he should immediately punish that guy and the lady. Then the man turned to her, put his hand on the top of her head and asked her not to worry, because Uncle Kai was already here. And then he called Luo Yunchen and said that he had been kind enough to her and her younger brother, and if she didn't repay the debt, she would only create more problems for the man. And then Zhuo Fan got into the conversation, saying that it looks like the head of the Kai family, at his age, can still bully a little girl. And if there is anything else he wants to say, then let him tell the guy and not the young lady. And let him not pretend that he treats them well. They can continue to chat, but let them not forget about the problem with the marriage contract. Then Nastash agreed, because these guys create a lot of problems and the old man will not be very merciful. Now they will quickly understand everything. The man gave the guy a choice, fight or die. He feels the difference in strength. Pan said that the man's strength is at the 8th level of skeleton hardening, and it's just suicide. The girl begged her uncle to spare her younger brother, Yunhai, because he was not to blame for anything. At this time, Zhuo Fan replied that he would launch the attack first. The man was surprised. How does this boy even dare to attack him first? Kai put his hand forward and attacked the guy in response. But nothing happened because he had not yet managed to gather all his AI for a full-fledged strike. The guy was just lucky that he survived the man's attack. Zhuo replied that he never believes in luck because he believes only in strength. The man had blood on his hand while Zhuo was still talking, and besides, he should look at his son, who was trying to cope with the blood from his nose. Seeing this, the man asked Fan what he had done. He replied that he just wanted to show Elder Kai that he could take his son's life at any moment, so the man should be very careful. Sai the elder asked the brunette to stop, and said that he now believes him, because his son was already choking on his own blood. Zhuo grinned at this and turned to his side, saying that it was time for them to leave here. And finally he told Elder Kai that he gave him his word that if he ignored his warning, Fan would kill his son. When the group disappeared from view, Yu Fei came up to Uncle Kai and asked if he really let everyone go for nothing. The man replied that in the past, this old man was too lazy to release the beasts, but today he allowed the tiger to return to the mountains. If Zhuo Fan doesn't die as soon as possible, then he will threaten his family in the future. The girl hissed that if Uncle Kai was afraid to touch the boy, then the elders of her family were not afraid of him. And how did this guy just dare to hit her beautiful face? She would let them feel the consequences for insulting a member of the 7 imperial families. When Pantongling, Mrs. Luo and Zhuo Fan were walking among the houses, the guy asked Luo what she knew about the 7 imperial families. The girl was surprised for a moment. How does the guy even know about this? Only the head of the guard and the young gentleman did not understand what it was about. The girl began to say that they had previously been in Gyunzhuang and had nothing to do with them. But now they live in exile, and if they meet someone from the imperial families, they should avoid them properly, even if it is one of their dogs. Looking at the girl, Pantongling remembered that young Lady Luo was calm even when they encountered the Kai family, but now she looks very worried. The lady went on to say that the Luo and Kai families, no matter how strong they are still considered ordinary families. In the Tianyu Empire, during the founding of the Tianyu Empire, 7 ministers received a special invitation from the emperor, by which they could join the ranks of the imperial family. They have lands and power over other families, and to go against them is to go against the empire. That's what the 7 imperial families are like. Pan asked if there was anyone who could compare with the imperial families in this empire. Lo replied that they were inviolable and no one could do anything with them, and everyone knows about it. Standing behind everyone, Zhuo Fan asked if the Sun family was part of these families. The mistress did not understand why the guy suddenly asked about it. Then Pan said that if that woman was a member of the imperial family, the young lady would certainly have stopped him when he wanted to hit her. The guy said that the Sun family is related to one of the imperial families. Then the blonde asked him how he knew this. Zhuo Fan heard that girl, Yu Fei, shouting that they should feel the power of the 7 imperial families. Pan could not understand how such a thing could happen. Really, did they accidentally offend one of the imperial families? Ms. Luo abruptly grabbed the guy by the arm and dragged him towards the garden from where they had just returned, and said that they should immediately apologize to Miss Sun. But Zhuo pulled his hand out of the strong female grip and said that all this is absolutely useless, and if they go back, then only death will wait for them. Luo Yunchen was dejected by the whole situation. She didn't understand what they should do now. The attention of everyone was attracted by the younger Mr. Luo. He called Zhuo a brother, which he hadn't done before, and all because it was a matter of honor, because the guy saved them. And now Zhuo is like a brother to the boy, and he doesn't even mind the guy becoming his son-in-law. So, he has to save them one more time. The angry sister, who was standing a little behind, furiously ordered her brother to shut up so that he wouldn't talk such nonsense. Ignoring the last words, Zhuo asked if there were any other imperial families in this city, and the girl replied that there was a number 1 treasury in the Qianlong Pavilion. They are strong and very rich. The brunette approached the boy, stroked his head and invited everyone to rest, and tomorrow they will go to that pavilion to form their own alliance there. On the following day, the 4 approached the pavilion, at the entrance to which there were many guards. Everything looked very impressive, as expected from the imperial family. Even their guards looked strong and intimidating. One of them, by the way, stopped the guys and asked what brought them to this place and what their business was here. Then Zhuo politely asked the guards to inform the pavilion head that the lady of the Luo family really wants to meet him. The guards at this time wondered how this guy dares to talk to them without looking them in the eye. One of them told the guy that he had never heard of any Luo family before, and therefore he saw no reason to let them in, so they had better get away and not come back. The brunette was adamant and said that the man should ask his master, because he has no right to decide everything on his own. The guards were amazed at the impudence of some boy. The guy asked, "Is this how guests are treated in the Qianlong Pavilion? This is very disappointing." A girl came out of the gate who stopped this whole farce. The guards quickly bowed to her, fell to their knees and began to report to their mistress that strangers had come to cause them trouble. Looking at the girl who came out, everyone was shocked because she turned out to be the lady from the market who wanted to buy jade. She told the guards that she heard them talking and therefore ordered not to be rude to the guests. And then she looked at the brunette and said that finally they met. Zhuo thought this was a great chance for him, and he replied that it was unexpected to see Miss right here. The girl said that this lady Lung Nor is just doing some work in this pavilion. And then she asked the young man why the young gentleman came to this place. Then Zhuo Fan politely asked permission to introduce himself. He had heard that the Qianlong Pavilion was the #1 treasury in the entire empire, and so he was accompanying Lady Luo to sell something. The girl replied that the thing they want to sell should be checked by this lady first, and called them to come inside. When the company entered the gate, the two guards looked at each other in surprise. Did this kid seem to be a friend of the young mistress? No, this cannot be true in any layer. After all, how can a young lady be found in the circles of such a poor man? If those who enter do not meet the requirements, then they can easily pour out of here. And while they are inside, the guards should teach them a lesson, and especially that arrogant kid. For someone like him, he's pretty lucky to have dug up a piece of real jade somewhere. Meanwhile, the lady asked to see their treasures so that the treasury would appreciate them. Zhuo thought to himself that this lady doesn't seem sly, but she is very smart. And the only thing that matters is to decide on a business strategy. Although this lady is an elite, but in front of a guy she is nothing. Meanwhile, the girl laid out a bundle on the table and, if she is not mistaken, then she, standing to the side, Pan Tongling and Ms. Luo recognized the scroll that Zhuo Fan had drawn yesterday. The girl noticed that the mistress looked very serious, looking at him. Meanwhile, the lady rolled up the scroll and asked Mr. Zhuo Fan to name his price. The guy began to flatter Ms. Lung, because she is a real expert, so let her make a kick-out offer for both sides. The lady asked how about 100,000 spirit stones, and Pan and Lady Luo opened their mouths. However, Zhuo asked why only 100,000. Is Miss sure she's not wrong? The guy is not going to sell it at such a low price. The girl frowned. When Zhuo realized that the girl was not honest with him, he offered to stop the deal. However, Miss Lun objected and said that the scroll was just a sketch of a first-level array, and 100,000 spiritual stones were quite enough for that. In addition, it is also hand-drawn. This is not a jade shop where he can bargain. The boy laughed and asked the girl not to lie to him, but rather to quickly return this sketch of the array back to him. Not wanting to lose such a deal, the girl with gritted teeth offered 300,000 spiritual stones, but the guy was not bowed down. She's still not being honest with him. The girl made sure to herself that this sketch is really an array of the first level, but there are many formations in this sketch that the girl has never seen before. However, even if she loses a lot of money, she should definitely get this sketch. The damn boy really suspects her and doesn't want to give up. Emerging from her thoughts, the girl heard that the guy still demanded to return the scroll back. She told Lady Luo that this scroll was worth a maximum of 300,000 spirit stones, and within the empire, only they could buy it for that kind of money. They won't be able to get an offer of this kind anywhere else. The miss was belligerently determined to convince the mistress, since the young master could not. It was her only chance. She came as close to Miss Luo as possible, putting her hand on her cheek and said that this deal with the pavilion was very important. And naturally, Lo will be their VIP guest in the future. The pavilion will always be open to her. The lady was surprised. Wasn't it supported by them? She turned to Zhuo Fan and wanted to say something, but the guy quickly shut her up and turned back to Miss Long. He said that he is the butler of the Luo family, and he is in charge of all the affairs of this family. Therefore, the lady should immediately return his sketch. The brunette replied that unfortunately, he requires too much for such a sketch. She began to assure him about the reputation of the pavilion. The maximum price of this array is 300,000 spiritual stones. The guy got angry and said he thought the lady deliberately didn't want to give them the array, so she really couldn't understand. And then Zhuo asked if the master of this pavilion was here. The girl turned around sharply and asked what it was she could not understand. And then she suddenly appreciated his eyes, but told him not to be too arrogant. The kid apologized but said he wanted to meet the Qianlong Pavilion master. There was a hot tension between the guy and the girl for a couple of moments, but Miss Lung gave up first and said to wait on the spot, because she would call the master. Standing behind, Ms. Luo asked if they were insulting the Qianlong Pavilion. After a while, a gray-haired man with a long mustache and a beautiful robe came. It was Shen Yanlong Ju, who is the pavilion master in this city. As expected from Kai-Yanlong, they have a strong master. This person's cultivation level is higher than that of the head of the Kai family. The difference in strength is very large, and at the moment the guy can't even see the level of his cultivation. The man recognized the young lady from the Luo family, and she also greeted him with a bow. Then the man asked the guy if he was the new butler of the Luo family, and the man said that it was good, because as long as it wasn't an old man, anyone could be the butler. The master had heard that Zhuo doubted Miss Long Nu's abilities. Although the girl has little experience, but she has a unique vision and she is completely confident in it. But the guy still doubts. Then the master himself will look at this sketch. Zhuo Fan unfolded the scroll in front of the man, and Long told Uncle Jiu to believe what she said. This first level formation array is worth 300,000 spirit stones. After a while, the master said that he did not expect that the Luo family would have something like this, and the man offered the sum of 1.8 million. Pan Tongling and Ms. Luo were shocked, as was Ms. Lun. The brunette did not bow down and said that it was still too small a sum. The old man understands everything, but this is all he can offer the boy. The blonde suddenly said that they would sell this scroll to the master for 1.8 million. But Zhuo Fan slammed the table and said, if they are unable to pay a higher price, then they should cancel the deal. The brunette did not listen to the warnings of the master and mistress, nor the old man himself. He was stubborn and wanted to get either more or nothing. Tension hung around, and it seemed as if the master wanted to attack, so he said that if he did, he would harm the reputation of the pavilion. The old man asked if he wasn't afraid of him. Kai-Yanlong Pavilion is a very serious family, and therefore a bad deal will lead it to a bad reputation. Zhuo is just a naughty boy, but he bets that the master does not want to harm the reputation of his family. The master suddenly laughed harshly. It was so interesting. The Luo family is supported by a man like Zhuo, and he doesn't need to worry about the revival of the Luo family. The master knows that the guy came to the pavilion only to sell this array. So what is the price of the scroll? The young man replied that the price of this array is 10 million, and the master can pay 1.8 now, and the rest later. Therefore, they will owe low. The old man agreed and said that until this debt was paid, the Kai-Yanlong Pavilion would help them as often as possible. And he left, finally telling Lun to pay them. After a while, the girl came to the master again and asked, if this is not a first level array, then what did they buy at a price of 10 million? She had never seen such an array before. Then the master asked the girl to take another close look at the scroll. The man thinks that this is the only array of this kind that exists in the entire empire. The girl suddenly realized that this was a sketch of an ancient array. The method of creating such an array has long been lost, and such a thing could only be found in ancient books. This ancient array is a priceless treasure that was nowhere near 10 million. The girl did not expect that this sketch is so ancient. The master asked the girl to tell Jai to find 5 strong people to protect the Luo family. They insulted the Sun family yesterday. The brunette wondered why they should protect them, and the old man asked if she still did not understand their intentions. This is how they will repay their debt. Zhuo Fan was sitting in a closed room again when Pan Tongling burst in and shouted that everything was very bad and they were surrounded by the Sun family. The brunette waited for them for a long time. Once he reacted quite calmly. He knew that sooner or later they had to come. It was only a matter of time. Zhuo told the man to call the young lady and master. Pan suddenly said out of the blue that Zhuo is so talented that it gives him courage. A cry was heard outside the walls. The Luo family was asked to come out of their modest shelter. Among the people on the street was Yu Fei. She said that yesterday the Luo were very arrogant and now they have what they have. Ms. Luo, who was standing in front of everyone, said she wanted to know the reason why Ms. Sun was bringing so many people to their residence. The brunette replied that she would never forget what they had done to her at the Kai family residence, and today she would not let the Luo family leave here and would destroy them all. The blonde squinted at Zhuo Fan and realized that as long as he wasn't afraid, everything would be fine. Luo told Lady Sun that her family had been living in Lingcheng for 100 years, and therefore it would not be easy for them to destroy them. The Sun family has only been here for a few decades, so they need to be careful with their words. The brunette got angry and rushed to the attack with the words that she would show the blonde that the chicken would never become a phoenix. Suddenly, her cousin blocked her way, and ignoring her indignation, apologized to Mrs. Luo for his cousin's rudeness and said that they were only here to find their family's butler. He's looking for justice for his cousin, and he's not going to touch the blonde at all. If they hand over this butler, then he promises not to harm anyone. The girl from behind started to get indignant and swear, because they did not agree at all. Wouldn't they destroy them? The cousin replied that if Miss Luo didn't interfere with them, it would be a great opportunity to secure a good future for herself. The blonde said that if they are looking for problems with their butler, it means that they are looking for problems with the whole Lo family. All because the butler is also a member of their family and they will not leave him in trouble. The young man suggests to Miss not to resist, because if she finds out who he is, they will not dare to resist him. His name is Zhang Yuquan and he is a disciple of the Yuming Valley. The girl was in shock. Was one of the 7 imperial families standing in front of her. The brunette came out from behind her cousin and asked, "Is Lo already afraid?" She was so gloating over the girl and was sure that her knees were already shaking with fear. The young lady realized that the Sun family is related to the imperial families, so it is not surprising that even the head of the Kai family treated this girl very respectfully. The blonde touched Zhuo Fan by the sleeve of his jacket, but he came forward and said that he was the butler of the Lo Zhuo Fan family. He suggested to the brunette opposite to finish it as soon as possible, and he offered to fight one-on-one. The opponent replied that, as his cousin had told him, the guy was very arrogant. If he loses to someone like the butler, it will bring unprecedented shame to the Human Valley. The guys rushed to meet DRG Dirk, and after a while, Yuquan was surprised that the guy could at least do something. Such a strong AI pressure, as if the guy is some kind of demon. The blonde asked her butler if he was okay, but he was too busy with his opponent. The cousin was surprised that the guy was not afraid of him. Moreover, it seems that he really likes everything that is happening. Who is he really? Zhuo Fan attacked quickly, which was not good for the opponent. Everything was sparkling around. Miss Sun shouted to her brother to be very careful, and warned that Uncle Kai was also injured by this strange guy. Yuquan realized that his affairs were bad, because he did not expect to meet someone here who could hurt him. And if he had only known about his great strength and abilities earlier, could he even be a demonic cultivator? The fact is that demonic cultivators have always sought power by any means to be the strongest, practicing with strict discipline and strict rules. Again, they are no different from a group of madmen. The man must finish the fight as soon as possible. Something began to glow around his hand, and the girl noticed it. What is it? The opponent attacked Zhuo Fan, and he did not expect this at all. Then Yuquan informed the guy that his AI stream was sealed, and even if he had other skills, the guy would not be able to use them. Yu Fei in the background supported her cousin to kill Zhuo, and he ordered the guy to go to hell with one wave of his hand. But Zhuo Fan used the blood shadow palm. The opponent did not expect this, and he already flew back from the force of the blow. He didn't understand how such a thing was even possible, because the guy's stream was sealed. He had sealed it himself. How was he able to use martial arts skills? The younger master started shouting that Brother Zhuo was just amazing and incredible, and such simple attacks could not defeat him. But suddenly, Zhuo Fan got hit, and he started bleeding from his mouth. No one understood what had happened. And then Yuquan began to explain to them that it was because he used his skills at a time when his AI stream was sealed, which means he's going to die soon. The blonde asked what he was saying. The long-haired man pretended to be upset, because if their strength was equal, then the man would be able to fight in full force. But at the moment, looking at the current condition of the guy, and even though he is injured, he can still kill him with just one hand. A blonde stood in front of the guy, but he just laughed and said he wasn't going to kill her. They just shouldn't get in his way. The long-haired man swung at Zhuo, shouting for him to die. The guy quickly ran to the weakened Yifan. He concentrated a huge force in his palm, intending to kill the youth, but his hand was stopped a few centimeters from the target. Turning his head, he saw that it was Long Jai. The young man puzzledly asked the one who stopped him why he did it. Yu Fei looked in surprise at the people who had arrived at the scene of the battle. These were the people from the Qianlong Pavilion. Long Jai turned to Yuquan, saying that he had already ruined enough people. The guy asked him if it was still not enough for him. Throwing off his hand, the guy said that it was none of his business. He asked Long Jai not to interfere. Smiling, Long said that Uncle Ju had ordered him to guard the Luo family. Therefore, if Yuquan wanted to ruin them, then he would have to go through it. The surprised young man asked how the Qianlong Pavilion could do this, but he immediately gathered himself and shouted to Long Jai not to forget that they were equal in strength. Mocking, the guy asked if the pavilion representative really thinks he can protect the Luo family. Long Jai asked Yuquan not to forget that he was injured. The young man asked if he really thought he could beat him with such an injury. The opponent opened his mouth to defend himself somehow. However, Long Jai stopped him with his hand, ordering him to be silent. The representative of the Qianlong Pavilion said that he knew what the heir wanted to tell him. He also said that magic masters are very strong and can release a lot of energy at a critical moment. However, if they fight to the death now, it will be a big battle. Long asked if Yuquan could take on such responsibility. The guy thought about it. He was well aware that Human Valley and Kyanlong Pavilion had long-standing disagreements with each other. The guy understood that sooner or later the war would begin, but it would obviously not start now. He thought about the fact that his behavior could destroy family plans, which could lead to consequences. But he didn't have time to figure out exactly what the consequences were, because he felt a hard and deadly blow in the back. It was Yifen who pierced through the guy with his hand. What was happening shocked not only Yuquin, but also everyone else. He asked the opponent if the master had told him about how demonic cultivators fight. Laughing, the young man added that in a duel with such an enemy, you can't delay, because you can die. Yuquin turned his head slightly at the young man and saw that he was standing on his feet, and you couldn't tell from him that he was mortally wounded. The guy thought about how Zhuo Fan could have made an attack. He was just dying, so where did he get such strength from? He realized that he was trapped by Zhuo Fan. Yuan thought that Long Jai was also trapped in this trap. Settling down, the guy stretched out his hand to the second one. Long Jai, in turn, watched in surprise as his opponent reached out to him and asked for help. The butler of the Luo family stands behind him and finishes off his abuser without a drop of regret. Yifen took his hand out of the body of the defeated opponent, and he fell to the ground with screams of pain. Yufei, seeing her brother's dead body, was overcome with grief. Yifen asked Long Jai whether Ju had ordered him to protect his family. The butler went into the house. When he passed, still in shock, Long said that Kyanlong Pavilion would no longer need to send people to someone to protect them. In the evening of the same day in the Kyanlong Pavilion, the master was indignant and angry. He had just heard what Long Jai had told him from Zhuo Feng. The man said that he could not even suspect that the new butler would bring so many problems to their family. In addition, he spoiled all the plans of their family. Miss Lun stepped in. She asked Uncle Ju what Zhuo Fan had done. Yes, the butler ruined Yuquin, but how was it related to the Kyanlong Pavilion? The master got angry and asked her why she hadn't realized the obvious yet. The man said that during the battle and Yuquin's death, their Long Jai was there all the time and saw everything. The butler of the Luo family killed a Human Valley disciple right in front of Long Jai, who did not interfere in any way. Hence the question arose who would be responsible for this later. Not understanding why the arrows were pointing at Long Jai, Miss Lun said that the seed of Luo would be responsible. The previously silent Long himself explained to her that no one would believe it. She herself would not have believed that someone from such a small family dared to ruin someone from the imperial families. The girl just turned away and lowered her head. Long Jai continued, saying that since even she couldn't believe it, the people of Human Valley and the San Seed wouldn't believe it either. Miss Lung said that if it was true, then their family was very unlucky. The girl resented why they had to answer for the actions of the Luo family. The master, who had almost left the room, began to speak, that it was all that boy's plan. He leaned towards Long Jai's words, reminding that the butler was already on the verge of death. However, after Long Jai came and stopped Yuquin's attack, he took the opportunity and counterattacked. He planned it all. Miss Long asked in surprise, did Zhuo Fan know that brother Long Jai would come to help him, and he was making plans to kill Yuquin? But the master said she was stupid. He explained that Fan did not do this to ruin Yuquin. The guy did it all to start a quarrel between the Kyanlong Pavilion and the Human Valley. During the time when the two big families start feuding, he will be able to convince the Luo family to escape. Miss Lun was surprised by this. She asked how the new butler was not afraid to go against two big families. The master replied that at that moment, Zhuo Fan was already thinking about it. The man said that when he sold the scroll, he already knew how highly Master Jia valued the honor of their family. Therefore, if they don't do anything now or ignore the Luo family, it will harm the honor of the Kyanlong Pavilion. It is for this reason that they must now guarantee the safety of the Luo family until the very end. The master added to his students that Zhuo Fan was the most dangerous person he had ever met. At this time, in the Luo family's house, he was tied with a bandage on his stomach and sat in the lotus position on the floor. The demon emperor was angry. He realized that he was too weak. The guy thought that if he used all his strength, he could win. However, he also understood that he had failed. Besides, Yifen was on the edge of the abyss. He could have died at the hands of Yuquin. He's too weak. The enemy he faced was the imperial families. With his current strength, he couldn't protect himself or the Luo family. Therefore, Yifen should become stronger and in a very short time. So he summoned his magic and said a spell. At this time, Long Jai was meditating in the pavilion. But abruptly his heart contracted. Blood began to flow from his mouth. The guy fell to the floor, coughing. His Kai left his body breathlessly and went to the one who called her. Yifen with red glowing eyes summoned the blood child and let the energy in there. He wanted to see with his own eyes how he destroys the Kai family. Yifen joined the spirit with the body of the blood child. Therefore, the child was now flying over the Kai family's estate. He saw one of the guards. The blood child flew from above, touching the crowns of trees, which attracted the attention of the guard. The guy turned around and asked who was here. He thought it was impossible that he had imagined something. After all, this was the residence of the Kai family. Who would dare to enter here? At this moment, Yifan was assessing the guard in front of the child's eyes, with which he saw everything that was happening. The guy was level 50. The demon emperor was surprised that the technique of the great demon and the blood child is really such a perfect combination. Yifan felt the pressure of Kai and the demonic cultivator. He assumed that the master was here. His child flew up to the main building of the Kai family, and in the courtyard he saw a lot of guards gathered in the courtyard. He became interested, and he flew closer to the windows of the building, remaining unnoticed. Two elderly men were sitting on chairs in the room. The father of the Kai family was bowing in front of them. The head asked if there were any problems. One of the old men started talking. He said that the head should have already known that today his disciple Yuquan was killed by representatives of the Kaianlong Pavilion, to which the head was surprised to clarify. Wasn't it the Luo Lai family that killed the guy? The old man asked the head if such a small family as Luo dared to do such a thing. He also said that his Yuming Valley and Kaianlong Pavilion have been feuding with each other for a very long time. However, neither side dared to start first. The elder continued, saying that this time the Kaianlong Pavilion had allowed itself to kill one of his disciples from the Yuming Valley. The old man asked if the head knew what it meant. Listening to their conversation, Yifan confirmed his thoughts earlier. As he thought, it never occurred to them that they would dare to challenge their dignity and honor. And because of their arrogance, they will believe that it was rather a conspiracy, instead of believing the facts in front of them. This also applied to the Kaianlong Pavilion. The head of the Kai family asked what the elder was up to. The man picked up a drink and said that nothing, but he asked for help from the Kai family. He just wanted them to find out for him what the Kaianlong Pavilion was going to do now. Because if the old man shows up to them, then a war will begin. Then drank. But the head of the Kai family was indignant. He asked Elder Giant how his Kai family could offend the Kaianlong Pavilion. The old man said that the Kai family really can't offend the Kaianlong Pavilion. Therefore, it is necessary to act more cunningly. The elder offered to deal with the Luo family and see what the Kaianlong Pavilion would do in this case. The head of the family was surprised. He didn't know that the Luo family was supported by the Kaianlong Pavilion. Therefore, if he causes trouble to the Luo family, it will automatically cause offense to the Kaianlong family. The head looked at the second man in the room, Sun Jiazhu. He remembered that the main reason for today's meeting was his granddaughter. Gathering his courage, the head spoke. He said that Zhuo Fan was currently the most hated person in the whole world. The man said that a few days ago, the new butler used some kind of skill and forced Kai's son to spit blood. He is afraid that he will kill his son. Hearing this, Yifan grinned triumphantly. He only taught the entire Kai family a lesson. He injected the blood child into Kai Xiao Ting's body that day. But Yifan was surprised that the head of the family would use such an unconvincing excuse to avoid the elder's order. Like the demon emperor, the elder saw that the head was trying to justify himself. Therefore, the man used a different technique, switching the arrow to the head of the Sun family. He said that the head of the Sun family is wise and competent, and if the elder gives him this assignment, then he will definitely fulfill it. This angered the head of the Sun family. He demanded Kai Rong to explain himself, but their dispute was stopped by the elder shouting at them. Both heads fell silent and lowered their heads. The old man told them that he no longer needed them, and he would ask for help from others. The old man asked Kai Rong if he had prepared a book on spiritual martial arts. The man immediately gave the book back, saying that he had brought it with him. Also, the head of the Kai family told Elder Jiang that these were the family's spiritual martial arts. The old man instead threw a new book into his hands, saying that now he was giving them a new book. It was a mid-level spiritual martial arts book, Fire Finger. Yifan couldn't understand why the old man would give an average level of martial arts in exchange for a low one. It only meant that he was up to something. Then the head of the Sun family spoke up. He looked at the old man and respectfully asked him who Elder Jian would choose to deal with the Luo family. The old man laughed a little, but then he asked them not to worry. The person who will be assigned to this task is one of the members of the Human Valley. But the head of the Sun family asked in surprise if such an action would mean a direct attack. Elder Giant assured him that this man was just a chess piece whose place and role had long been decided. This person was from Black Wind Mountain. Yifan made a mistake. He was so surprised by this information that he repeated aloud the place from where the person would be sent. Hearing this sound, Elder Giant abruptly turned his head in his direction and sent a stream of magic there, asking who was there. The blood child hurried away from there, summoned by Yifen, but the old man was not ready to give up so easily and flew after him. Turning around, Yifen was even more surprised. The elder moved behind him quickly, flying through the clouds of smoke caused by the explosion of the attack. Yifen used the technique of instantaneous return to the stone to escape. At the place where the object was unknown to anyone just now, only clouds of smoke formed. The elder sank to the ground. Immediately the worried heads of families ran up to him. Kai Rong looked at the smoke in surprise and asked Elder Jian what it was. The old man replied that he didn't know, but he assumed that it must be the skill of demonic cultivators. At this time, the blood child was already inhabiting Yifen's body in order to sign up with energy and escape. The demon emperor reflected that fortunately, the blood child managed to escape, otherwise the old man would have destroyed him. Yifen also realized that he didn't expect to meet such a strong cultivator at the Kai family residence. He realized that if the blood child phantom was destroyed, then the blood baby in Yifen's body would also die, followed by the demon himself. Looking at his hand, he came to the conclusion that he definitely needed to increase his strength. He was worried that soon someone would come from Black Wind Mountain and the Luo family would be in danger. The guy called magic around him, assessing his strength. He realized that with the blood child's current strength, his might would easily increase, and in less than 10 days, he broke through the Kai gathering. His development speed has also doubled. Black Wind Mountain. If they weren't afraid of death, then they could just go to him. Yifen thought and laughed. Morning, Yifen decided to go out to the Luo family. He opened the door and Lady Luo fell at his feet, which surprised the demon emperor. Yifen asked her what she was doing here, and the young man thought to himself that he was too careless. After all, if there was an enemy in front of his door, he would undoubtedly kill Yifen. Yunchen said she was afraid that Zhuo Feng's injuries might get worse, so she guarded him outside. She quickly smiled and hurried away, saying that she saw that everything was fine with the guy, so she would go. But Yifen stopped her. He asked the girl if she was really at his door all night. The girl blushed and hurried away. The guy wanted to catch up with her, but the guardian of the family called out to him. Pan Tunan told Brother Zhuo that he was glad that everything was fine with the butler. The man said that the young man had such a severe wound that they were all afraid that he would die. The guardian mentioned that the lady had been guarding him all night, afraid that something might happen to him. The guard turned his head in different directions in search of the lady, but did not see her. The demon realized that it was heart magic again. He couldn't understand how he, the demon emperor, could be so deeply moved by such an act on the part of a girl. His heart beat faster. Yifen stumbled off in the direction Mrs. Luo was heading. The guardian wondered what was wrong with this guy, and then Yifen turned to Pan Tonglen without turning around. He told the man that the guardian would now follow him to the Qianlong pavilion. The man tried to object. Yifen interrupted him. He told him not to worry. After yesterday's incident, no one dares to touch them. The butler assured the guardian that no other imperial family would ever touch the Luo family again. The joyful guardian slapped the butler's shoulder hard, saying that he trusted Brother Zhuo. The man added that no one else will be able to bear such a big responsibility except for the guy. In the Qianlong pavilion, the guards greeted them with respect. They opened the doors and invited the dear guests inside. But Yifen did not miss the chance to laugh at them. He asked them if they didn't feel contempt for him a couple of days ago. The guards tried to justify themselves by saying that at that time they did not yet know that he was a VIP client. Yifen didn't believe their words. He said that they looked down on people, not being better than them themselves, and he and Pan Tonglen went inside. When the couple entered the courtyard, they were immediately greeted by Miss Moon with an angry and wary face. And as soon as the guys got closer, she turned around silently and left. Pan Tongling leaned closer to Yifen and asked him in a whisper how they could have offended Miss. This behavior angered the demon, and he called out to Miss Lun Nui, asking if Qianlong Pavilion is not friendly to its guests. The girl turned around and asked if this guy thought he was a guest here. Yifen only replied that Miss Long was still a naive girl. This angered the girl, and she asked who Zhuo Fan was talking about. The answer was simple, about her. The guy explained that if we are talking about business or imperial families, it all depends on interests. Will they be able to survive in this world if they get angry so easily, discussing business or taking something into account? The butler invited her to look at her friend, Long Jai, saying that the guy is more mature than the girl. He said that Long Jai understood what Yifen was planning to do, so he retreated without saying a word. Therefore, the butler considered him very smart and quick to make decisions, and the ability to quickly assess the situation and admit defeat is also a strength. The butler said that affection and emotions will not help Miss Moon. The good is above all. Therefore, he suggested to forget about their personal differences. The girl agreed. Then their attention was attracted by the voice of the master and the footsteps that were heard. The old man turned to Zhuo Fan and asked the guy to talk to him. Wang Jai, who was standing behind the old man, looked at the butler in surprise. He was thinking about the fact that the guy was seriously injured yesterday, but now there are no injuries on him. Yifan asked Master Zhu if he couldn't give the younger generation the opportunity to do business. The master replied that he wanted to cooperate with them. After all, he could not pass on a matter that could damage the honor of the Qianlong Pavilion to the younger generation. The master said that since they came to them, it means that they have some kind of request to the old man. He also praised Zhuo Fan in making plans. Yifan thanked Master Zhu for appreciating him, but the guy said he couldn't compare to the old man. And in Yifan's mind, he realized that the old man had figured out his plan. The master lost his temper and shouted at the butler. He asked to stop this nonsense, and also asked what the young man wanted from him. Calmly, Yifan replied to him that he just needed to find a new place of residence for the Luo family. Therefore, he asked Master Zhu to recommend something to him. The old man asked why he should help Zhuo Fan. The butler simply reminded them that the Qianlong Pavilion owed them. In addition, he said that it would make it easier for the pavilion to keep track of the Luo family. The master was surprised that the guy seemed to read his thoughts. After all, since yesterday, the Qianlong Pavilion still hasn't done anything. The old man didn't know when they would be dealing with the human valley. The Luo family does not have a residence. Therefore, if the pavilion is not careful, then they can unleash even more war between the two families. But he didn't understand what the guy was up to. The master had lived for almost 100 years, but now he was under the control of a boy. This state of affairs did not suit him. Yifan asked to be allowed to share some information with the elder. Miss Long interrupted him, asking what kind of information the butler had, and whether it would be useful for the Qianlong Pavilion. The guy said that he knows that the influence of the Qianlong Pavilion is spreading throughout the Empire's plain. Because of this, even cats and rats have their own way. Therefore, he had information that they probably didn't know about. After a little thought, the master asked me to tell him what kind of information. The butler asked if they knew that Yuming Valley would soon attack Qianlong Pavilion. Shock gripped the trio. The master couldn't believe it. Wang Jai said that it was impossible, because he always watched their actions. He assured that nothing would escape his supervision. The girl turned to Yifan, asking him about the proof of his words. The butler said he had no proof. The guy explained that he only knows that this person is very old, and that Kai Rong, as well as other people, called that man Elder Giant. Upon hearing the name, the master lost his temper, shouting his name with anger. He didn't even restrain his magic, and she jumped out into the yard in a huge burning flash. Yifan realized that the master's intention to destroy Elder Giant was very strong. He asked if Master Zhu was related to that elder. Wang Jai said that Elder Giant is Master Zhu's enemy. Their master lost an eye during the battle with him. Yifan did not expect that Master Zhu harbored such a deep hatred for Elder Giant. Out loud, he asked for forgiveness for offending Master Zhu. The master calmed down and said that everything was fine. And now that the butler had told him about this old man, now the master would trust him. A little later, he added that there is a residence that is located 100 meters from here. Master Zhu added that the Luo family could take it. The butler and the guardian of the Luo family bowed and thanked Master Zhu. They headed for the exit, saying that they were going to the residence right now. The master shouted after the butler, asking where he could have seen that old man. Without turning around, the butler told him that he had seen the Kai family. However, right now, this elder is probably in the residence of the Sun family. The master said that he understood him and thanked him for the information. Restraining his anger, the man ordered Long Jai to send a message to the family and instruct them to send more elders. The old man added that he didn't want Giant Fan to leave this city alive. The master was angry that Giant Fan had allowed himself to dare to come to his house. Yifan, listening to the angry speech of the old man in the distance, smiled. Everything was going as it should. The Luo family entered their new residence. Qianlong Pavilion sent several guards to them. Mrs. Luo couldn't believe the beauty of their new home. Her eyes were shining. The young gentleman ran around the yard and rejoiced in the tranquility. Yifan turned to Lao Pan, asked him what he thinks about becoming the head of a guard like them. Smiling, the man hesitated. Embarrassed, he said that every guard here is much better than him, so being one of them is already good enough. Therefore, he did not dare to become their leader. The guy put his hand on his shoulder and told him not to worry, because the day will come when he will become their head. And then they saw Miss Long and Long Jai approaching them. The girl said that the guy deceives not only others, but even people close to him. She said that the butler of the Luo family is just a big liar. Miss Lun stated that the limit that Pan Tonglin can reach according to his abilities is the 6th elephant. The girl added that she recommends such a small family as the Luo family can't dream of becoming a big family. This angered the entire Luo family. Yifan turned to Miss Long. The guy told her that there is a saying that teaches not to bully the weak just because you can. But the girl calmly replied to him that the Luo family were lying to themselves. They do nothing but dream so as not to accept the reality. She added that a large and strong family can be built only in 100 generations. Therefore, they cannot even dream of becoming great. The girl said they were just frogs in a well. Therefore, they cannot know how big this world is. This amused the young man. He smiled maliciously. Mrs. Luo knew what his smile meant, so she called the butler by name, trying to attract his attention to her. Long Jai started to speak, but was interrupted by the butler, who turned to his mistress. The guy asked the girl for permission to use Lingxi, spiritual stones. Without waiting for an answer, the guy jumped on the roof. This behavior angered Miss Loon, who said that this was not his house, so he could not behave like this. She ordered us to go back down. Yifan wasn't listening to her. He cast a spell and began to create a third-level formation, the Panlong formation. The representatives of the pavilion were surprised, because only Master Ju could create such a formation. They were trying to figure out how the butler could know this spell. The demon completed the spell and jumped up. During the flight, he scattered many magic spheres throughout the residence. Miss Moon asked what he did when the guy landed on the ground. He is asking if he should answer this question. Taking a comfortable position, the guy folded his hands for a magic technique. After a while, golden dragons began to appear throughout the territory. At this time, Elder Giant took a break from his meditation. He felt a powerful flash of magic. The old man wondered who had activated this formation. In his residence, Master Jia looked at the golden dragons that soared into the air. He realized that this was his Panlong formation. But looking closer, the man realized that it wasn't her. After all, his formation wasn't as strong as the one he had seen. Somewhere in the mountains, the person Elder Giant was going to use was looking at the city. He didn't understand what was going on there. He wondered if the plan he was involved in would be completed ahead of schedule. He dismissed these thoughts because Elder Giant is not so reckless. At the same time, Yifan continued to create a protective formation over the residence. A huge protective dome covered the entire territory. Miss Lung asked Zhuo Fan what he had done, but the guy turned away from her, about to leave. The girl shouted after him not to ignore her. Without departing from his goals, Yifan approached his mistress, bowed to her. The guy told Yunchen that he had just finished setting up the Panlong formation. This is a third-level formation, so he was afraid that it wouldn't be able to fully protect the young lady. The guy offered to increase the formation to the 5th level. The representatives of the Qianlong Pavilion were surprised that he wanted and could raise the formation to the 5th level. There are very few such talents. The butler of the Luo family is confident when he says that he will be able to make the 5th level of the formation. And what he says may actually be true. Ms. Luo said that everything was fine. She told Zhuo Fan that if he used so much Lingxi without her permission, then she would have to punish him. But since he used it for the family, then she will forgive him this time. And turning around, she went on to explore the estate, inviting the family with her. Miss Moon thought about the fact that the guy showed his real strength. Now this area has its own formation. For the girl it turned out to be unexpected. Unexpectedly, Master Jia descended in front of them. He asked his students who had installed this array. Long Jai replied that it was the Luo family's butler, Zhuo Fan. This surprised the old man. After all, not many people knew how to set up this array. It took years to learn such a skill. The master himself could only set up a 3rd-level formation. Therefore, he couldn't understand how such a youngster could set up such a formation when he was so young. The master said he wanted to see him, asked him to tell the butler to come to him. He wanted to talk to Zhuo Fan. We chose a gazebo on the territory of the residence for the conversation. When the Luo family arrived at the gathering place, the master called the butler brother Zhuo and asked him to sit down. The students were surprised by this fact. After all, their uncle Zhu called brothers only those whom he respected. Yifan placed himself opposite the elder and asked what he wanted from him, calling the master also brother Zhu. The elder was surprised by such an appeal to himself, but he did not betray the significance. The old man said if the young man called him brother, then he doesn't mind and accepts it. Then the elder said that Zhuo Fan could adjust the formation of the 5th level. He asked why, with such abilities, the young man still serves the Luo family. Wouldn't it be better for him to join them? Qianlong Pavilion? The man asked. He asked what the young man thought about his proposal. Yifan thought about it. Master Jia kept trying to convince Zhuo Fan to join their family. He promised that if the guy joined, he would get better conditions and then become a great elder. Upon hearing this news, the students were very surprised. They knew that elder was the highest position in the Qianlong Pavilion, and this boy was too young and inexperienced. They didn't understand how they could make him a great elder, but Yifen predicted such a development back when he started a fight with the Sun family and the Yuming Valley to have the talent to set up arrays of the 5th level, but who wouldn't want to have such a skill of this empire? His thoughts were interrupted by Master Jia, who again repeated the question of what he thought about Zhuo Fan's proposal. After looking at them, the butler said that he had one condition. The master assured him that it didn't matter. As long as the Qianlong Pavilion could do it, then the young man could ask for whatever his heart desires. Pointing to Miss Lung, the butler said he wanted her to bring him tea, then wash his feet and warm his bed. The girl indignantly said that it would happen only in his dreams. The master tried to calm the girl down, telling her to calm down, but the butler laughed, saying he was just joking. Then he assumed a serious expression and said that he had a young miss, a beautiful house. He had nothing more to ask. The guy said that he wants his brothers and sisters from the Luo family to live in peace. The master realized that this condition was not for him personally, but for the whole Luo family. Exhaling, the old man said that he promised him this. He added that during the stay of the Luo family in the Qianlong Pavilion, the Luo family will be completely safe. The pavilion will make sure that all future generations are safe. Yifen sipped his tea. The master continued by saying that from now on, Zhuo Fan will be the grand elder of the Qianlong Pavilion. The man promised that he would tell the family about him, and in 3 days he would take the guy to the main residence of the family. But the butler stopped him. He said he didn't promise to become a great elder. This angered Master Jia. He asked in surprise that the guy really refused his offer. The man asked why Brother Joe was doing this to him, but the butler calmly replied that if they had invited him half an hour ago, he would have agreed without hesitation. The master asked what had happened that made him change his mind. After looking reproachfully at Miss Moon, the butler asked if she remembered her words that she had said earlier. He stood up abruptly and declared that in the next 10 years, he would make sure that the Luo family prevailed over all the imperial families. After that, the young man left the gazebo. When the pavilion representatives were left alone, the master asked Xiao Nui what she had said. The girl stood with her head down and began to tell. After a while, he told her that it was not the first time he had told her that she should never humiliate, insult, or point out the shortcomings of a person. The master explained that she had insulted the Luo family with her words. Therefore, it was not surprising that Zhuo Fan rejected their offer and became angry with her. Long Jai told the master that he would not be able to implement Zhuo Fan's last statement. The master thought about it. A little later, the man said, even if they didn't become part of the 7 imperial families in the future, they would still be the best among ordinary families. The old man regretfully said that they had almost persuaded Zhuo Fan to join their pavilion. At this time, Yifen was walking through the courtyard of the residence and speculated that it would be a good opportunity to protect the Luo family with the protection of the Qianlong Pavilion. In this way, the safety of the Luo family would be guaranteed. But Miss Moon's words that they are just dreamers. Yifen thought that if he could not dream, then he must follow the path that fate had written for him. No, he does not agree to this. With the help of the demon's technique, he will defy fate and pave the way for himself. Nothing is impossible for him, because he is the demon emperor of magic, Zhuo Fan. The guy opened the door and entered the house. His family members were sitting there. They immediately greeted him. Young Lady Luo asked him what Master Ju wanted from him. Yifen replied that the elder had invited him to join the Qianlong Pavilion. Mrs. Luo lowered her head and congratulated Zhuo Fan in a low voice, telling him that compared to the Luo family, his future in the Qianlong Pavilion would be much better. But the demon, passing by the girl, told her that he refused. This news surprised and pleased everyone at the same time. The girl asked why he refused. Zhuo Fan stopped, turning his head slightly towards her. He said he had no reason to refuse, but no matter how profitable it was for him, his choice depends only on him, so she cannot worry. He said he was the butler of the Luo family. Therefore, in 10 years, the Luo family will be stronger than the Qianlong Pavilion. At night, Fan released the blood child again and flew to the Kai family's estate. He heard the head of the guard and his first assistant discussing that a lot of people had been missing lately. Zhuo realized that they had just realized that the Kai family guards were already being exterminated. Kai Rong and his son will surely be hiding in their chambers. Already returning back to his residence, the blood child decided to fly over the Qianlong Pavilion, and then his attention was attracted by someone on the roofs below. The young man remembered that no one dared to enter the pavilion and observe them. However, the man on the roof dared to cross the threshold of the pavilion. With huge jumps, the figure reached the house by sneaking inside through the window. Flying up, Juo Fan saw that there were a couple of guards in the room, a maid and the same figure that turned out to be a girl. The maid asked her how Mrs. Investigation was progressing. The girl took off her mask. The girl drew a plan of the Qianlong Pavilion residence on paper. Having gathered the guards at the table, the girl explained to them in which places there are many guards. One of the guards who were in the room, he asked the girl how they could attack the Qianlong Pavilion. And listening to her story, he understood that they would die before they had time to go in. The girl silenced his speech by raising her hand. She told them that her brother had contacted people from the Human Valley. These people promised to distract the guards' attention. Therefore, when this happens, they will have to quickly infiltrate the Qianlong Pavilion and kill all the members of the Luo family, as well as capture Luo Yunxian. This angered Juo Fan. Someone wanted to capture Ms. Luo. He wondered what he should do. One of the lady's guards told her that there was something she shouldn't be happy about, and that was something about her brother. The girl looked at him, ordering him to speak. He asked what Mr. Shaijai's relationship was with the Yuming Valley, and he asked if the people from the Human Valley would listen to him. Although the Yuming Valley helps them, however, the Qianlong Pavilion is one of the imperial families. After they attack them, they will definitely be hunted. Will the Human Valley help them in this case? Another guard said that if Human Valley ignored them, they would definitely die. To this statement, the girl said that they were all just afraid of death. Angry, Miss began to shout at them. Shame on them if Mr. Lao Zhai hears what they are talking about now. All they were going to do was to heal their master. She asked them if they didn't want to cure Mr. Lao Zhai. The girl told them to go get ready. Now everything is going according to the original plan. The men answered in the affirmative and left. Only that girl and her maid remained in the room. Juo Fan was surprised that with just a few words, she made them obey. However, now it was his turn. The maid at this time said that the mistress was so amazing. She praised her manners, comparing them to the manners of the leader of Black Wind Mountain. The girl turned around and said that if her foster father was healthy, he would be much better than her. After that, the girl added that no one would dare to insult him. There was no doubt about his greatness. The maid said that all the guys believe in her, but Miss told Xiao Qi that she didn't need to cheer her up. The girl added that she hoped that after that she would get the dragon's paw, the family treasure of the Luo family, and be able to cure her father. The maid said that the mistress is very devoted, so her wish must be fulfilled. Juo Fan, who was watching this, spoke up. He called the girls little girls and told them that duty and devotion are two different things. And then I asked the main one that who told her that the dragon's paw can heal. The main girl asked him who he was. Juo Fan assured her not to panic because he wouldn't do anything to them. The guy jumped off the windowsill into the room and approached them. The demon emperor said he just wanted her to go with him to clarify some things. The girl shielded the maid, who was terrified, and repeated her question again. Juo Fan said he forgot to introduce himself. He immediately corrected this point by introducing himself as the butler of the Luo family, Juo Fan. This surprised Miss, who asked out of 7 Luo Lai was a guy, and immediately began to concentrate magic in her hands. She said that just because the guy was from the Luo family, he would die here, and attacked him. As the lightning bolt flew towards Juo Fan, he spoke while analyzing him. The youth noticed that it was a strike of 9 heavy Kai, Lingji martial arts. He said that such techniques are only useful for dealing with someone at the skeleton tempering level. But to their misfortune, they met him, he added aloud. And I thought to myself that he has the power of a blood child. The young man released him, and the blood child flew to the girl. Her attack remained incomplete as soon as the child entered her body. She asked Fan what he had done to her. Juo Fan calmly replied that it was nothing, just paralyzed her. Now she goes with him. Grabbing her by the waist, the guy was heading for the window. But then the maid spoke up. The butler realized that he had forgotten about another girl. Therefore, I decided to paralyze her and also take her with me. With huge leaps, Juo Fan returned to his residence. In the morning, one of the guards told him that Juo the butler had been working hard that night when he saw that the young man was carrying 2 girls. Entering the house, Juo Fan threw the girls on the floor. The maid immediately asked where they were. The guy released the paralysis from her mistress, and she hurried to immediately attack the butler using a knife. However, the young man dodged. He said the skills were good, but they were useless against him. The butler explained that he had brought them here to ask a couple of questions, clarified that he did not wish them harm. Juo Fan told Miss that if she answered his questions honestly, he would let them go. Easily snatching the knife from her hand, he said that she had better hide her weapon. The guy asked if there was anything else dangerous under the girl's clothes, otherwise he would have to examine her. She rebelled at this, saying that he wouldn't dare. Fan told her that whether he would do it or not was up to her. Then the butler asked her questions, who she was and what she was doing in this city. He looked at the girl, waiting for an answer. The girl was silent, so he tore off the sleeve on her jacket. The girl was silent. He repeated the question again. It was enough for her to start talking. This said that she is Lei Yuding's adopted daughter. She came to the city in order to get rid of the Luo family. The guy asked how she was going to do it. The girl replied that the Yuming Valley was supposed to attack the Qianlong Pavilion. In turn, she and the squad, taking advantage of this chance, would attack the Luo family. Zhuo Fan asked what her relationship was with the Yuming Valley. He also asked what use the attack would be to them. She said she didn't know. He asked a question about how they establish a connection with the Yuming Valley, and he also needed the initiator of this attack. The girl said she didn't know. He clarified that this was her last chance to preserve her honor. If she didn't answer his questions, then he would hand her over to a dozen people outside. With a cold voice, Zhuo Fan said that he was counting to 3, and he began to count out loud. He said that if she wanted it that way, then he was ready. But I heard a protest. This cry of protest was the cry of a maidservant. She asked Zhuo Fan to stop and not do this to her mistress. The girl said that everything concerning the Yuming Valley had been settled by Mr. Yang. The butler turned his head in her direction and asked who Yang was. The head lady ordered the maid not to tell him who it was, but the guy just put his finger on her lips, silencing her, and he turned his gaze back to the maid. Calming down a little, the maid answered him that his name was Yang Ming. This young man was a disciple of the master of Black Wind Mountain, as well as the groom of the mistress. After listening, Fan turned his head to the girl. He asked her if the girl had snuck into the Luo family estate for revenge. But here's what she wanted to do afterwards. The girl was silent again, so the butler again put pressure on her maid with the help of blackmail. The girl said that Mr. Yang made a deal with Sun Guanjia, the same butler who betrayed the Luo family. Thanks to this, they could destroy the Luo family. However, Luo Yunchen was able to escape, and they received information that she was in this city. Mr. Yang told them that he had contacted Yuming Valley to help the girls. The butler, after listening to her story, thought a little. After that, he asked how they knew that it was Luo Zhenin who attacked the master of Black Wind Mountain. Zhuo Fan asked them that the information that the dragon's paw could cure their master was also received from Mr. Yang Ming. Interrupting the discussion, Mrs. Luo opened the door of his room and entered. She didn't notice that the butler was alone, so she asked him if Zhuo Fan was busy. But then the girl noticed the butler's guests and was very surprised. She asked what he was doing here. Mrs. Luo began to wail that this was the residence of the Qianlong Pavilion. Therefore, he could not behave in this way. The young man replied that he was doing it for the Luo family, which surprised the young lady even more. But Yunchen was adamant. She shouted that Zhuo Fan brought 2 girls to this house and said that he did it for the sake of the Luo family. The girl asked if he didn't want to become strong. Didn't he promise to make the Luo family the strongest in the empire? And if that was the case, she couldn't understand why he brought the girls. Zhuo Fan, listening to her narration, thought. He noticed that Mrs. Luo was always calm. However, now she was on edge, and the young man could not understand why she reacted so to it. Quite calmly and with a smile on his face, the butler told her that she would change her mind as soon as she found out who these girls really were. Zhuo Fan clarified that these 2 ladies were from Black Wind Mountain, and he was just interrogating them. Mrs. Luo asked him what it meant that they were from Black Wind Mountain. But after a second, the girl rushed to run at them, trying to attack. The girl screamed for the captives to give her life back to her father. Zhuo Fan stopped her. The butler said that he thinks that things are not so simple between these 2 families. He thought there was clearly something wrong here. The guy suggested that it could be the work of the Yuming Valley. The girls were simultaneously surprised. The butler only thought that whether it was the Luo family or the Black Wind Mountain, in the eyes of the imperial families, they were just ants. The butler bowed slightly. He asked her to take him to Black Wind Mountain. He wanted to find out what was really going on. The girl was indignant. She was indignant. How could he think that she would take him to the Black Wind Mountain? It was impossible. Fan chuckled and turned to his mistress. He asked Yunchen to give him the dragon's paw and held out his palm to her. The girl gave the thing to the butler, asking what he wanted to do with it. But the butler simply turned to the captive and showed her the dragon's paw. Zhuo Fan told Miss Lei that this was the dragon's paw that she was so eager to see. And it was just a spiritual martial art. It wouldn't be able to cure her father. The butler said he just asked her to take him to Black Wind Mountain to find out the truth. The guy assumed that Yang Ming was lying to her. And if Fan is right, then their families will be brutally destroyed by the imperial families. Miss Lei lowered her head, thinking. The maid said that Mr. Yang is a good person. The butler reminded him that Miss Lei was his fiancée. But is she sure that she really knew him well? The girl realized that his words made sense to be, so she agreed to take him to the mountain. Having achieved his goal, Zhuo Fan, with a smirk on his face, told Miss Lei that while they were not on the road, he recommended that she wear something first. The girl was embarrassed. Leaving, the guy advised her next time not to wear such clothes anymore. After a while, the two, Zhuo Fan and Miss Lei, were walking through the forest towards the mountain. The guy was disguised as an old man, with a false beard and eyebrows. The girl warned the guy to behave decently. Miss Lei threatened him that if he had bad intentions for Black Wind Mountain, she wouldn't let him go. But the guy calmed her down, saying that he was following the truth. The girl also recalled another moment. She said that if Zhuo Fan offended Xiao Qi, she would not forgive him. And with that, the young man also reassured her, saying that he guaranteed her safety, so she would be fine. He added that it would be better for Miss Lei herself, which surprised the girl. They came to the mountain and began to climb, but then a guard looked out from somewhere in the cave. He ordered them to stop and asked who they were. But as soon as the guard noticed the girl, he immediately put away his weapon, jumped down and bowed to her. The man said he didn't expect the lady to come back here, but he asked if the lady shouldn't be in Feng City. The girl only answered him easily that she had returned because she had something to do here, and she went on, taking Zhuo Fan with her. When they were far enough away, the guy said that it must have been Yang Ming's subordinate. He asked the girl if her mission in Feng City wasn't secret. Then how could the most ordinary security guard know about it? He was sure that Yang Ming would come to meet them when they reached the mountain. They came to a small fortress at the top of the mountain. But then a young man came out from behind a tree, addressing the girl as Yuding's sister. The guy asked why she was here, because she should be in Feng City, and he wondered why she came back. Zhuo Fan realized that Yang Ming was standing in front of him. Zhuo Fan whispered to Miss Lei as quietly as possible that Yang Ming had already been informed that they were here. The girl came forward to say something to the guy. Miss Lei said that the Qianlong Pavilion is not easily provoked. The girl also added that the people of the Human Valley do not inspire her confidence. The girl vehemently argued that this mission looks very risky, so she decided that she would first observe the situation, and then think about what to do. This angered the guy. He said the master treated them well. They were like family to the old man. The guy reminded that the master sacrificed his life. Miss Lei confronted him. She said she knew about it, but was interrupted by Yang Ming. He said enough of her speeches. Pointing at Zhuo Fan, the guy asked who it was. The girl replied that he was a second-level master alchemist that she had found. She said she asked for his help because he could cure the master. Yang Ming wondered if this old man was so great, then why was he in such a place? Out loud, the guy turned to Sister Yuding. He said that those who suffered from the techniques of the dragon's paw can only be healed by the dragon's paw itself. Smiling, he asked the girl if she believed him. Zhuo Fan came forward and asked for a chance. He tried to convince the guy that he is a good healer, but it wasn't what the butler expected. Yang Ming attacked the old man, hitting him in the face. He was on his knees and addressed the guy, saying that if he did not want the old man to treat his master, then it was not necessary to beat him. Fan played his part to the end, saying that he was already too old to receive such blows. He said he couldn't deal with mountain bandits. Yang Ming raised his hand, ready to strike again. The guy was offended by being called a bandit and wanted to punish the old man for it. However, Miss Lei blocked the way, blocking Zhuo Fan. The girl said that he had brought him here, and if Ian wanted to hit Stark, then he would have to hit her first. He turned around and walked forward, saying that if the old man insisted so much, then he would let him try to cure the master. But the guy warned that he would not let him go if he did not cure the master. When Yang Ming left, the girl turned to Zhuo Fan and said that Ming had said everything correctly. She shouldn't have believed Fan. The girl said that her brother was very worried about his father, so he could not hurt him. Zhuo Fan asked her if her father had not taught her to understand people, to judge a person not by what he says, but by how he acts. In confirmation of his words, he analyzed the situation that had occurred. He said that just now Yang Ming wouldn't let him cure her father because he didn't know how strong Fan was. However, after he punched him, Ming felt that Zhuo was not a threat to him because he was weak. But after that, he allowed her father to be cured. After completing his story, Zhuo Fan asked Miss Lei if she thought Yang Ming was a good or evil person. The girl wondered if what the guy told her was true. She asked why he still insisted on seeing her father. Zhuo Fan replied that he had a couple of tricks up his sleeve, and he wanted to check whether this Yang Ming was good or bad. At this time, in the house where the paralyzed master was lying, Yang Ming sat down on the edge of his bed. The guy had a plate of soup and a spoon in his hands. They went inside the room. Yang Ming immediately stopped his business. He turned to the butler, saying that if something happened to his master, he would kill him. Fan now understood everything. They moved away, giving Fan an opportunity to examine the old man. After some time, the butler announced the verdict: there was no wound. This surprised Yang Ming. He asked again what the old man had said to make sure that he had not misheard. Zhuo Fan repeated that the master had no injuries. Then Miss Lei asked him that if there were no wounds and no internal injuries, then why couldn't her father move? Fan thought he should say the following with a serious face. He turned his head slightly to the couple and said that the cause of their master's illness was a foreign body. Yang Ming threw Zhuo Fan away from the master, saying that he was talking nonsense. Miss Lei asked him what had happened. The guy said that Sister Yuding was hiding something from him. The girl, surprised, replied that no, trying not to betray her excitement. But the guy was not so simple. Then Yang Ming abruptly pressed the button and the floor opened. With force, the guy pushed the girl into the opened hatch, and he didn't forget about Zhuo Fan. Turning around, the guy asked if the old man really thought he could escape, and grabbing him by the collar of his robe, he also pushed him into the same pit. The girl from the basement asked Yang Ming what he meant by that, and Zhuo Fan said that he did not think that this child had set a trap here. Yang Ming from above told her that when she came back here, he felt that something was wrong. She even brought a second-level alchemist. With tears in her eyes, the girl asked him why the guy was doing all this. She reminded him that her father was kind to him, to which Yang Ming said with a smile that he had his own goals here, but he didn't care about the old man. He confessed to her that from the very beginning he did not want to have anything to do with the girl. Yan admitted that he could not even think that the girl would find and bring an alchemist to destroy his plan. Zhuo said that if he had a problem with this girl, he could kill her. Fan said that he had done nothing wrong to Ming and asked him to let him go. Laughing, the young man told the old man to relax. His life was now in Yang Ming's hands. He asked who had told him the master's diagnosis. The butler explained that he had just diagnosed the reason why the old man could not move due to too many toxins in his body. No matter how, he found out the truth, and now Yang Ming will have to act quickly. He ordered the guards at the entrance to the house not to allow anyone to enter here. Zhuo Fan from the pit, shouting, asked Yang Ming what was wrong with his diagnosis, asked if he believes in his healing abilities. Fan also kept asking to be released. Seeing that the girl was sitting and crying in the corner, Fan paid attention to her. The guy told her that they are similar to his mistress Luo. Fan said that everything was going according to plan, and they would get out of here at night. He told her that she could give up because she was of no use. The girl got angry at such impudence and said that if she died, she would take him with her. When night came, Fan summoned his blood child. She told the blood child that it was their turn to kill everyone. Flying by a barely noticeable ribbon, the bloody child decided to move into one of the guards who guarded the door to the room where the basement was. His partner noticed something moving into the man's body. He told the second guard about it. The man turned his head towards him, but said nothing. Looking with empty eyes at the second guard, the man made sounds as if he was talking, but his lips did not move. Zhuo Fan, with the help of Blood Child, using the body of the first guard, ordered the hatch in the room to be quickly opened and released them from the trap. The second guard asked his comrade if he had heard the voice that came out of his body. Suddenly, the first guard screamed, blood spurted from his mouth, and his eyes rolled back. The man shook his whole body, and a second later he fell to the ground, having given up his last breath, and no longer showed signs of life. His partner saw something red crawl out of his comrade's body and head towards him. Realizing that the same fate could overtake him, the man decided to fix it. He tried to escape, but the blood child caught up and possessed his body with one stab in the back. The voice ordered him to quickly come into the room, open the hatch and let him out. The man ran into the room, found the hatch and opened it. At this time, Zhuo Fan was waking up Miss Lei. He told her to get up if she didn't want to die and follow him. The young man had already taken off his old man's suit and was sitting with his back to her. She asked him why he thought she would die here. Then the hatch opened and they jumped out of the pit. During the jump, Miss Lei confidently told the butler that it was too early for her to die. A guard was already waiting for them upstairs, who freed them from the trap. He immediately fell to his knees and rested his hands on the floor, resting his head on them in a bow. The man asked Miss Lei to put him down. The guard said he did it all because Yang Ming made him. The girl ordered to wait. At this time, Zhuo Fan was standing next to the paralyzed master and examining. The young man realized that the man understood everything, but could not speak, so he tried to convey his thoughts to him. He told the old man that he could heal him, but he in turn had to listen to him before he would receive healing. Surprised, Miss Lei asked if he could really cure her father. The old man's eyes looked at the young man with fear and hope. The guy told the master to calm down and assured him that he would not harm him. He introduced himself, saying that his name was Zhuo Fan. He was the new butler of the Luo family. The guy said that now he and the master have the same enemy. He said he had no allies here, so he needed the old man's help. The master is at the stage of hardening the skeleton. The old man nodded with his eyes, making it clear that he understood him and agreed to an undisclosed condition. Zhuo Fan summoned the blood child from the body of the guard, while not killing him as the first, and launched it into the body of the master. Miss Lei anxiously asked Zhuo Fan what he was doing. Fan calmly replied without even looking at her or the guard that he was just going to cure her father. The girl asked that if he could cure the master, then she asked the butler to tell her what was parasitizing inside her father. Zhuo Fan answered simply, a demonic insect. Zhuo Fan decided to explain to the girl what it is. He said that the cultivators of the demon realm usually sacrifice to these demonic creatures so that they become stronger. Regardless of whether they are used for defense or attack, demonic insects are very important. He reminded her that as soon as Zhuo said that, Yang Ming started acting strangely at the same moment. He got angry, pushed the alchemist away from the master and threw them into a trap. Miss Lei was surprised that his diagnosis turned out to be true. She thought that the young man just guessed, as Yang Ming said. To this, Zhuo Fan said that he understood why Yang Ming managed to deceive the girl for so long. Zhuo Fan explained that he was just deceiving Yang Ming by saying that he had guessed right. Fan explained that Yang had trapped them because the young man had made the correct diagnosis to her father. After all, that's how he figured out the guy's plans, so everything could collapse. The reason why her father was paralyzed is because this insect entered her father's body. The guy also explained that he knows how to save him. He used his demon to enter his body and pull out the demonic insect. Miss Lei asked if Zhuo Fan's demon could cure her father. At that moment, the blood child left the man's body and returned to the body of its master. Their dialogue was interrupted by the hoarse moans of Miss Lei's father, as well as the sounds he was trying to make, forming into words. The girl immediately sat down next to her father's bed. Tears of happiness flowed from her eyes. She took his hand, pressed it to her cheek and said that, thank God, her father could already speak. But then the man screamed. He was shaking. Miss Lei saw a white maggot come out of her father's chest. She immediately got angry and jumped up. The girl realized that this particular disguise was a demonic insect. She wanted to kill the damn thing, and she reached out to him, intending to grab the maggot. However, Zhuo Fan stopped her by grabbing her hand. The girl was indignant. She could not understand why he was stopping her. After all, this particular larva is very dangerous. It ruined her father. The girl asked for help to destroy it, and again she tried to break free and grab the insect. But the guy stopped her again. Fan thought to himself that he did not expect that his trip here would be so successful. He knew that this worm that poisoned the man's body was a snow silkworm. This creature is very difficult to find. It is born in a very cold area. Fan remembered that even in the Holy Land, few people know that this snow silkworm has extraordinary abilities. It parasitizes the victim's body. In other words, there was no way Zhuo could pull it out on his own. Otherwise, the insect would get into his body and become a parasite on him. Now that he has the larva in his hands, he will make this snow silkworm the scariest thing in the world. The young man grinned maliciously. As they walked through the forest, Miss Lei carried her father on her back. They saw a lot of dead bodies around, which surprised not only the girl, but also the master himself. The thought flashed through the girl's mind that about 300 or 400 people lived here. She wondered if they had all been killed, although the answer was in front of her eyes. Then they heard the sound of coughing and a whisper somewhere to the side that everyone was dead. It was one of the guards, the one who helped them get out of the basement. Zhuo Fan paid attention to him. He approached the man and told him that he had completely forgotten to thank him. The butler said thank you so much for helping them escape from that room. And then the guy unexpectedly released a bloody child for everyone, who immediately moved into the guard. It killed a man. During this, the guy only said that they didn't need a guard anymore. Miss Lei shouted in the last seconds that it was not necessary to do this, but it was too late. Fan returned the child to his body and turned to the girl. He asked her why she said she shouldn't do it. Zhuo reminded her that she must completely eradicate the enemies. Zhuo Fan explained that if they had left him alive, the news of their escape would have been known to everyone, and then everyone would be in danger. Then the elder himself spoke up, who said that the young man was right. He thanked the butler Zhuo, and the girl was thinking. Miss Lei was debating whether she had done the right thing when she made the deal with Zhuo Fan, but she alone knew for sure that if he became an enemy for her, he would immediately die. After 10 days, Master, Miss Lei and Zhuo Fan returned to the residence of the Luo family. Miss Lei's maid immediately rushed to her. Miss Lei, smiling, hugged the maid to her and asked how she was treated here. The girl enthusiastically assured her mistress not to worry. The maid added that the Luo family is very good, all except the butler named Zhuo Fan. At this time, a cough sounded behind her, and then she heard the voice of the butler, who advised her not to speak ill of others and be careful in her expressions. Young Mr. Luo said that the girl does not even imagine how much Zhuo Fan likes to hit on the ass. Therefore, if she offends him, he will hit her on the ass. The maid hid behind her mistress, and Fan thought that this was not true at all. But then all their attention turned to the elder. The man, at first in a trembling voice and abruptly, then questioningly, called Yunchen by name. Miss Lei immediately approached him, in case he needed help. The elder asked Mrs. Luo that the boy, it must be Yunai himself. He thanked God that the children of Zhenan are healthy and completely safe. The Luo family looked at him in surprise. Mrs. Luo said she didn't know this grandfather. Zhuo Fan explained to her that he was the head of Black Wind Mountain, and he added that the leader of those bandits who attacked Gyunjua, the former estate of the Luo family. This angered the young lady. She became tense. Miss Lei was going to come forward, in case to protect her father from Yunchen's attack. The elder stopped her, telling Tinger that so be it. He said that the incident that happened to the Luo family was his fault. The head knelt down and added that if the young lady wished, she could kill this old man. This surprised Tinger and her maid. But the man continued. He bowed to his feet, hitting his head on the floor. The elder said that it was his duty to the Luo family and asked the girls not to interfere. Yunchen looked at it with no emotion on her face. Zhuo Fan decided to tell her a few more facts. The butler told his mistress that the old man was poisoned by Yang Ming and was kept in custody for a long time. Zhuo Fan said that the tragedy that happened to the Luo family had nothing to do with the head of Black Wind Mountain. Yunchen indignantly asked why he hadn't mentioned it earlier, to which the butler replied that this old man did not know that he had brought a spy into his house. This spy is the culprit of the tragedy of the Luo family. Fan said that if Ms. Luo wanted to, she could still blame him or even kill him. Yunchen thought that this was the guy's stupid logic. The girl helped the head of Black Wind Mountain to climb and said that he could not be blamed, because the man was also a victim of circumstances. But the man did not push her away much and refuted her words. The elder explained that he and Zhenan were friends, but he died because of the chapter. The master apologized to the girl again for his stupidity and carelessness. Instead, Yunchen asked why his father hadn't mentioned his name before. The master gave a detailed answer to this. The head of the mountain said that Luo Zhenan was from a noble family, and the elder was a simple bandit. Therefore, her father could not tell anyone about their friendship. He and Ms. Luo's father became brothers as soon as they met for the first time. After that, he was afraid of ruining the reputation of the Luo family, so they kept their friendship a secret. Also, according to the rules of the Lei family ancestors, they are not allowed to become enemies of the Luo and Kai family. Young Mr. Luo asked why. He also said that his father had once told him that no matter what happened, the Luo family would live and die together with the Lei and Kai families. The boy said that he is already familiar with the Kai family, so apparently the old man in front of him is from the Lei family. Yunchen wondered why her father didn't tell her this, to which the boy, smiling proudly, explained to her that her father had said it was a man's secret. He also said that he should not talk about it to his family and especially to outsiders. Zhuo Fan voiced his guess out loud. He suggested that it could be a rule of the ancestors of the Lei and Kai families that had been passed down for a long time. The master confirmed his words. He said that this rule has been passed down from generation to generation. The man sadly noticed that he had no children who would inherit it. Fan realized that if this rule was passed down, it meant that each family had special fighting techniques. He asked if they had martial arts. The man replied that he had low-level Lingji martial arts. He added that he handed them over to Tinner because he doesn't have any children of his own. But unfortunately, they were stolen by the traitor Yang Ming. Zhuo Fan understood everything. He said it was now clear what the human valley was looking for. The guy headed for the exit, telling them to stay here and wait for him to return. The butler went to the main building of the Qianlong Pavilion. He started calling Brother Ju right from the gate, but Miss Long and Long Jai came out to meet him. The girl rudely told the butler to shut up, and then she explained that Uncle Ju was not in the pavilion today, and rudely chased Zhuo Fan away. The guy told her that he didn't come here as a guest. He needed to talk to Brother Ju about something important, so they had to let him through. Miss Loon started shouting at him angrily again. She asked if his conversation was so important. She reminded him that he was in the Qianlong Pavilion, so he couldn't be too arrogant. Wang Jai, unlike the girl, calmly told Zhuo Fan that Uncle Jia would not be able to meet him today, so the butler had to leave. Fan just quietly asked the girl if she knew where he had been the last few days. She asked him haughtily where he had been. Miss Lun heard that he came back with 2 girls last time, so she assumes that he was in a brothel again. But the butler just smiled, saying that they were too relaxed, in his opinion, for this situation. He said that he went to follow the people from the human valley. The guy added that soon these people will be here and attack the Qianlong Pavilion. Therefore, he asked later not to blame him for not warning them. Miss Moon called his words nonsense. She sarcastically asked him how he could know where the people from the human valley were. After all, it was simply impossible to know. Turning his back on them, Zhuo Fan prepared to leave. Finally, he told them to tell their Uncle Zhu that he would bring the Luo family to hide. And he told them not to ask for their help when they were destroyed by the human valley. Miss Loon was surprised by his behavior. She couldn't understand how the guy dared to talk to them like that. The girl will curse him as soon as he leaves. Suddenly, the doors of the house opened. A voice from the Nutria ordered the butler to pass through. Master Zhu's disciples wanted to see him off, but Zhuo Fan said that there was no need for that. He would come by himself. Miss Moon asked what was good about this guy. Just because he's a level 5 master, Uncle Zhu appreciates him. Long Jai believed that the girl, having not tasted the grapes, says that they are sour. Zhuo Fan walked into the hall where Master Zhu sat on the throne. The man greeted Brother Zhuo and then asked what information he had today. He warned him that if the guy says useless things today, the old man will not forgive him. The butler said that the masters of the Yuming Valley will be here soon, and they are going to attack the Qianlong Pavilion. The young man asked if his information was so useless. The man said that if this is true, then this is a very big problem. And then the young man saw that 2 more chairs, which he had not previously paid attention to, had previously turned their backs to him. The 2 people who were sitting in them released their fire dragons. Zhuo Fan tensed up and wondered who these people were. The young man realized that only a master of fire magic could create such pressure. He also estimated that the second man had triggered the golden dragon's power. Zhuo Fan appreciated the strength of these 2 because it was simply incredible. The guy assumed that they were not far from the God's Vision stage, one of the best in this territory. He didn't expect that there were such strong people in the Qianlong Pavilion. The man who had the power of a dragon asked him if the guy in front of him was the one that Lao Jiu had praised very much. Bowing to the elder, the guy replied that it was him. The master continued by saying that he had heard that Zhuo Fan was a level 5 array master. He asked if it was true. The butler replied that even if it was true, in the eyes of the elders, it was just trash. But the Dragon Lord told the guy to relax. He explained that they respect all the array masters coming to the Qianlong Pavilion. The fire master, who had been silent before, spoke up. He said that Master Lao Jiu had told them that the guy had gone crazy. He wanted to make the little Luo family the strongest among the 7 imperial families for 10 years. The fire master heard these words and directly said that this guy was crazy, because others didn't have the courage he did. But now, having seen Zhuo Fan himself, the man sees that he is humble. He asked why the butler was acting like this. Zhuo Fan replied that he often met with Brother Zhu, so he got used to him. But he saw the new 2 elders for the first time. This surprised Master Zhu. The man said he was surprised that the butler could be obedient. He thought the guy was always crazy. However, after meeting the 2 elders, he behaved so correctly. The butler laughed a little at this. Then the guy decided to add, he behaves like this in front of Brother Zhu because he considers him his own brother. He said that Brother Zhu is a very understanding person and that the master knows him very well. However, if he also behaves crazily with other people, then he will simply find his own death. The fire master thought about it. He understood that this boy looked like the one Lao Jiu had described to them. And he saw that the young man understood how to properly flatter people. The Dragon Lord was thinking that Lao Jiu felt embarrassed listening to the guy. He would also be embarrassed if he were in Master Jiu's place. And then the fire master suddenly laughed, saying that he liked this young man. The Dragon Lord added that if he had known that the butler would be like this, he would have met him at the gates of the Qianlong Pavilion. And he laughed too. Zhuo Fan thought to himself that he, the Demon Emperor of Magic, could not lose in this world. Therefore, he will praise the elders in such a way until they begin to consider themselves as gods. And then the Dragon Lord decided to remind him that the human valley would soon attack and asked how the guy found out about it. Zhuo Fan said that more than half a month ago, he saw them at the Sun family. And there, besides Elder Giant, there were 2 other people who had a strong Kai aura. Master Zhu slapped the armrest with his palm, saying that the more opponents there were, the better. He promised that he would kill them one by one, regardless of the number. The Dragon Lord asked Lao Jiu to calm down and control his anger. Then the elder turned to the butler, asking how he knew all this. But Zhuo Fan replied only with a simple expression that cats have their own way, and rats have their own. So he had a way that he can't tell them about. Master Zhu addressed the Dragon Lord, calling him Brother San. He said they could trust the information from Brother Zhuo. The man also said that earlier this elder giant came to Feng City to visit the Kai family. Brother Zhuo found out and told him. It turned out to be true. The Dragon Lord said that the young man was amazing and asked who his master was. Zhuo Fan replied that it was the ruler of the 9 lower worlds. This surprised the whole trio. Zhuo Fan thought that he had produced the desired effect. The ruler of the lower 9 worlds. This name sounded imperious, but the question arose whether there was such a figure in this empire. The guy knew that if someone from the Holy Land heard this name, they would think it was related to the demonic emperor of the 9 hells. However, no one in this empire knows this name. The Dragon Lord was the first to recover from the shock and speak. The elder said that Master Zhuo Fan is definitely a great figure in this empire, since he trained him like this. Zhuo Fan remembered a case. He turned to Brother Zhu and asked if he had recovery pills. The master tensed up, asking if anyone from the Luo family was hurt. But nevertheless, he gave the pills to the butler. The demon emperor realized that these were level 3 recovery pills. He thanked Brother Zhu and the 2 elders. The guy added that with their permission he was leaving. Master Zhu guessed what was the main purpose of the butlers coming to the Qianlong pavilion. He said it was just an accident, and if he interferes with their meeting again, he won't let Fan go alive. Leaving, Zhuo Fan said that he would share other information with him. He added that the Human Valley is expected to attack in 2 to 3 days, and he advised them to prepare. When the guy was almost at the exit, the elders began to discuss him. The Dragon Lord turned to Lao Qiu and Lao Wu. He told them that this kid was very smart. The master noted that the guy had the ability to read a person like an open book. The elder added that he is young, but already possesses extraordinary skills. He said he was pretty sure that Zhuo Fan's master was one of the strongest on this mainland, and he believed that in the future, the Qianlong Pavilion should establish a good relationship with him. After returning to his estate, Zhuo Fan approached the elder. He handed him the pills and asked him to take them. The guy convinced the old man that they would help. Miss Lei asked what kind of pills they were. The butler answered her, without hiding the truth, that these were level 3 recovery pills. The girl was very surprised. She knew that such pills were worth more than 100,000 spirit stones. She understood that the income of Black Wind Mountain in a year does not even reach 1,000 spiritual stones. And now the Luo family was giving such an expensive medicine to them just like that. She wondered if the Luo family was rich. Yunshin approached Miss Lei. The young lady told the girl to relax, because the Qianlong Pavilion owes the Luo family 10 million, so there was nothing to worry about. Mrs. Luo asked to accept them as a gift. Miss Lei felt uncomfortable. Miss Lei thought about it. She was surprised that the Qianlong Pavilion owed a lot to the Luo family. Now it was no surprise that the pavilion was protecting the Luo family. But then she wondered if the Luo family had a lot of treasures in Gyunzhuang. After all, bandits under the leadership of Yang Ming looted their estate. Zhuo Fan was thinking at this moment that all women are the same. He even tried to compare everyone, but they still turned out to be the same. Meanwhile, in the family home of the Sun family, Master Giant sat and absorbed the forces, absorbing the souls. Human entered his chambers. The disciple bowed before the master and greeted him, calling him the 8th elder. The man told the guy that he should have been on Black Wind Mountain for 10 years, and the guy did it. The master praised the disciple for this. The shadows turned into people. There were several enthrones in the throne room. Hoods were put on their heads. The master continued that it was just a small operation. Yang Ming had to pay tribute to this little girl. The guy said that there was a small problem, but at the moment everything is fine. But then pain burned his cheek. The beam that Master Giant released slightly injured the young man's cheek. The guy looked at his master in surprise. The elder said that this Dark Moon project was organized by the families more than 10 years ago. Therefore, if Yang Ming's mistake destroys the plan, he will do everything so that Ming begs for death. The guy bowed, saying that he understood everything. The man told him to continue his mission, because the operation should begin in 3 days. And again I heard an affirmative answer from the student. When Yang Ming was already leaving, the elder added to him that the young man should not allow anyone from the Luo family to survive, especially Zhuo Fan. Master Jian said that the Qianlong Pavilion used Zhuo Fan to kill Yuquan, but the fact remained that his hands were smeared with the blood of a Human Valley disciple, and the people who killed his disciple can't live in this world. Yang Ming was more than happy with such an order. He confirmed with full satisfaction that he would fulfill it. Zhuo Fan was sitting in his room and performing energy. The guy knew that one more step and he would break through to the next step and reach the 5th Kai Gathering realm. However, unfortunately, the body he had now was stuck on the 4th Kai Gathering realm. For this reason, he could not advance further. Fan thought he should have absorbed more energy from the members of Black Wind Mountain. But he couldn't do it now. It was very dangerous. So he couldn't recklessly use the Blood Child. He has nothing else to do but stay patient and focused. It's time for their battle. Abruptly, Zhuo Fan felt a terrifying aura. He went outside and saw Master Ju hovering in the sky above the courtyard of the Qianlong Pavilion. The guy knew that Long Ju and the other two elders were masters of the Tianxuan stage. Therefore, it was expected that the other two masters had prepared an ambush. The butler reasoned that in the end, the Qianlong Pavilion is determined to fight the Yuming Valley, regardless of the outcome of the battle. Zhuo Fan knew that they would never come to a truce. In any case, the Luo family will be safe. The young lady ran outside and approached the butler. The girl asked Zhuo Fan what was going on here. Fan asked them what they were doing here. Then he roughly and harshly ordered them to quickly return to the house, because it was dangerous here. A little scared of such a Fan, the couple went into the house anyway. Before closing the door, Yunchen looked at Zhuo Fan and told him to be careful. The demon emperor felt his heart prickle, but realized that there was no time to worry about it now, because their enemy was already here. With a large cloud of energy, Master Jian descended from the sky closer to them. The old man sank to the ground and the fog that had enveloped him before disappeared. The enraged Master Ju asked Zhu Ying Jian Fan how he dared to behave like that. The elder of the Qianlong Pavilion asked if he really wanted to make a massacre here. Instead of answering the host's questions, Master Jian asked Long Ju who from his Qianlong Pavilion killed the Yuming Valley disciple. The man asked Master Ju if he couldn't demand justice. This angered Long Ju. He asked what kind of justice the opponent was talking about. The elder asked if people from the Human Valley even know what justice is. Then the master asked, remembering the past, if Jian had forgotten who had set a trap for him, Ju, in the city of Loi. Master Ju also asked who destroyed his golden purple lightning eye. Zhuo Fan was hooked on this information. He remembered that it was said that the golden purple lightning eye was the eye of the emperor, who in ancient times was one of the 3 strongest emperors, and it was said that one could die from one look of those eyes. Zhuo Fan did not expect such a precious treasure to be discovered by a cultivator of this stage, and if it was destroyed or stolen, then revenge will be more serious than killing a loved one. Therefore, it did not surprise him that Long Ju had been hating Master Jian for so long. It seemed interesting to the guy. He was thinking that if the Eye of God was there, then he would take the opportunity to steal it and use it in his plans. Master Jian laughed at all of Lao Ju's words. He asked him who was to blame for this. The old man said that at first Master Ju was one of the best with such an eye. Master Ju flared up at such impudence. He used the magic of the dragon's claws, released the fire beast. He promised that he would kill Jiang with this hatred. Master Jian repelled his attack by using void chain magic. These chains wrapped around Master Ju's dragon. Old man Jian told Lao Ju that in the days when he had an eye, he was a dragon, but now Ju was just a worm. Master Ju was flying very fast towards old man Jian. Taking advantage of the moment, he used the hidden dragon claws attack. His opponent asked if Tishayu really thought that such an attack could kill him, but he replied that it was not to kill Jiang, but to give him time. And then, from both sides, the Fire Master and the Dragon Master flew at Elder Jian, ready to attack. This greatly surprised and puzzled Master Jian. He realized that they had ambushed him. The man realized that it seemed that Long Ju was very serious about killing him. Master Jian told him to take care of Long Ju. At this moment, several people from the Yuming Valley decided to attack Master Ju from behind. However, he managed to see their attack. The man summoned the sword and said that as long as he could kill Jiang, he would not die in vain, and repelled the attack, killing the attackers. One of the people who did not attack, but were nearby, cried out in surprise. He said that he sees the treasure of the 3rd spirit of the 3rd level, the dragon sword. At this time, Master Ju asked Brother San and Brother Wu to kill Jiang without fail. The Dragon Lord replied to him that of course he would, and then he added that Brother Ju should look at how he was going to kill him now. The man moved quickly towards Master Jian. He was going to kill the old man by invoking strong magic. However, everyone was surprised by a bright flash of purple light. As soon as the fog cleared and the flash passed, everyone saw a terrible picture. The beam struck through Master Wu's chest. The elder lost his coordination and began to fall, because they were fighting in the air above the ground. The man was coughing and bleeding. His brothers were surprised by this and hurried to his aid. They neatly caught Brother Wu. Master Wu came to his senses. At this time, they could hear the laughter that Master Jian was making. By doing so, he attracted their attention. When the masters looked at him, they saw that one of the old man's eyes was glowing purple. The man said that Master Wu's attack was very dangerous. He added that he did not expect the Qianlong Pavilion to send Elders Wu and San here to help Old Man Ju. All 3 of them looked at Jiang with hatred. The man kept talking. In his opinion, the titles Golden Dragon and Fire Dragon are titles that were really worthy of them. Then Zhuo Fan saw that there was a demonic raven sitting on Master Giant's shoulder, which was connected to the old man in the same way that the blood child was connected to the demon emperor. The butler didn't expect Elder Giant to have a demonic raven. The guy knew that demonic crows can devour everything and assign attributes to themselves. Therefore, the strength of this raven depends entirely on its owner, and this one is clearly very strong. And it was a pity that such a powerful demonic beast was in the hands of Master Giant. The guy thought it would be better if it was used by the emperor. Then Zhuo Fan saw that the raven also had a golden purple lightning eye. The butler realized that this must be the same eye that Long Ju had. Obviously, he wasn't destroyed and was in this raven. Fan licked his lips rapaciously, thinking that the gods must love him. He liked that it was getting more interesting. Master Ju saw and realized that it was his golden purple lightning eye. The master could not understand how this could be. He thought that the eye was destroyed. Elder Giant was laughing at him. The man said that his famous golden purple lightning eye on this mainland got his demonic raven. Therefore, if Master Ju wanted to kill Elder Giant, then he needed to destroy his golden purple lightning eye of God. And the man sent a demonic raven to attack Master Ju. Golden Dragon Master Wu shouted for Brother Ju to be careful, but the raven beat him to it, releasing a violet ray at the man. Raven then sent the same attack to Master San and Master Wu. Zhuo Fan, who was watching this, decided that it was bad. That eye was too strong. The power of this eye could defeat even 3 masters at the Tangshuan stage. The demon emperor understood that if this continued, the Qianlong Pavilion would lose. And then, the Luo family will come to an end. Zhuo Fan couldn't let that happen. The guy decided to take a risk by releasing his bloody child. At this time, Elder Giant told the 3 elders of the Qianlong Pavilion that this eye was a very good thing. The man stroked the raven, saying that even if they attacked all at once, he was not afraid of them. The recovered masters of the Qianlong Pavilion once again soared into the air. Master Wu told him not to think that if he had this eye, he could defeat them. The man added that Elder Giant was too arrogant. He ordered his brothers Lao San and Lao Ju not to move. He himself was going to attack. The Qianlong Pavilion elder said that this trio of their opponents would lose their heads now. He flew into a great rage, saying that he would now show why he received the title of Golden Dragon. The man's eyes lit up with a yellow flame. He decided to apply top-level martial arts, namely Dragon Fangs. Elder Giant's fervor decreased when he saw the huge dragon summoned by Master Wu's power. The man ordered the demonic raven to attack the dragon, and the bird flew at the lizard. However, the attack of the Qianlong Pavilion Master was much stronger than the demonic bird, so the raven lost. This greatly surprised Old Man Giant. He didn't expect Master Wu to be so strong, because he could fight his demonic raven. Therefore, the man decided to enlist support from his people, saying that they attacked together. The men united, summoning the Chains of the Void to attack Master Wu. Chains bound the dragon's mouth. Elder Giant also said that Master Wu was the strongest of the 3 elders in the Qianlong Pavilion. Therefore, the 3 of them will have to work together to keep Master Wu. To this, Master Wu replied to him that even if they used the Eye of God, they could not think that they would be able to defeat him. Elder Giant laughed. He said that Master Wu was right, but do not forget that the people of the Human Valley still have aces up their sleeves. And then the demonic raven attacked Master Wu. His brothers, seeing this, shouted to Brother Wu to be careful. To this, Elder Giant shouted that he would send the Dragon Master to hell. At this time, Zhuo Fan, controlling the blood child, flew up to Elder Giant's back. He thought that the old man was looking for death since he was behaving like this. But in this battle, he wouldn't let Qianlong Pavilion lose. The blood child from the back possessed Master Giant. The master lost control of the magic, weakening its pressure. 2 of his men asked him what he was doing. Master Wu took advantage of this hitch to direct even more magic at the people of the Human Valley. The master's dragon completely destroyed the demonic raven. With the next attack, the master hit the people themselves, saying that it was so-so. Master Giant thought to himself that most likely the Qianlong Pavilion had used some kind of hidden attack. His chest was squeezed. The man determined that these were definitely demonic practices. The man realized that he was attacked by a demon. But then another thought came. The attacker could have been a spiritual weapon. The master was scared. He didn't know who the man was or if he could handle him. Giant understood that this was becoming dangerous. He ordered his men to retreat, and they tried to escape. However, the 3 elders of the Qianlong Pavilion flew after them. All this time, Zhuo Fan, the manager of his blood child, brought him back to himself again. The guy understood that he felt hatred from all the elders. Therefore, he decided that they would sort it out themselves. The butler knew that, after all, it was they who hated each other, not him. Therefore, there is nothing more for him to do here. The demon emperor thought that he wanted the eye of God very much. There aren't many things in this world that attract the emperor's attention. This golden purple lightning eye. Zhuo Fan decided that he should get it for himself. Zhuo Fan smiled and summoned the blood child again. He said the warm-up was over. It's time to greet the VIP guests who will be coming on stage soon. At this time, ordinary Yuming Valley fighters were attacking the Qianlong Pavilion. Long Jai, who commanded the defensive squad, spoke to the attackers. The guy said they were waiting for the Yuming Valley. Now, they will answer for the invasion, as well as for going against their Qianlong Pavilion. Therefore, Long Jai shouted to the Qianlong Pavilion squad to kill all the attackers. The guards fought mainly with swords, using only physical martial arts. They didn't use magic. But then there was a powerful explosion that threw off a small group of attacking people. People from the Yuming Valley asked in surprise who it was. When the smoke from the explosion cleared, they saw that Miss Lun was standing there, and there were also reinforcements in the form of Qianlong Pavilion soldiers. She turned to Brother Jai, telling them to kill everyone who dared to attack their house together. People from the Yuming Valley began to suspect something. One of the guys realized that it was another ambush, so he shouted to everyone to retreat. At these words, Long Jai ordered his men to seize the attackers. He ordered not to let them leave. Zhuo Fan watched all this from the roof of one of the houses of the Qianlong Pavilion. He said that now he sees the Qianlong Pavilion catching a tiger in the forest. The guy noticed that the people of the Yuming Valley are too proud. They even used the Lei family to destroy the Luo family. And Zhuo Fan still couldn't understand why they didn't go that far. Then he noticed that one of the attackers had returned, and Yang Ming himself was at the head of it. He led the army. The guy shouted for them to give up the Dragon's Paw or Yuming Valley would kill all the people from the Luo family. Zhuo Fan took the floor, telling them all to stop. He jumped off the roof and walked closer to Yang Ming. The butler told him that they would not go any further or they would all die. Yang Ming turned to Fan, asking if there was a butler from the Lai Luo family. He confirmed that he was indeed the butlers of the Luo Po family of the Zhuo Fan estate. Then the disciple, Master Jian, realized that in front of him was the one whom his teacher had instructed to kill. Yang Ming said that he hadn't even started looking for the butler yet, as he found himself in front of him. The guy gave the order to kill the butler, saying that they would get a reward for his head. The soldiers began to carry out the order. The bravest one ran to attack. He tried to grab and hit the guy. Zhuo Fan smiled, saying that with such strength, he could not even think that he had a chance to kill Fan. The butler used the withering touch technique on this soldier. The man died instantly. Yang Ming, who was watching this little duel closely, realized that Zhuo Fan was a demonic cultivator. He asked the guy who he was, saying that there had never been people like him in the Luo family. Zhuo Fan smiled. Taking the pose of the old man, he pretended to be in the mountains. The guy turned to Yang Ming, calling him his younger brother. He asked him how the young man could not remember such a big liar as that old man. Yang Ming certainly remembered him. He got angry and asked where those two were. Laughing at him, Zhuo Fan said that Yang Ming was a fool. He asked disciple Jiang if he hadn't realized yet that the girls were under the protection of the Qianlong Pavilion. The guy, squeezing his fist with all his strength, told him that he regretted that he had not killed them in the basement then. But Zhuo Fan told him something that shocked him. The butler said he didn't kill them for another reason. Zhuo Fan said that at the time, Yang Ming couldn't do it because Xiao Qi wasn't at the manor. He said that disciple Giant had been hiding in Black Wind Mountain for so long that it was possible to judge his caution. The butler added that Yang Ming intended to frame Xiao Qi. Ming would shift the blame onto her, accusing her of killing their master. During his speech, Zhuo Fan released his aura. Yang couldn't understand how a man like him could be related to the Luo family. Yang Ming decided to attack him. He even concentrated his magic in his hand in order to strike. However, Zhuo Fan stopped him a little, asking what Ming was really so afraid of. The butler smugly stated that Yang Ming was even now attacking using all his strength. Yang Ming only laughed at these words. He told the butler not to be so overconfident. He was stronger than Yuquan, so Fan couldn't think that he would defeat him as easily. Disciple Jiang was met by a barrier of protection that Fan erected. The protective barrier threw Yang Ming a short distance away, while causing him bodily injuries. Annoyed, Min asked the butler what it was. Zhuo Fan said Yang Ming was right. Jian's disciple was stronger than Yuquan, but nevertheless, he was still no different from trash. And the only thing that trash like Yang Ming deserved was death. Zhuo Fan used magic to release the dragon. Yang Ming was surprised and didn't even try to defend himself, so it was easy to destroy him. But Fanya was stopped by the girl's scream. It was Miss Lei who was shouting, asking me to stop. She ran up to the butler, but then the chains of emptiness appeared, which restrained the dragon. The butler wondered who else was there. Behind his back, Tyre asked him if he couldn't hear her, that she was telling him to stop. Zhuo Fan turned his head slightly in her direction and said that everyone who attacks him is his enemy, so he asked her why he should listen to her. Then a man descended from the sky in black smoke, as Master Giant had done earlier. The newly arrived man ordered Yang Ming to return home. The guy turned to the man, calling him Elder Yun. Ming said that he wanted to personally kill Zhuo Fan to avenge his younger brother Yuquan. The elder slapped the guy so hard that he flew off. He angrily asked if Ming had thought about killing Zhuo Fan. Frustrated, Yang Ming pressed his hand to his face and asked why Elder Yun did not allow him to do this and doubted his abilities. The man turned his head slightly to his student and said that he had seen Yan before and considered him very talented. However, compared to this butler, Yang Ming was the word ant. Elder Yun turned to Zhuo Fan. He said he was giving him one last chance to join the human valley, and if he works for their valley, then the Yun elders and the others will forget everything he has done before. Zhuo Fan was very surprised and asked what the man really thought, that he, Elder Yun, was worthy of working with him. Zhuo Fan. Everyone stood in suspense. They were waiting for Elder Yun to answer Fan's question. Elder Yun asked the guy if he was overconfident. He said that Zhuo should understand that it is better to accept the master's offer. After all, otherwise they will end up like these people. After these words, Master Yun directed the concentrated magic of the chains at the soldiers who were standing to his right. He killed them. By his action, the man shocked Miss Lei. Smiling, Zhuo Fan asked if Black Wind Mountain was not an ally of Yuming Valley. Why then is Elder Yun killing people from the squad sworn to Yang Ming? The master said that the young man is very smart. Therefore, he should certainly understand what the elder meant. Now that they, namely the people from Black Wind Mountain, have learned the truth, they may doubt the human valley. This could not be allowed, so it's better to get rid of the evidence now. But Zhuo Fan asked who Master Yun meant when he said they. The master told him that if Fan joined the Yuming Valley, he would definitely find out. This made the guy laugh very much at the top of his voice. Having finished laughing, the guy pointed at Yang Ming with his finger. Zhuo Fan said that the Yuming Valley in his eyes looks the same as Yang Ming looks in the eyes of Master Yun. That is, just an ant. This angered Elder Yun. He asked if the butler was afraid of dying, and he asked the master with a smile if he did not think that he could kill him. Fanya. The man charged, shouting that he would kill him. And again, Zhuo Fan was saved from the attack by a protective barrier, which he did not need much strength, energy, or time to create. While Elder Yun was trying to break through the butler's defense, Yang Ming was watching with anger. He was shaking from the anger that was coursing through his body. He said that he was the best student and was a genius, but then Zhuo Fan appeared. The guy promised that Fan just needs to wait a little and human will come for him. And he jumped onto the roof of the fence wall, intending to escape. Miss Lei noticed that. She asked the question out loud if the guy was going to run away, which made Zhuo Fan a little distracted when he turned his head to see who he was talking about. The guy saw Yang Ming, and also that Miss Lei rushed after him. Fan said she was a stupid girl and released a blood child that flew faster than her after the target. But then the guy noticed that his barrier began to weaken. Master Yun continued to attack the protective barrier in the hope of defeating him. He asked if the butler thought that the guy would beat the master. In fact, Fan was biding his time. And when Master Yun weakened a little, Zhuo concentrated his energy and struck his blow. A bright flash illuminated the scene of the battle, and the man was thrown several meters away from the young man. Master Yun soared into the air to avoid more blows from Fan. He looked at the young man and said that for such a young age, Zhuo Fan is good at handling the 5th level Panlong array. But unfortunately, today he met him, the Yun Elder of the Yuming Valley. The man was about to attack again, calling on his military equipment. But Zhuo Fan calmly summoned his magic. The butler lined up about a dozen plates between himself and Master Yun. The man laughed, saying that the strength of the master of the Tiangshuan stage is not something that the guy could imagine, and punched the blocks one by one. Zhuo Fan summoned the array control circle. Smiling, he told the man that the strength of the 5th level array is not something that Master Yun can imagine, and released the first dragon. The dragon rushed to attack Elder Yun. The man shouted that he should not be underestimated and released the magic of the chains. Fan did not lose his head and immediately released the second dragon. The master also coped with this dragon, but Fan continued and released 9 dragons. They all attacked Master Yun, who was overwhelmed by energy and heat. The man realized that he was mistaken. It was not the 3rd level Panlong array. While the dragons were attacking Master Yun, Zhuo Fan told him that this was the 5th level of the Jiatan Panlong array, and the elder could feel it on himself. He noticed that at the young age of the butler, the guy could already control the array of the 5th level. The elder admitted that the young man managed to really surprise him. Therefore, Elder Yun asked him again if Zhuo Fan wanted to join his Yuming Valley. Looking haughtily at the old man, Zhuo Fan said that his garbage valley was not suitable for him, the butler of the Luo family. To this, the elder replied that if the guy did not want to join them, then he would not allow such a genius child as Zhuo Fan to live in this world, and attacked him. But Fan just calmly and simply waved his hand, and again all the dragons flew forward, protecting the guy and attacking the elder. The dragons struck one by one with their tails and bites. They burned with their touches and wounded. In the final attack, the dragons threw the elder a few meters further away, from which he soared into the air. Zhuo Fan asked him with a haughty smile how he could become an elder of the Yuming Valley with such abilities. He also asked how their Yuming Valley was able to become one of the 7 imperial families. The man slightly moved away from the attack and could even stand firmly on his feet. In a low voice, Elder Yun said that even if Fan got down on his knees and begged for mercy, he would still kill him. The elder tried to attack again. Overcome with rage, Master Yun summoned a huge sword with 2 ends. Zhuo Fan realized that it was a spirit treasure. The guy said that even if the elder of the Human Valley uses the treasure of the spirit to defeat a youngster like him. The butler asked the man, if others found out about this, wouldn't Master Yun become a laughing stock for the 7 imperial families? The master laughed and said that if Zhuo Fan died, no one would know about it. Zhuo Fan thought that he was trying to provoke Master Yun so that he would not use his spirit treasure. However, the elder was a dishonest person, because a man couldn't fight fair. Therefore, others do not want to fight with such people. Fan knew that demonic cultivators play dirty, so they are also very cruel. In such battles, you cannot hesitate, otherwise you will die. Although the demon emperor understood that if he were in his place, he would do the same. The man laughed. He threw a gun at Zhuo Fan, telling him to go to hell. Zhuo Fan strengthened his dragons and released them to his defense. But the weapon easily defeated the stronger dragons. The speed of the weapon's reprisal against the dragons was great. The butler was very surprised by this. Laughing, Elder Yun said that now this time Zhuo Fan would not escape, and called the weapon back into his hands. The butler asked if his spirit treasure was the 3rd level. The elder said that the boy has a good eye. He also added that Zhuo Fan was the first person at this stage of cultivation to die from a 3rd grade moon wheel level treasure. And then Zhuo Fan smiled and asked to wait. He asked what would happen if he joined Human Valley right now. But the distraught Master Yun said it was too late. The man threw the weapon at Zhuo Fan. The spirit treasure was rapidly approaching the guy. Fan was frantically figuring out what to do next while the weapon was flying at him. But then there was a sharp explosion and a bright flash, and Zhuo Fan saw an old man in front of his eyes. It was the head of the mountain whom he had saved. The spirit weapon only casually wounded the old man on the arm. The guy looked at the old man in front of him in surprise. The elder of the Human Valley asked him who this elder was. The man introduced himself as the head of the Black Wind Mountain, Lei Yun Tian. The head said that Master Yun dared to offend a member of the Luo family. He said it was tantamount to becoming his enemy. Zhuo Fan quietly asked behind his back if Elder Lei had recovered from his illness. The man said that thanks to the help of the butler Zhuo, the old man not only recovered, but also managed to break through to the Tianxuan stage. Fan said it was excellent. Zhuo Fan told old man Lei to act on his signal. He added that this time they will kill people from the Human Valley. But the elder of the Human Valley only laughed. He said he had already taken care of Zhuo Fan's array. He also said that the old man's strength is still unstable after breaking through to the Tianxuan stage. Therefore, he was unworthy to become his opponent. Zhuo Fan said it wasn't true, and there will be no situation better than now. So he summoned his dragons and turned to old man Lei, saying that they were starting. The man said affirmatively that he understood him. Butler Zhuo and the head of Black Wind Mountain simultaneously directed their forces at Elder Yun, who was rapidly approaching them. The master of the Human Valley, looking at their joint attack, thought that the array of this guy annoyed him very much. Therefore, he should have killed the youth first. This is what he told Zhuo Fan after he repelled their first joint attack. He also added that he would kill Zhuo Fan first and not let them escape. The man tried to attack them again, intending to kill the butler, but his plans were ruined by Master Lei, who attacked the elder of the Yuming Valley with a bright flash from the side. Surprised by this, Master Yun asked if old man Lei was also looking for death. At that moment, his spiritual weapon was reflected from Zhuo Fan's protective barrier, and was returning back. Master Yun ordered the weapon to move towards the old man, and it changed course, aiming at the man's throat. At this time, Zhuo Fan thanked old man Lei for his help. He told the elder of the Yuming Valley that he would now show the true strength of the Jiyushan Panlong array. And the guy called on all his strength and the strength of the array. He released all his power into the array control circle and released the dragons. They merged into one huge strong dragon that flew straight towards Elder Yun. This amazed the master of the human valley. He couldn't believe his eyes. Elder Yun was surprised how it happened. The dragon was devouring him with its mouth. The man burned down, and his last words were that he still lost to this little demon Zhuo Fan. The dragon burned the weapon, Master Yun, and returned to the array control circle. One of the strongest elders was defeated by a simple butler of the little Luo family. The rest of the Qianlong Pavilion masters saw a huge pillar of light during their battle, which was caused by Zhuo Fan's magic. They wondered what was going on in that place. It looked like martial artists were fighting there. Master Wu wondered who was the magician who possessed such power. He said that there was something wrong in the Qianlong Pavilion residence. They have to step back to check it out. When all three Qianlong Pavilion masters retreated and flew to see what had happened in the residence, Master Jiu turned around. He thought that Master Jian would use this opportunity to escape. The master was upset that, unfortunately, this time he failed to kill Jiang. One of Master Jian's people, seeing that the Qianlong Pavilion masters were flying away, wondered what they should do now. He suggested that they also fly there. The second man told him not to be a fool. He said that really the first one thinks that Elder Jian has such power. The man said that most likely there could be a stronger master in that place. The three elders had already run there. Therefore, the second person offered to return and report what happened here. Therefore, they needed to retreat as quickly as possible. And the men flew away. Both men hoped that at least Elder Yun was fine. At this time, in the very place where Master Yun was destroyed, an exhausted Zhuo Fan and a surprised Master Lei were standing. The man thought that he would have to sacrifice his life to attract Elder Yun's attention. The old man wanted to detain the master as much as he could, so that Zhuo Fan could kill the master of the Yuming Valley. The old man was also very surprised that there was nothing left of Elder Yun, not even a corpse, everything was gone. The man was thinking about what if Zhuo Fan is able to kill the elder of the Yuming Valley, who is at the Tangshuan stage. Then this little demon, in the skin of the butler of the Luo family, was very dangerous. Zhuo Fan called Old Man Lei by name. The man told him that whatever the order of Butler Luo was, he would carry it out. The butler asked Old Man Lei to take care of the Luo family, and even added the word please. The guy himself said he would go and bring Miss Lei back. The master of Black Wind Mountain told Zhuo Fan not to worry. The man promised that even at the cost of his life, he would not allow anyone to harm Yunchen and Yunhai. Fan just smiled. Zhuo Fan turned around and went to search. He thought that there won't be any enemies yet, so he thinks that the elders of the Qianlong Pavilion are already rushing here, and will be here soon. That's why the guy wanted Lei Yuntian to stay here. He was the guarantee of the Luo family's safety, and when he was sure of it, Fan could safely go and bring the girl without worrying about the Luo family. But for his own safety, Fan had something else in mind. He walked over to Master Yun's remaining spiritual weapon. The guy said that he should take this third-level spirit treasure, the Moon Wheel. It will be useful for him. Somewhere in the forest not far from the Qianlong Pavilion residence, Yang Ming was walking, panting and leaning on trees. His wounds hurt, as did his lungs from the long journey. The guy swore at Zhuo Fan, but then he heard an order to stop behind him. It was a woman's scream, and when he turned around, he saw that it was Miss Lei. Looking around, the young man realized that Zhuo Fan did not go with the girl. He spoke with a smile on his face. Yang Ming asked if she was going to stop him alone. The angry girl screamed at him. She said that today she would clear her father's name and kill Yang Ming, the traitor. The guy just laughed at her remark. He asked who the traitor was, and then he added that he wasn't a member of Black Wind Mountain from the very beginning, so they couldn't call him a traitor. Yang Ming also said that did she really think she could kill him? After all, her powers were very small, even compared to him. Miss Lei replied to him that even if she couldn't kill him, and that even if she died, she still wanted to clear her father's name. She asked if the guy had forgotten how the man took care of them. Then she added that there was one more thing she wanted to know. The girl hesitated slightly and asked a question. She asked if Yang Ming had ever loved her. He just laughed. Yang Ming said that he is a genius disciple of the Yuming Valley, and even if he wants to get married, it will be someone from the imperial families. Therefore, he could not even imagine that a woman like her could be with him. It broke the girl's heart. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She said that if the guy thinks so, then she will kill him right now. The girl attacked him using the magic she was trained in, but Yang Ming just dodged her punch. He summoned his magic into his palm and reached out to the girl, saying that all her attacks were useless against him, now she would die. But then the blood child possessed the guy, throwing him away from the girl. He slammed into a tree with his back and wheezed. Miss Lei recognized the tapes that came from Yang Ming. The girl realized that it was a bloody child. She remembered that it belonged to Zhuo Fan. The child made a sound, and the girl was surprised that he had saved her. Miss Lei realized that Zhuo Fan had even sent a blood child to save her. But then Yang Ming spoke up. He asked Sister Yuding to spare him. He reminded her of the wonderful moments that they had lived together. The guy stretched out his hand to her, asking if she didn't love him anymore. Yang Ming asked what was wrong with her. The girl got angry. She said that precisely because he remembers it all, she will kill him. The girl raised her hand to strike, summoning magic. In the very last seconds, Yang Ming shouted for her to stop, but the girl struck. However, the magic did not reach the goal, because a purple mist abruptly formed and Master Giant appeared in front of the girl, who protected his disciple. Yang Ming raised his voice, surprised by the man's appearance. The elder turned his head to him and asked how the guy could be in such a state, and asked how their plan was. The guy shook and asked what the plan was. This made Master Giant angry. He said that Yang Ming was coming back, but then he raised his hand and said that before that, the master of the human valley would kill this girl. Master Giant pulled his hand towards her, intending to attack. Miss Lei froze in horror, not knowing what to do. But then Miss Lei was miraculously saved by Zhuo Fan again. The attack Master Giant wanted to make was repelled by a boomerang thrown by the butler. The girl saw that this boomerang was the same spiritual weapon. Miss Lei realized that the elder of the Yuming Valley had died. Zhuo Fan looked at Master Giant and asked him if he liked to offend defenseless girls. The girl was glad to see the guy. The elder of the Human Valley was very surprised. He realized that the weapon that saved the girl was his comrade. Master Giant asked why the Moon Wheel Spirit treasure was in Fan's hands. He asked what happened to Elder Yun. Zhuo Fan smiled and asked what the master himself thought had happened to his comrade. Master Giant thought about it. He couldn't believe it, but if it was true, that was impossible. The old man did not believe that this youngster could ruin Elder Yun. However, whatever happens, the treasure of the spirit should not be in the hands of an ordinary person, so he intended to take it away. At this time, Zhuo Fan mentally contacted the girl. He told Lei Yuding to listen to him carefully and do as he said. The guy asked her to aim at the old man's heart. Then the guy asked the girl to close her eyes and hit the master with all the strength of her Thunder Fingers skills. About the rest, as well as about the consequences, the guy asked not to worry. The girl thought about the fact that the master's body at the Tiangshuan stage is very strong. She knew that people who were at the Kai gathering stage didn't have a chance to break through his defenses. She understood that against Master Tiangshuan, even if she opened her eyes, she wouldn't have a chance to win. Miss Lei knew that Zhuo Fan was someone who would do anything to achieve his goal. So could it be that he saved her just to use her as bait? The girl was upset by this thought, but she just gave up on it. Ever since she came here, Miss Lei knew that she was going to get out of here alive. The girl shouted that go ahead and they launched an attack. The couple ran at Master Giant, which shocked him. He didn't expect them to attack first. True, the master knew that the moon wheel was the only thing that could hurt him. But as for the girl, the master did not worry about her. After all, the main focus of his attention should be on Zhuo Fan, as he believed. Indeed, the girl ran straight at Master Giant, but the butler tried to attack him from the side. The old man caught the guy by the arm. The man said that Zhuo Fan's tricks might work on others, but not on him. Master Giant advised the guy not to contact him, because Giant is not so easy to deceive. Zhuo Fan smiled, saying that the old man was still on his hook, and the Demon Emperor released a blood child that penetrated Elder Giant. Master Giant said he found out. He said that that being was Zhuo Fan. The man added that because of him, he lost his arm in a fight with an elder of the Qianlong Pavilion. The man asked to wait for Zhuo Fan, and he would destroy him for it. But the butler of the Luo family just smiled at this and added that Elder Giant had fallen for his bait again. And at that moment, the very girl he decided not to pay attention to, and did not see her as a threat, attacked him. The girl used the martial art technique of Thunder Fingers, striking directly into the old man's heart. The wounded man opened his eyes with shock and coughed up blood. Zhuo Fan caught his attention again by talking to him. The butler of the Luo family said that Elder Giant was wrong again, because the main attacker was not him, Zhuo Fan. He added that did the old man really think that only the moon wheel could harm a man? The guy reminded the old man that he was seriously injured, so his body is not as strong as it was before. In addition, Zhuo Fan put some of his Kai into the old man's body. Zhuo Fan laughed, and Elder Giant thought what a brilliant plan it was. And he also had a thought about what a terrible child this Zhuo Fan was. After giving up his last breath, the elder of the Yuming Giant Valley was defeated. His body fell dead to the ground, continuing to emit blood. Exhaling, Zhuo Fan wearily sat down by a tree, leaning on it with his back. The guy exhaled and said that finally this old man died. Thoughts flashed through the butler's mind that he must do everything to win, even if it costs him his life. The guy knew that one wrong decision and he could die. But fortunately for Zhuo Fan, everything went exactly according to his plan. Miss Lei, looking at him, could not think that he would expose himself to a blow so that she would strike at the old man. She spoke softly. The girl told Zhuo Fan that she was very sorry, but the butler said it wasn't her fault that the bloody child was injured, even though at least he took damage. Miss Lei thought about it and realized that the blood child had something to do with the body of Butler Luo. She remembered that he had saved her and was even willing to sacrifice himself to kill old man Jiang. As a result of everything, they both received a wound, both the blood child and Zhuo Fan. The girl realized that she had underestimated him from the very beginning. Zhuo Fan interrupted her reasoning. He asked the girl to take all the things of these two. The butler of the Luo family added that the elder of the Yuming Giant Valley definitely had something useful. A few minutes later, the girl put a small pile of things near Zhuo Fan. She added that this was all the old man had with him. The butler of the Luo family was surprised that the girl coped so quickly. He thought that she deserved to be called a thief, but then he noticed that the girl looked too embarrassed. The guy couldn't understand why she was acting so strangely. After all, he had ordered her to take things from just a corpse, which was why she looked so embarrassed. Zhuo Fan decided to forget about it, thinking that it didn't matter. He decided that it was necessary to look for valuable items from Master Giant. He summoned the ring and other things, and then a book fell into his hands. The guy realized that he had finally found what he was looking for. These were the low-level martial arts of the Lei family, Thunder Fingers. The guy thought that he would not be able to understand the secrets of these three martial arts, including the martial arts of the Luo family. He realized that inside this ring there are only martial arts and spiritual stones that are unworthy of his attention. The guy gave the girl's ring, telling her to take it. The guy got up and was about to go back to the residence. He turned his back on the girl and said that according to the rules of the mountain robbers, the remaining half should be given to them, the robbers. He also said that the ring belonged to the person who killed this old man, and it was Miss Lei, so the ring was hers. And he added that he didn't need it. Zhuo Fan's gaze fell on the bag. This bag was extremely rare. It could store living creatures in it. The butler assumed that the crow must be inside it. The guy knew that it would definitely be useful for him. Lei Yuding watched the dangerous warrior who defeated the two elders laugh childishly at the bag and try to untie it, like a child breaking a toy to find out how it works. The girl called him, saying that this storage ring should belong to him. She added that she knows that the Luo family is well off, but there were martial arts and spiritual stones inside the ring. Zhuo Fan looked up from his task. He took the ring and looked at it again. The guy said that this kind of trash like this ring has no value for him. The butler decided to play a little joke on the girl, saying that if she didn't need the ring, then he would throw it away, and swung. Yuding stopped him, saying that it was not necessary to throw it away. She wondered how Zhuo Fan could throw it away. Did he really not need martial arts? The girl said she had no idea how he became the butler of the Luo family. The guy, after listening to her speech, simply said that it was time for them to return to the Qianlong Pavilion. He added that after the battle last night, they needed to explain to Qianlong Pavilion what had happened here. The young man threw the ring on the ground not far from them. A circle of light lit up around the ring. Zhuo Fan asked Lei Yuding to help him get there. Taking the guy by the arm, the girl went and led him to the open portal. But then the butler stopped her, which scared the girl a little. Zhuo Fan asked where the traitor Yang Ming was. The girl swore, saying that he had run away. The butler only said that a small fry like Yang Ming shouldn't cause much trouble. However, he knew that even if it was just a small fry, it was always troublesome. Therefore, the next time they meet, Zhuo Fan will kill Yang Ming. At this time, in the Qianlong Pavilion, Miss Long and Long Jai and their squads were walking to their three elders, Masters Wu, San and Ju. When Master Wu saw them, he asked Xiao Nui and Az how the battle went yesterday. The girl quickly began to answer him, saying that as he expected. She said that when the three elders of Qianlong Pavilion followed the three elders of Yuming Valley, the latter sent people to attack the residents. Miss Lun added that she had defeated them all, apart from a few masters at the skeleton tempering stage. No one survived. This pleased Master Ju. He said that Xiao Nui and Az did a good job. The man praised them for the fact that they coped well with the conduct of troops and the destruction of the enemy. Master Ju turned to Brother Sam, telling him that when he returned to the main residence, he would have to tell the patriarch about the achievements of these two. Everyone laughed happily. Master Sin said that he almost forgot to ask them what kind of huge explosion happened yesterday. The students fell silent, but after a short pause, Miss Lung spoke up. Xiao Nui said that yesterday's explosion surprised them too. They thought it was the aftermath of the elders' battle. She asked in surprise if it wasn't them. Then Master Ju spoke up. He said that somehow, the Luo family they were supposed to be guarding was hidden in the backyard. The man offered to ask them if they knew anything. Master Ju added that they should go and meet the Luo family. Miss Lun said that yesterday's battle was fierce, so a small family like the Luo family was probably afraid to go outside. Therefore, she assumed that they could hardly see anything. When the elders of the Qianlong Pavilion and their disciples entered the house of the Luo family, everyone was very surprised. They did not expect that they would be met by a master at the Tiangshuan stage together with the Luo family. So he asked the man who he was. Master Ju suggested that last night, maybe it was this master who caused that outbreak. And he was still surprised that such a strong person appeared in the Luo family. He bowed to the three elders and said that he was the head of Black Wind Mountain and his name was Lei Yuntian. He said he was pleased to meet the elders. Master Ju said that he wanted to ask Elder Lei something, but the man did not let him finish the question, saying that the butler Zhuo Fan was seriously injured last night and now he is still recovering. This surprised Master San. He asked that the people of the Human Valley had come here as well. He couldn't believe they were attacking from two sides. Miss Long said with a haughty grin that Butler Zhuo was shouting at the top of his voice that he would surpass 7 imperial families in 10 years. She reminded him that there were only a couple of thieves here, and he managed to get injured. The girl said he was useless. The whole Luo family was tense. Master Ju got angry at this and ordered Xiao Nui to keep his mouth shut. The man also added that he didn't know who attacked them last night, but was the master at the Tiangshuan stage unable to protect Zhuo Fan. Elder Lei said he was ashamed to admit it, but he only broke through to the Tiangshuan stage yesterday, so he didn't have the opportunity to protect Zhuo Fan. The man clarified that the person who attacked was called Elder Yun. This shocked Master Ju. He asked disbelief. The man added that the head of the Black Wind was simply incredible. He said that Yu Yunqing is one of the 12 elders of the Yuming Valley, but Old Man Lei was able to defeat him as soon as he broke through to the stage. Old Man Lei said they had a misunderstanding. He explained that it wasn't him who defeated Master Yun. This surprised Master Ju. The master asked who then defeated the enemy, and how did the Luo family survive. But Master Lei simply replied that it was all thanks to the butler Zhuo Fan. And he added that if it wasn't for him, he's afraid they wouldn't all have died here. All the representatives of the Qianlong Pavilion opened their mouths in surprise. Master Ju asked how this was possible. Master Ju still couldn't believe what he had just heard. He asked Master Lei again. The person who was able to defeat Yun Yunqian was Zhuo Fan. The elder of the Qianlong Pavilion did not understand how such a thing was possible. After all, the gap in the cultivation level of Butler Luo and Elder Yun was too big. Elder Lei said that he was aware of this, however, this did not prevent the young man. Miss Lun asked what happened next. She wondered if Zhuo Fan had forced Master Yun Yunqing to retreat. Elder Lei asked in surprise what Zhuo Fan had made the enemy do. The man explained that the girl greatly underestimated Zhuo Fan. All three elders of the Qianlong Pavilion thought that they could not underestimate him. After all, he managed to fight back against the master at the Tiangshuan stage with his low level of cultivation. Elder Lei explained that Master Yun didn't have time to retreat. The man added that the elder of the Yuming Valley was killed by Zhuo Fan, and there was no trace of the enemy's body. Again, all the representatives of the Qianlong Pavilion looked at the old man in surprise. Their shock deepened when the old man added that the price of this victory was only a depletion of energy. All three elders simultaneously asked how such a thing was even possible. Master Ju said that the master at the Tiangshuan stage was killed by someone at the Kai Gathering stage. He couldn't understand how Zhuo Fan was able to kill Yu Yunqing so that nothing was left of him. Master Ju was also interested in another question, how Butler Luo did it and was not injured. A very tired and bandaged butler, Zhuo Fan, came out of the next room. He told everyone present that they were very loud. Mrs. Luo immediately went to her butler and asked if the guy was better now. He angrily replied that, of course not. The guy said that he slept to regain strength. However, he still woke up because the elders made such a fuss that it was impossible for him to recover under such conditions. The young man turned to Brother Ju, asking if he wanted to know how the butler was injured, and he took out the ring. Zhuo Fan shook out the body of the defeated Master Giant from the ring storage. All three elders looked with great shock at Zhu Ying Giant Fan's deathly pale face. They wondered how it happened. Master Ju asked that it was the corpse of his main enemy. He asked who killed him. Zhuo Fan explained that he pulled this corpse out of his storage ring, hence the answer to the question of who killed him. But the young man said that he met the master of the Human Valley by accident and killed him. He asked Brother Ju if he blamed the butler for meddling in his own business, but Master Ju only asked how such a thing could happen. He added that this human valley master had robbed him of an eye and ruined his reputation. So how could he blame his brother Zhuo for helping him? And then the man bowed to the butler Luo, saying that from now on he would treat brother Zhuo as his own brother. And he added that if Zhuo Fan ever had any problems or needed any help, he could always turn to him, Master Zhu. Zhuo Fan scratched his head at these words and said with a kind smile, "Brother Zhu is too grateful." The guy added that he just helped him a little. At this point, butler Luo's shoulder gave off pain, which was reflected on his face. The man handed the young man a bundle of cloth. He said it was a level 3 healing pill. This Long spoke indignantly as he, with his cultivation level, was able to kill 2 masters at the Tiangshuan stage without getting seriously injured. The elders of the Qianlong Pavilion felt ashamed of her. They lowered their heads. Zhuo Fan answered her with a slight smile. He was lucky enough to meet Elder Jian with a severed arm. Therefore, taking advantage of this, Zhuo Fan easily killed him. But then the butler of the Luo family added that it was not luck, but on the contrary, it was bad luck to meet enemies twice at the Tiangshuan stage. The guy asked her if he hadn't fought Elder Yun at the Tiangshuan stage, Elder Jian would have been able to injure Zhuo Fan so badly with just one arm, and then arrogantly asked her if she could have killed Elder Jian. Not waiting for her answer, Zhuo Fan said that he thought she couldn't. This made Miss Long very angry, and she was about to answer him, but Master San interrupted her. The man told Lao Ju to stay in this house. The elder asked to take care of brother Zhuo and put 100 guards around his residence. He also added that he and Lao Wu would return to the main residence to report everything that had happened here. The disciples of the Qianlong Pavilion looked at this with surprise. They couldn't understand how their 3 elders called Zhuo Fan brother. Butler Luo waved at them, telling brother San and brother Wu to be careful. The men, leaving, thought that Lao Ju was right. The best ability of the young man was to please people through flattery. When everything calmed down a little, Zhuo Fan went to his room and asked everyone to come out except Master Zhu. He said he wanted to talk to brother Zhu about something in private. Zhuo Fan was sitting on the bed, leaning against the wall. He said he had a gift for brother Zhu. The man was surprised by this. Master Zhu said that it wasn't that he underestimated brother Zhuo. However, given the state of the Luo family, what could the butler have given him? The master assumed that the guy had another ancient array. To this, Zhuo Fan replied to him that if the master wants him, then the price is 10 million. The guy said that brother Tishayu would definitely like this gift. Zhuo Fan took out the same bag from the ring and untied the tie. When the bag was opened, birds flew out of it. Master Zhu realized that it was a demonic raven. The guy confirmed his words about the bird. The butler of the Luo family said that after Jiang's death, this raven no longer has a master. Therefore, he suggested that Master Zhu take the bird for himself and train him. Fan thought it shouldn't take too long. The boy said that this pet could become his, and he would also guard him. The man bowed his head slightly. He thanked the guy, saying that brother Zhuo is very generous. However, Zhuo Fan asked brother Zhu since he still didn't understand him. After all, Master Zhu had already used the golden purple lightning eye before, so why couldn't he do it again? Master Zhu said that unfortunately, he doesn't remember anything about it. The man said that this is the tricks of fate, but if he has lost an eye, he will never be able to use it again. The elder also added that this eye was not the treasure of the Qianlong Pavilion, which surprised Zhuo Fan very much. The man explained that he found it by accident when wandering around the world. The man then asked brother Fan if he knew about the 3 most dangerous places on this mainland. The guy shook his head negatively. The man said he would tell him about them. Master Zhu said that Zhuo Fan can walk all over the mainland freely, but there are 3 places where he will not be able to get to, and it doesn't depend on how strong Fan will be. These 3 forbidden places were Lolai Gorge, Binyu Mountain, and Canyon Cave. Most likely he will never find them himself, so luck is needed. This surprised Zhuo Fan, and he asked him why. The master explained to him that these places appear in random places. Today they may appear in the east, and tomorrow in the west. He also added that when they appear, they cause a huge tornado, from which it is impossible to escape, and those who fall into it will never return alive. Zhuo Fan realized that this tornado must have been set up by someone at a high level of cultivation, and if a person does not know the secret that lies behind him, then he will not be able to find a way out. Zhuo Fan asked if he was the only person who got out of that place. The master was surprised by his direct question. The man said that brother Zhuo was really very smart. He said that when the master was still young, he happened to see one of the 3 forbidden places, the Lolai Gorge. At that time, he was directly hit by a tornado, and the sky was covered with purple lightning. The masters who were around were surrounded by purple lightning. They all disappeared and died. But there was one special moment. Master Zhu's eye was struck by lightning, then he was fine. He survived, but he felt pain in his eyes as if they were burning. And when the master recalled that day, he still froze into a cold sweat. The man stroked his scar on his eye. Zhuo Fan said, "They say that this eye could destroy everything that the cultivator wanted. Therefore, even if lightning hit the eye, it would not cause damage." Master Zhu went on to say that at that time, perhaps his self-preservation instinct was triggered because he was struggling to resist it. And even knowing the power of the purple lightning, he still wanted to fight it. The man said that at that moment a man's voice was heard. And this voice began to recite a spell and, confused, Master Zhu unconsciously began to repeat after him. That's exactly when he got the golden purple lightning eye. After the tornado, Master Zhu was the only one who survived. Since then, he has developed a golden purple lightning eye. The man said that when he lost it, Tishayu was furious. He explained that he could not remember the spell to open this eye at an early stage. Zhuo Fan thought that Lolai Gorge was the place where the Heavenly Emperor left his legacy. The guy suggested that there should be cultivation skills and various treasures. The Demon Emperor decided that he had to find this place. He understood that with the skills of the Heavenly Emperor, and even with the Book of the Nine Mysteries, he would have 2 relics. These are relics that belong to the most powerful emperors of antiquity, and then no one will be able to resist him. The guy grinned, thinking that no one had guessed that the legacy of the emperors would be in his hands. This time, Zhuo Fan wins and he will be able to take revenge on all those who betrayed him, because he was lucky to be reborn. A month later, going outside, the butler said that the weather was fine outside, and his cultivation has reached the 5th level of Kai collection. This time, the guy's wound wasn't that serious. Zhuo Fan thought that he was sorry that he had not been able to absorb the energy of the 2 experts who were at the Tang Xuan stage. Then he heard a girl's scream behind his back. Turning around, he saw the maid Miss Lei, who happily greeted the butler Zhuo. She quickly ran away afterwards. The guy was surprised by this. He wondered if it was possible that he had undergone such strong changes after coming out of seclusion. Why did this girl run away from him like that as soon as she saw him? He thought he wasn't a man-eating monster. Is he really that scary? And then he wondered if he really looked mean. After all, he was very cruel and behaved rudely when he grabbed Xiao Qi with her mistress. The guy also remembered that he tore her mistress's clothes. This act must have left a residue in her heart. Then his thoughts were interrupted by the chief guardian of the Luo family. Pan Tongling asked if his brother Zhuo was already well. The butler turned to him with a smile and waved his hand, calling his name. I even applied gentle treatment to him. However, the guard also looked at him in surprise and also ran away. Zhuo Fan could understand when Xiao Qi ran away, but he couldn't explain Lao Pan's escape. The guy thought about it, but he has never harmed Lao Pan, then why is he afraid of him? He was a great demon emperor, and why would he be bothered by such trifles? He couldn't understand either. Then he heard his name called. He looked at the source of the sound, and saw Miss Lei in a beautiful dress, not battle armor, as before. There was a blush on the girl's cheeks, and Xiao Qi was hiding behind her, giggling. Miss Lei thanked the butler Zhuo but for saving her last time. She held out the basket she was holding in her hands, saying that it was a small present. And then he felt the delicious smells from the basket. The butler asked the girls where they bought it. He said that there is actually a good restaurant in Feng City. But then Xiao Qi said that they didn't buy it all. She explained that her young mistress spent 10 hours a day to make them while waiting for Zhuo Fan. The guy was surprised that Miss Lei was doing this every day. He took the basket from her and said he would accept her gift. She said that Butler Zhuo's wounds had only recently healed. The girl advised Fan to take care of his body. She advised him to go back to his chambers. They went into his room, and the guy started eating. He was eating goodies, thinking that he had not eaten for a whole month because he was at the stage of collecting Kai. Then the door opened and young Lady Luo and the guardian Pan Tongling entered the room. The girl was also holding a basket in her hands. A little embarrassed, Yunchen said that who would have thought that someone had already brought breakfast for Butler Zhuo. She added that she was probably worried for nothing. Zhuo Fan was trying to figure out what happened to the girl today. She looked very angry. In confirmation of his thoughts, Mrs. Luo angrily placed a basket of food next to him and said that she personally made it for the butler Zhuo. The girl added that she would hope that the guy would take good care of himself. Zhuo Fan turned his head to her and said that he already had lunch. The guy compared himself to a rice tub, thereby saying that he does not have such a big belly. She got even angrier, blushing and glaring at the butler. He said he would eat both dinners. Zhuo Fan thought that he, as an emperor, had conceded for the first time in his life. But his sixth sense told him that if he didn't, his life would be in danger. The butler took the basket his mistress had brought and opened it. He saw a pile of burnt something and was surprised. The guy didn't know if it was possible to eat it at all. He put Mrs. Luo's basket next to Miss Lei's basket and said he would eat Miss Lei's lunch. One of the girls smiled happily at this, and the second screamed. Ms. Luo told him that a minute earlier, Zhuo Fan had said he would eat both lunches. And then the girl's eyes began to water. She looked piteously at the butler. He took pity and said that he would really eat both dinners. Overjoyed by this news, Yunchen asked to eat her lunch first. But Miss Lei also asked him to eat her lunch first. Zhuo Fan thought about how the girls were in a great relationship before he went into seclusion. He couldn't figure out why they were like water and fire now. But the girls were looking at each other with murderous eyes, and there was tension in the air between them. Zhuo Fan looked at them and wondered what could have happened these days. What was the reason for the change in their communication? Zhuo Fan scratched his head and said that he would eat Miss Lei's lunch first, since she brought it first. He threw the first piece of food and began to chew. Then, unexpectedly for everyone, he happily shouted with burning eyes that it was really delicious. Xiao Qi's maidservant said that her young mistress, has been cooking for 10 years. There is no one in Feng City who could compete with her in cooking. She said that Butler Zhuo was very lucky to be able to taste this food. Ms. Luo told Zhuo Fan to quickly taste her food quickly. The butler looked at the gray mass that lay in his mistress's basket. Gathering his courage, he tried, but he quickly spat it out. The guy swore, saying that even the poison tastes better than this. And he took Miss Lei's basket again, saying that he would rather eat it all than choke on Mrs. Luo's food. The girl was barely holding back tears. The young man took the basket and went to his room. A young gentleman came running after him, who also came to visit the butler. He said it smelled really good. Zhuo Fan pushed the food away, telling young Master Luo to get out of here. It would be better if he tasted his elder sister's creation. To this, Yunai easily said that he was well aware of the fact that his older sister did not know how to cook. Mrs. Luo began to cry. She held back tears, her cheeks flushed. But her nerves gave out. She started crying and ran out of the room. Yunai asked if he had said something wrong. Zhuo Fan said that young Mr. Luo didn't say anything bad. He explained that some people simply overestimate their capabilities. The butler also said that he was going to visit the Qianlong Pavilion. He told everyone else to stay here in case the people from Human Valley wanted to come back here, and left the house. When the guy came out, the girls happily squeaked. Xiao Qi told her mistress that everything went great. Zhuo likes Miss Lei's cooking better. And at this time in the Tianyu Empire, in the Imperial Palace, two men sat opposite each other in the waiting hall, with empty chairs on either side of them. They were Qianlong Pavilion Master Long Yifei and Yuming Valley Master Yu Wanshan. Clearing his throat, the Emperor of the Tianyu Empire came out to them. Both masters immediately fell on their knees in front of him, bowed, and at the same time said that they were paying their respects to your majesty. The Emperor spoke up, saying that Qianlong Pavilion and Yuming Valley are part of the imperial families, so he doesn't understand why these two leaders came to him. Yuming Valley Master Yu Wanshan was the first to speak. He reported to the Emperor that the Qianlong Pavilion had killed 2 elders of the Yuming Valley last month. The man added that the Qianlong Pavilion violated the agreement of the 7 families. Therefore, Master Yu begged His Majesty to punish the Qianlong Pavilion. The previously silent Master Long Yifei spoke up. He asked his opponent what he was saying, and where is Master Yu's conscience. Master Long said that the elders of the Yuming Valley had invaded the Qianlong Pavilion, and he asked who of them had violated the agreement of the 7 families. Master Yu shouted that a disciple of his valley had been killed in Feng City. Therefore, he duly sent the elder to investigate. He said that 20 years ago, the Yuming Valley lured Elder Ju from the Qianlong Pavilion into a trap in Loi City, and his eye was also destroyed. And even then, the Yuming Valley accused the Qianlong Pavilion again of violating the agreement of the Family of Families. According to them, Master Ju has invaded the territory of the valley. The old man said that was enough. He concluded that both sides were mistaken in this matter. The Emperor said to pass the order. Qianlong Pavilion must leave Feng City. This city is no longer the pavilion's territory. The people of Yuming Valley and Qianlong Pavilion are now forbidden to enter the territory of Feng City. Both masters agreed with the Emperor's will. The old man said that was it. He also added that he no longer wants to hear about any disputes between the 7 families. Everyone left. The Emperor said that the people of Yuming Valley really went to Feng City. It seems that the people of the valley know about the existence of a secret order. Somewhere in the shadow of the walls, a voice answered him that the imperial palace had always been a restless place. Powerful people have eyes and ears everywhere. The Emperor replied that it seemed the time had come to put the plan into action. He added that the pearl will radiate its radiance no matter what. When Zhuo Fan came to the main entrance of the Qianlong Pavilion, he saw a small pandemonium. A little chubby guy got out of the carriage. Zhuo Fan even wondered how it was possible to be so fat. He looked at him and saw that although the fat man did not look very good, but his cultivation was at the 7th level of Kai collection. His guards who were standing nearby were also strong. Zhuo Fan assumed that he was also from imperial families, but he immediately dismissed the thought. After all, if the fat man really was a member of the Qianlong Pavilion, he would have entered there long ago. But he just stood at the entrance and waited. Fan walked unhindered. When Zhuo Fan was almost through the gate, the fat man called out to him. The butler turned around, looked at the guy, and asked if he could help him in any way. Sweat was running down the fat man's face, and after catching his breath, he asked Fan if he was from the Qianlong Pavilion. Zhuo Fan replied that he had some connections in the Qianlong Pavilion, but he was not one of them. But it was also good for the guy. He apologized for bothering the butler. He asked me to tell Miss Long Kui that if she doesn't come out, he will stand here all day and won't go anywhere. Holding back his laughter, Zhuo Fan realized that the strange guy was Miss Long's stalker, so the butler said no problem. Fortunately, he managed to escape from there quickly. If it had been a little more, he would have laughed out loud. It was not worth offending someone strong because of something like that. Then the butler saw Miss Loon in front of him and smiled. He greeted the girl, saying that they had not seen each other for so long. The guy even asked how she was doing. The girl replied to him that her affairs were good, but they became bad as soon as she saw Zhuo Fan. The butler asked if Brother Zhu was here, saying he would like to see him. To this, the girl quickly replied that the master was not here. Zhuo Fan thought that from the way she was acting, it looked like she wasn't lying. And since the master was not in place, the investigation will have to be postponed. But, nevertheless, Fan remembered that the problem with that fat man had to be solved. Laughing, Fan wondered if he couldn't have some fun if he put her in an awkward position. Seeing how Zhuo Fan was shaking, covering his mouth, Miss Long asked him what was wrong with him. The butler replied that nothing was wrong and everything was fine. After calming down, Zhuo Fan told her that there was a rich handsome guy at the gate. The butler added that he had asked Fan to bring Miss Lun to him. The girl blushed. Fan decided to bring it even harder. He playfully nudged her shoulder, asking who the guy at the gate was. But the girl did not answer him and went to the gate. The guy followed her. When she went outside, Miss Moon immediately attacked the guy, calling him names. She asked the young man that she hadn't told him to leave. The girl clarified that she would not agree to his marriage proposal. The fat man said that he proposed to her when they were 10 years old. Now they were 20. He said it had been 10 years and he had asked for it again 1,000 times already. The fat man was indignant. Was she really not a bit touched by this? At this point, Zhuo Fan entered into a dialogue, saying that Miss Lung was of course touched. He approached the fat man and said, addressing the girl, that it was very difficult to find such loving people as this guy. The fat man only agreed with his words. The girl, looking at the whole picture, thought that the guys quickly got along. One confessed to her and the other supported him. She realized that it infuriated her. But then a wonderful plan matured in the girl's head. She addressed the fat man, calling him Tsung Ji. The girl put on a cute look. Zhuo Fan realized that this was not good. Ms. Lung said that Tsung had always treated her well since she was a child. She made a surprised look, saying that how could she not know? But she said that her heart was already occupied by another person. This enraged the fat man. He demanded to know who it was. The butler knew he was part of her plan. And he was right, because instead of answering questions from Tsung, the girl just looked at Zhuo Fan. And then the fat man ran at him. He shouted that he was wondering how Fan could enter and exit the pavilion whenever he wanted. It turns out he went to Kui's sister. Zhuo Fan raised his hands, surrendering to the attacker, saying that everything was wrong, and it was all some kind of misunderstanding. There are two scales in every man's life that should not be touched. The first is the murder of his father, the second is the abduction of his woman. The fat man, without letting go of the butler, turned to Miss Lung and asked Sister Kui why he was worse than him. He asked if this guy could even compare with him, with Tsung. Looking at this, Zhuo Fan turned to Brother Tsung, saying that now he understands why the fat man proposed to her 1,000 times. Miss Long told Tsung Ji that he had obviously come here on business, because otherwise, the guy would not have been released from the capital. She rudely asked why he didn't leave and go about his business, but the fat man told her that how could he leave at all? She was the girl he was going to marry. The guy said that he took this job on purpose, did everything in order to see the girl. However, he did not expect that he would also be here. Tsung turned to Zhuo Fan and said that they should have a duel. This surprised Fan very much. The butler thought that the guy in front of him was the first who, being the heir of the family, did not turn to the experts of his clan, but wanted a fair duel. Then one of the fat man's guards came up to him. He told the young master that he, the precious heir of the family, could not conduct a duel whenever he felt like it. But the fat man told him to shut up. The guy said that he wants to marry Kiwi's sister, and in this duel, his dignity as a man will be at stake. Therefore, if they help him, then there can be no question of any dignity. Because of this, Sister Kiwi will look down on him. Miss Moon thought that she had never looked at the guy in any way at all. Zhuo Fan said that he accepts the duel. The butler added that each of Tsung's guards was stronger than him, so if they interfered, the butler would have no chance. Tsung got angry at this, saying that he had said from the very beginning that it would be a one-on-one duel. The guy asked if Fan didn't believe his words. Zhuo said that when their master was injured, would they be able to stay away? The fat man turned to his guards and told them that they were staying here until he returned. Turning to Zhuo Fan, Tsung told him that Fan was choosing the place for the duel. He added that they would fight one-on-one and no one would be able to stop them. Miss Lung asked Zhuo Fan if he would really fight Tsung. The girl warned that if Tsung was injured, then even the Qianlong Pavilion would not be able to protect Zhuo Fan afterwards. Zhuo Fan only said that this fat man is not a bad guy. They walked away with Miss Lun. At this time, Tsung was shouting that he would beat Zhuo Fan. As they walked, Zhuo Fan told Tsung that he really had the courage. After all, the guy really went without security. To this he was told that he always keeps his word. He said it was about his and Miss Moon's marital happiness. In addition, it is also necessary for Zhuo Fan to admit defeat and never appear in Sister Kiwi's life. Zhuo Fan asked quite calmly if the guy thought that the butler could have prepared an ambush for him. Tsung immediately began to look around, ready for an attack. Then he turned to Fan and said that he had come unguarded. Therefore, if the butler uses such dirty tricks, then how will Sister Kiwi look at him later? Zhuo Fan laughed. He said that the fat man was a very brave man, and that the butler liked it. Therefore, it is worth starting a one-on-one battle. And then, unexpectedly, the fat man's fist flew straight into Zhuo Fan's jaw. The erection quickly recovered. He said he thought the fat man was an honest man. Fan said he didn't expect him to sneak attack. To this, Tsung told him that Zhuo Fan himself had just said that the fight had begun. Therefore, he could not blame the fat man for the fact that he hit surreptitiously. Zhuo Fan thought that he was deceived by this guy's appearance. He looks honest, but he turned out to be quite cunning himself. Of course, demonic path cultivators are exactly the same, and this fat man acted rationally. This was to Zhuo Fan's liking. The butler liked him. Tsung asked if his boyfriend was scared in front of him. The fat man said that having such low skills, he dared to fight with Tsung for Sister Kiwi. Laughing, Zhuo Fan replied that the guy in front of him was right. Then he feigned surprise on his face and pointed his finger behind the fat man's back. Fan shouted that why was Miss Lung undressing? This gave the desired effect, and with the question of where she was undressing, the fat man turned to see what was behind him. At that moment, Zhuo Fan ran towards him with the aim of attacking. Hitting the fat man, the butler said that he was too naive. Tsung flew several meters away. Miss Long called Zhuo Fan shameless. The butler only smiled at her remark. The fat man got up, saying that it was disgusting. He cursed at Zhuo Fan and asked how he dared to dishonor Sister Kiwi. For this, he must teach a lesson. Zhuo Fan said that he only said a couple of frivolous words, but he turned his head to Tsung as soon as he heard what the butler said. Therefore, we can conclude that the fat man imagined it in his head. Fan asked if the fat man hadn't dishonored Miss Lun after that. Tsung wondered if these words made sense. Although Zhuo Fan really only said a couple of frivolous words, a picture instantly appeared in Tsung's head. Tsung suggested not to pay attention to it. He promised to be more serious now and again rushed to the attack. While he was running, Zhuo Fan was standing still, so the fat man told him to dodge if he didn't want to get hurt. But if he dodges, then he has lost. Zhuo Fan, like his rival, invoked magic. The Demon Emperor didn't even think to dodge. He put his hand forward, opening his palm. This angered Tsung, who asked the guy if he wanted to die. He said that he is at the 7th level of Kai Gathering and uses high-level combat skills. But then Zhuo Fan released his magic in response to the blow that Tsung was striking. The collision was so powerful that Tsung flew into the thicket. He dusted himself off and asked how this was possible. After all, he was undoubtedly stronger than the butler. How could he fly up so easily then? Miss Long, standing nearby and watching everything, thought that although she did not treat Zhuo Fan very well, she was confident in his abilities and strength. After all, he was a man who had killed 2 experts at the Tianxuan stage. But she wondered why he hadn't defeated this fat man yet. Zhuo Fan called his opponent. He asked him if he had not fought at full strength. Fan said that he knows that the fat man did not give his best. But to this Tsung said that defeat is defeat. In addition, he added that the 7th level of Kai Gathering, fighting to the full against the 5th level is no different from defeat. Zhuo Fan held out his hand to the guy so that he could get up. The butler said that maybe it was fair in Sung's eyes, but for Fan, it was nothing more than mercy. The fat man was surprised, because it was as if he had read his thoughts. Sung accepted the proffered hand and stood up, leaving. The fat man said that Juo Fan really deserves to be the beloved person of Sister Kiwi. The guy said he trusted the butler. Then Juo Fan noticed how a fiery projectile was flying right into Sung's back. At great speed, Fan ran up to the guy and knocked him off his feet to the side so that the projectile missed. Sung stood up and thanked Brother Fan for saving his life. He never thought that his rival in love would save him. But Juo Fan said it was too early for him to thank him. The butler added that they were getting closer. They were surrounded by people in black robes in a matter of seconds. Miss Loon asked what they should do now in such a situation. Sung came forward a little and said that the one they were looking for was him, so the guy asked to let 2 people go. One of the attackers laughed. He said that, as befits a member of the imperial family, the guy had proper behavior. The attacker took off his hood and said that, unfortunately, no one would leave the clearing alive. Juo Fan stepped forward, covering Miss Long and Sung. He said the fat man was under his protection, and if they wanted to kill him, they would have to go through him first. Of course, the attacker did not take Juo Fan's words seriously. He said that the guy is at the stage of collecting Kai. The guy asked Fan if he really wanted to dare and make a move. Another attacker said they would all die anyway. Therefore, I suggested starting with Juo Fan. Then he offered to go and kill the fat man and complete their mission. Sung told Fauna that in a minute he would run to the east to distract them. At this moment, Fan should take Sister Kiwi back to the Kaianlong Pavilion. Juo Fan told him that with his speed, Sung wouldn't be able to run 10 meters before they killed him. How then was he going to distract them? Slightly offended that his plan failed before it even started, Sung asked what they should do then. Juo Fan said it was obvious to kill them all. He summoned the treasure of the spirit, the moon wheel, and ran to attack. That first attacker, who was already without a mask, exclaimed in surprise when he saw that Fan had taken out a spiritual weapon. Then, unnoticed, Juo Fan released a blood child that possessed the attacker. Taking advantage of this, Juo Fan killed him by using a spiritual weapon. In the clearing, everyone stood in shock. As soon as they rethought what had happened, they immediately rushed to the attack, wanting to kill the insolent man. Juo Fan had expected this, so he used the moon wheel again. Moving at lightning speed, the butler killed one after another. The attackers were very surprised by this. Juo Fan looked at them and said that they dared to make trouble on his territory, so they could not think that they would leave here alive. Their commander ordered them not to be afraid and rush into the attack altogether at once. He reminded them that it was just a child in the Kai gathering stage. The commander explained that the young man relied only on his spiritual treasure. One of the attackers said that if they surrounded him, they could win, and gave the command to attack. The bandits rushed at Juo Fan, but he calmly killed them one after another with his spiritual treasure. Sung, looking at his battle, thought that Juo Fan had an impressive aura just like the emperor, his father. But immediately the fat man took back his words. He realized that the pressure from the butler's aura was superior to that of Father Sung. The guy had a feeling that everyone who opposes Juo Fan will be destroyed to a single one. And in confirmation of his words, the butler chopped up the enemies one by one. And he did it with a smile. There was a real massacre in the clearing. The bandits did not have time to group or come up with new attack strategies. After killing all but one, Juo Fan decided to interrogate him. He stood over him and asked who sent them. The man, shaking with fear, began to say who it was, but it did not work out to get valuable information from the butler, because someone played a flute and the mouth of the last survivor exploded. The man died right in front of the Trinity's eyes. Juo Fan remembered that it was possible to kill with the help of reason, and the one who possessed such abilities was at the stage of seeing God. The butler of the Luo family understood that if he attacked an expert of this level, even with the power of the blood child and the moon wheel, he would not be a worthy rival to him. The trio heard footsteps behind them. Turning around, all three were in shock. The fat man recognized the man as a teacher and Miss Lei as Fan's ancestor. Juo Fan calmly asked if the man in front of him was one of the 5 great divine dragons, the guardians of the imperial family. Known as the first divine sword of the Tianyu Empire, the jade flute divine sword of Fan Kyubai. Behind him was Master Jiu, who was laughing. After the man had finished laughing, he said that he had told Fan that the butler Luo was a very astute fellow. Master Jiu explained that he had only told Juo Fan about him once, but the guy recognized him immediately after seeing him. Miss Long happily greeted her uncle Jiu. She asked how long he had been here and why they hadn't helped them earlier. Master Jiu said that they arrived here back when Brother Zhuo and the third prince were dueling. The man then turned to Butler Luo, saying that Brother Zhuo was really up to something. He said that facing more than a dozen skeleton tempering masters, Fan remained calm and confronted the opponent alone. Master Ju admitted that even he didn't have the courage when he was as young as Brother Zhuo is now. Sung turned to his teacher, saying that the two of them were already here, then why didn't they help earlier, causing his student to worry. The guy added that it would be fine if it was just him, but Sister Kui was involved here. Fan Kyubi said that if he had helped them, then how could he have watched such a wonderful show? In addition, he saw that this brilliant young man, Zhuo Fan, did not give his best. Zhuo Fan bowed to him, saying that his ancestor overestimated him. He added that the only thing he couldn't understand was why the ancestor had killed the last person Fan had left for questioning. The butler Luo suggested that it might be, but they did not let him finish. Fan Kyubi said that the guy was really very smart. The ancestor said that with Fan's current strength, his intelligence could play against him. Zhuo Fan realized that this was how the man had warned him. The guy understood that the struggle for power was not something he could participate in with the current strength. That's why he killed that mercenary to protect Zhuo Fan. Butler Luo bowed and said that he had learned his lesson, and the guy will forget about today's incident. The ancestor liked the butler's behavior. He said that the guy was not only smart, but also knew when to back off. The man said that he did not expect that there would be such a brilliant youth outside the 7 imperial families. And even if Zhuo Fan followed the demonic path, which was not suitable for ancestor Fan, then this child will still teach him for 2 years, and then the butler's possibilities will become limitless. Sung and Miss Lung were surprised by this very much. After all, the ancestor was going to take Zhuo Fan as a disciple. She knew that every head of the 7 families wanted their children to be sent to him for training. But ancestor Fan's character is so stubborn that he doesn't want to look at anyone. And the girl would never have thought that Fan Kyubi would be interested in Zhuo Fan after seeing him for the first time. Moreover, Fan Kyubi himself invited the butler Luo to be his disciple. She was thinking that if it wasn't for the different cultivation paths, then in her opinion, Zhuo Fan would be the first person to enter the doors of the divine sword. Zhuo Fan reflected that even if he agreed, he would not be able to accept him as a master. After all, he was a demonic emperor and only an imperial level person could become his master. At this time, Fan Kyubi turned to Tsum, saying that the third prince still had unfinished business. Therefore, it's time for them to leave. Master Jiu turned to Brother Zhuo. He asked him to follow him to the Qianlong Pavilion. The master had something for the butler Luo. This intrigued Zhuo Fan. When they arrived at the Qianlong Pavilion, Master Ju handed Zhuo Fan a scroll. After opening it, Butler Luo realized that it was exactly what he wanted. It was a document of an alliance agreement between the Qianlong Pavilion and the Luo family. Zhuo Fan knew that in this way, the Qianlong Pavilion would not only be a great support for the Luo family, but would also unconditionally help the Luo family. Now no one would dare to go against the Luo family. The guy understood that now he would be able to focus on increasing his strength without worrying about his family. Master Ju asked why he had the feeling that Brother Zhuo already knew this was going to happen. Zhuo Fan thought that, to be honest, it wasn't quite like that. However, the guy knew that everything he did for this was all for the sake of this contract. The butler headed for the exit, saying that he would take the document to Mrs. Luo to sign. But Master Ju stopped him by holding his shoulder. The man said that the document should have been signed by Zhuo Fan himself, and he should do it right now. Zhuo Fan said that he was not the head of the Luo family, but only a butler. Therefore, he was afraid that his signature would not fit. Master Ju told him that this agreement was not for the Luo family, so his young lady's signature would be useless. He added that this agreement was drawn up only for Zhuo Fan. Brother Ju added that wherever Brother Zhuo was, the Qianlong Pavilion would help him. He said that these were the words of their patriarch. Zhuo Fan thought that he was right. The patriarch of the Qianlong Pavilion is indeed a wise man. He added that the patriarch has an eye for talents. Towards nightfall, Zhuo Fan returned to his estate. In the courtyard of the Luo family residence, the guy met with Pan Tongling. The butler asked him where Mrs. Luo was, saying he had something to tell her. Pan Tongling said he would take him to her. His voice was sad, which surprised Zhuo Fan, but he obediently followed the man. They went into the kitchen, which surprised the butler very much. Pan Tongling pointed his finger inside the room, but he preferred to stay outside. Looking inside, Zhuo Fan saw that the lady was asleep, leaning on the table. The guardian of the Luo family said that the girl spent in the kitchen from morning to evening. He added that she also asked the chef for advice. The man said he felt tired, exhaled heavily and scratched his head. When the butler came into the kitchen, Pan Tongling said that he knew that Brother Zhuo was very talented. He added that the young man had never paid attention to the young lady and young master, but he should know that Ms. Luo had been working hard for the past month. Yunshin did this in order to cook delicious food for Zhuo Fan. In this way, the girl tried to thank the butler for his hard work. Zhuo Fan took a piece of food and ate it. He said that the girl really had no talent for it. But Pan Tongling said behind his back that even if the girl has no talent, Brother Zhuo should still pay attention to her and not offend her feelings. The man told the guy to look at him. The head guard said that it was really so difficult to eat and ate a piece of food. I coughed as soon as I lived. After catching his breath, Pan Tongling said that the butler was right. The young lady actually has no talent. He apologized for blaming Zhuo Fan earlier, and then he saw that the guy was eating the girl's food. Pan Tongling tried to stop him. He told Brother Zhuo not to force himself. The man apologized for what he had said to him earlier. The guardian of the family explained that as soon as he tasted the lady's food, he realized how the butler felt. After finishing his meal, Zhuo Fan said that everything was fine and he was just hungry. In the morning, the young lady woke up in the same place and in the same position. She saw that the plates were empty. The girl also noticed that she was covered with someone's jacket. Turning around, Yunshin saw that Zhuo Fan was sleeping behind her, and all this time she was leaning on him with her back. The girl blushed embarrassedly. Yunshin wondered if the guy was next to her now. Does this mean that he was here with her all night? Did they really spend the night together? And then a thought popped into her head. Taking advantage of the moment, while the butler was still asleep, the girl moved closer to him. She stretched her lips to the young man's face. She stretched her lips to the guy, knowing that he was asleep. And when the cherished goal was only a few centimeters away, her voice left her. Someone outside was calling for the young lady and Brother Zhuo. From this cry, the girl quickly sat back down, clinging to the guy, and her face was reddened. Zhuo Fan opened his eyes. The one who called them was Lao Pan. Zhuo Fan sleepily asked him what the problem was. But going into the kitchen, the man was surprised. He asked, pointing to Mrs. Luo from Brother Zhuo, if everything was alright with the girl. Zhuo Fan leaned closer to the girl and said that she was very hot. Perhaps the girl's temperature rose because it was so hot outside. The guy thought to himself that initially, he wanted to take her to her room. However, he was afraid that he would wake her up, so he just guarded her all night. He didn't expect the girl to get sick. The butler stood up and then picked up the girl in his arms. He told Lao Pan that if he had any business with him, he asked him to tell him later. But the man stopped him. The man explained that there was someone who wanted to talk to the young lady, and he and the butler could not afford to offend him. But Zhuo Fan said it didn't matter even if they offended him with their behavior. The guy said that if it was from the Qianlong Pavilion, then he would still go, not their mistress. The butler added that he had never seen the lady in such a state. The guy suggested that the girl was most likely seriously ill. Pan Tongling called Brother Zhuo and asked him to listen to him. He said that the person who wanted to talk to Lady Luo had brought an imperial gold token. This information made Zhuo Fan stop. He remembered that if someone has an imperial badge, it means that he is a member of the Imperial Guard. Even if it concerns a family of families, they should greet them. Butler Luo knew that otherwise it was considered as disobedience to the imperial order. Zhuo Fan was sure that they would not contact their family. Therefore, he asked Lao Pan to tell him that young Lady Luo is not feeling well, and to ask that person to come tomorrow. But Pan Tongling was surprised, saying that this was the emperor's order, and Brother Zhuo wanted to tell him to have a guest come tomorrow. Zhuo Fan was just sure that this was the order of that fat man. Therefore, a little rudely, the guy told the guard to do as he asked him. But then Ms. Luo spoke up. The girl stopped the main guard, telling him to tell this man to wait a little. She got off the butler's hands and told Pan Tongling that she needed some time to clean up. Lao Pan thought if the lady hadn't woken up, he would have done as Brother Zhuo told him. The man said he had no idea what the consequences would be for the Luo family. Zhuo Fan looked at the lady and couldn't understand how she could wake up so abruptly when she was still sick. He wondered if she hadn't fainted. Yunshin turned to Zhuo Fan, asking how he could say such a thing. The girl was indignant how the guy could offend the imperial family so easily. Zhuo Fan looked after her and asked what was wrong with her. The guy didn't understand anything at all now. There was a man standing in the living room of the Luo family's main house. He turned to the guy and asked that he must be Zhuo Fan's butler. The man added that his master had asked Zhuo Fan and his mistress to go with him to his master's residence. Zhuo Fan walked over and sat down in the chair of the head. With arrogance, the guy asked if this fat man's wounds had already healed, if he was okay. The man was surprised. What kind of fat man was it about? He thought that if Zhuo Fan had said that about his master, then he was brave. Those who dare to call his master a fat man in this empire are no more than 10 people. Did this mean that the person in front of him was related to his master? The man bowed to Zhuo Fan, saying that his master returned yesterday and did not mention any injuries. This surprised Zhuo Fan, and he asked if this was really the case. The butler laughed. He said it must have affected his master's self-esteem, which is why he didn't mention it. The guy said that yesterday he struck the fat man more than 30 blows and kicked him dozens of times. How then can he be okay? The guy added that it couldn't be that the fat man was fine. Zhuo Fan said he was just pretending. He just didn't want his subordinates to laugh at him. The guy also asked if the messenger knew that the old man had asked Zhuo Fan to become his disciple yesterday. The guy continued, saying that he would rather die than become a disciple of such an old man. The man fell to the floor from shock. He asked Zhuo Fan in a trembling voice, not believing if Fan Qiubai really wanted to take the guy as his disciple. Zhuo Fan looked at him viciously, thinking about how this servant could play with him like that. However, the entire Luo family, not just the butler Zhuo Fan and Lady Luo, arrived at that fat man's estate. The messenger showed them the way, escorting them straight to the main hall. As soon as they walked through the garden to the main house, Zhuo Fan told Mrs. Luo that from now on, she was in charge of negotiations. This surprised the girl, as it surprised the young gentleman. The boy started to ask what brother Zhuo was up to, but stopped and said that he understood everything. She thought to herself that after all these months, she was worried that everyone in Feng City would find out that Zhuo Fan was the real leader of the Luo family. The girl also thought that she had no idea what would happen if people from the imperial families found out about it. But the girl knew that Zhuo Fan did not want to be considered a leader, so he remained in the shadows. Yunqin realized that Zhuo Fan wanted to tell everyone that the true leader of the Luo family still bears the surname Luo. In her mind, the young lady thanked Zhuo Fan very much. A delegation from the Luo family approached the gazebo, where they were led by an attendant who said that the conversation would be there. The fat man and his teacher were already waiting for them in the gazebo. But the Luo family was surprised that the elder of Black Wind Mountain was also sitting there, along with his daughter Miss Lei, and their maid Xiao Qi. Zhuo Fan suggested that this meeting was organized for the leaders of the three families. Yunqin he told her not to let them look down on the Luo family. The attendant pointed to the gazebo, telling the Luo family to pass by, and he left. This surprised the fat man. He couldn't understand since when the Imperial Guard had become so polite. The head of the Kai family and his son were also surprised why only his family, which is the first in Feng City, is being treated so badly. When the Luo family came closer to the gazebo, they all bowed. Yunqin introduced herself and said that she welcomed the third prince. The third prince invited them to sit down politely. He was surprised that the butler Zhuo Fan, with whom he had fought yesterday, was also bowing. Soon realized that this was a manifestation of loyalty. The guy noticed that Zhuo Fan acted as a defender of the safety and honor of his mistress. Fan Qiubai, watching this picture, thought that Zhuo Fan was really a valuable butler. The fat man spoke. He said that today the third prince invited 3 family leaders to his house because the emperor ordered them to reveal a 1,000-year-old secret. All 3 families were very surprised. He added that they should compliment and always support each other. Furthermore, they were not supposed to leave Feng City until the pearl began to shine. Soon addressed the Luo family, the Kai family and the Lei family, saying that they, like the 7 families, are the founders of the empire. This information surprised everyone in the gazebo. Yunqin thought that if this was true, then she couldn't understand why they had fallen to the point of becoming such a small family. The third prince continued. He apologized to everyone, saying that it was his Yuan family's duty to all of them. He added that during the creation of the Tianyu Empire, its foundation was unstable, and chaos reigned in society. Sung said that no one knew that in 20 years these 7 families would grow and become stronger. The struggle for personal interests, which led to numerous wars. And in the end, the 7 families realized that there was no point in this war, and eventually agreed to make peace. The third prince summed up that this war was a real disaster, because the national power has decreased 3 times, which has led to numerous invasions. Zhuo Fan asked a question, how it all relates to their families. Sung replied that to be honest, their 3 families are the founders and elders of the central court. If their family were in the same position as in those days, then he is sure they would be on par with the 4 pillars of their empire. This information surprised everyone again. What are these 4 pillars? The 4 pillars are the pillars of the Tianyu Empire. They were a source of military, economic, political and state power, as well as many other things. There were rumors that the pillars were so strong and powerful that they kept even the imperial family in fear. Yunshin reflected that she had never thought that her ancestors were so great that they could have power on par with the four pillars. The third prince said that the Order of Pearls is an order designed to prevent war within the 7 families, so the imperial family has a secret agreement with the ancestors of these 3 families. When the 7 families fight each other again, the imperial family will unite these 3 families into one, so they will become on par with the 7 families. But Yunshin said that even if the 8th family appeared, she wouldn't be able to stop the 7 families. Zhuo explained to her that the 8th family shouldn't stop them. It will have to balance the forces of all sides. The guy added that usually, when there is a war, one side always has an absolute advantage in strength. So if 2 powerful sides collide, everything is easily solved. Zhuo said that in the end, no one wants to lose and incur losses because of this. The third prince said that Butler Zhuo is indeed a genius. The guy added that it was not surprising that the Luo family would become great again in his hands. Zhuo turned to the third prince, asking how the imperial family was going to make an 8th family out of them without putting them in danger. Sung replied that he deserved to be his family's butler. Zhuo only said that if they wanted their family to get up from their knees, then they could rely on the strength of the imperial family. The guy explained that the most difficult thing is to become stronger without arousing suspicion. The butler asked if the 7 families would allow them to build up their strength without doing anything. At this time, Fang Qiubai was thinking that the butler of the Luo family was very smart. The head of the Kai family thought that such a talent as a guy can be found once in 1,000 years. The third prince interrupted everyone's thoughts by saying that this was planned when the secret order was created. He asked how they think they are the most important thing in the family. Provided them with options in the form of spiritual stones, medicinal herbs. But these are just resources. The guy added that strength is the most important thing. Sung said that there are 9 elders in the Kaianlong Pavilion and they are all strong. And there are also 12 strong elders in the Human Valley. He explained that each family of the 7 imperial families has a significant power. He also explained that there are experts invited by each family. This is their trump card up their sleeve. The guy said that in order not to disturb the 7 families, Emperor Tezu confiscated the property of their families. And since the families didn't have good martial arts skills, the 7 families wouldn't keep an eye on them. Sung explained that for this reason the property of their families was confiscated 500 years ago. He said that the 7 families definitely don't expect that these 3 families still have low-level mysterious martial arts. The fat man said that as long as these 3 families had these martial arts, they could increase their strength. And again, shock appeared on the faces of all the representatives of the 3 families. The heads of the Luo, Lei and Kai families simultaneously asked where they got the mysterious martial arts from. Zhuo smiled a little and said to himself that now he finally understood everything. The third prince held out his palm with a golden scroll. The guy said that this is a secret method of combining low-level skills. Zhuo raised his voice, saying that in other words, the dragon paw from the Luo family, the resolving wind legs of the Kai family, the thunder fingers from the Lei family are one martial art. Sung happily said that he did not expect such a thing from the butler Zhuo. He added that the guy was just incredible. The third prince could not have thought that Zhuo knew about this. Zhuo thought that perhaps the method of separating and combining martial arts is a rare technique in this place. But every sect in the sacred land knows this technique. The third prince spoke to the 3 family leaders. He asked to see their family martial arts. The head of the Black Wind, Elder Lei, said that he was unable to preserve the family martial art. The man explained that it was stolen by the people of the Human Valley. The head of the Kai family also addressed His Highness. The man bowed and said that in fact the same thing happened to him. The third prince was surprised to hear these 2 pieces of news. He couldn't figure out how they were stolen. Zhuo only smiled at this. The third prince was furious. He shouted, asking them how they think they deserve to be the leaders of their families. The fat man shouted that they had to protect the family martial arts, even if it would be at the cost of their lives. Both heads fell to their knees and begged for forgiveness. The head of the Kai family asked that His Highness couldn't the imperial family give them the mysterious martial arts again. This angered Sung even more. The third prince was shouting about how they really think that the mysterious martial art is like cabbage that is sold in the market. The fat man began to wander from side to side, wondering what they should do now. With the information revealed, it turned out that the secret order of pearls was completely destroyed. And then Zhuo realized that his time had come. The guy took out these secret martial techniques from the storage ring and added that he had found their martial arts. The third prince happily ran up and hugged the butler, even though he protested against hugging. Sung happily said that the butler Zhuo was really a great person. The fat man added that if it were not for him, the guy would not have been able to complete the task that his father would have given him. Therefore, he is now in debt. Zhuo Fan calmly told him that he was doing it all for the Luo family. The prince added that not only for the Luo family, but also for him, the prince. Then he continued the previously forgotten conversation. He said that since all the martial arts are here, they will be able to combine them. Therefore, according to the words of the emperor of those times Tezu, when creating the order, the other two families should join the strongest. The guy started to say that from now on they would be under the same surname. But then the head of the Kai family interrupted the prince. He said that only his Kai family remained, which is still strong and thriving. Therefore, the head of the Kai family proposed to unite these families with the Kai family as its head. Elder Lei grabbed his hand, asking that Kai Rong wanted to become the head of the family based on his strength alone. The man pulled his hand away. The head of the Kai family asked what was wrong with his desire. After all, in terms of strength, his Kai family is now the strongest family. Behind him, Miss La turned to Mr. Kai. She said that this month the girl recruited recruits and called the Black Wind people who were very far away. She added that they had at least 500 or 600 people now, and most of them were at the Kai gathering stage. Miss Lei explained that in terms of strength, the Kai family could not be their opponent. To this, the head of the Kai family shouted to them that they were just mountain bandits. So how can they compare to an elite family like the Kai family? Calming down a little, he added that if they let the Lei family become the new head, then he was afraid that it would be a laughing stock for the family of families. These words angered Miss La. She threw a death threat to a man for his words in the direction of her family. But the head of the Kai family insulted them again, asking if he was not telling the truth, calling them mountain bandits. All the members of the Luo family who were watching quietly had their own thoughts about this situation. Zhuo Fan thought that this family had just been formed, and they had already had a fight. The guy believed that this would not lead to anything good. Miss Luo was thinking that these two families were arguing with each other and they didn't care about the opinion of the Luo family at all. She was annoyed by their arrogant behavior. Here, young Mr. Luo slammed his hand on the table, attracting the attention of everyone in the gazebo. He shouted loudly, asking what they were all talking about here. The boy raised his little fist and said that out of 3 families, there is only one family that has the right to become its head, and he proudly declared that it was his Luo family. Everyone looked at young Mr. Luo in surprise. The boy made his speech and stood in a confident pose, looking condescendingly at everyone. The son of the Kai family shouted, pointing at the boy. He said how this kid could say such a thing. The guy pointed out that the Luo family is the weakest among these 3 families. Copying Zhuo Fan's behavior, in a calm tone, the boy said that his Luo family had nothing, no money, no medicine. In the family, they rely only on each other. After a dramatic pause, the boy added that they are the strongest among the 3 families. He backed it up with the fact that they have a butler, Zhuo. The head of the Kai family said that he was just a butler. He added that whether some subordinate like him would be able to deserve what the Kai family has achieved over the years. But they didn't let him finish. Zhuo Fan surprised everyone by putting an agreement on the table with a loud bang. The third prince couldn't believe his eyes, wondering what it was. The butler said that this is an alliance agreement between the Luo family and the Kaianlong Pavilion. His teacher himself looked at it all and thought that the Kaianlong Pavilion was one of the 7 imperial families. For the imperial family to form an alliance with a small family. Out loud, the man asked Zhuo Fan how he managed to achieve this. The butler easily replied that he was only recognized and appreciated as a hero. The guy added that he would tell everyone something now. Zhuo Fan looked at the prince and said that it was only a matter of time before the Luo family entered the imperial family ranks. The guy also said that the Luo family didn't need their help. He added with a grin on his face that on the contrary, they would only interfere with them. The third prince, after listening to the young man's speech, said that he was very sorry that the butler Zhuo was in such a small family, and offered to join him. This angered the head of the Kai family. He shouted what Prince Tsung was saying. In his thoughts, the man thought that this Zhuo Fan was really so strong. Yunshin was about to say something, but the butler stopped her by raising his hand. Calmly and without arrogance, Zhuo Fan said to the third prince that he had a good reputation. However, he will remain in the Luo family. The prince took a deep breath and said that everything was decided. Putting his hand on the table, Tsung declared that from now on, the Luo family would be at the head of 3 families. The son of the head of the Kai family shouted indignantly, addressing the third prince. But when Prince Tsuna shifted his gaze, he saw that he was very angry. Therefore, the father and son of the Kai family quickly bowed and said in unison that the Kai family was delighted and sincerely wished to help the Luo family. The prince turned to the Lei family, but they calmly and without irritation bowed and told His Highness to be confident in them. Elder Lei added that this would be his atonement for the sin he had committed by allowing the Luo family to be destroyed in Gyunzhuang. The third prince said that since no one objected, which was fine, then they would start uniting. All three families agreed. They left the gazebo, bowing and asking permission to leave. Prince soon let them go, but he asked the butler Zhuo to stay. Lady Luo looked at the prince with excitement and a little fear, and Zhuo Fan looked with a little surprise. The guy took Zhuo Fan somewhere in the forest. The butler began to think that the fat man decided to get even for yesterday's duel. He tried to talk to the prince, but the latter interrupted him, turning to him with a smile, saying that the butler had nothing to worry about. He said that what he would say now, Butler Luo would just have to repeat after him. He raised 2 fingers to the sky and said that he, the third prince of the Tianyu Yuan-Su Empire, swears by heaven. From today on, he and Zhuo Fan will become brothers. After finishing his fiery speech, the prince pointed his finger at the butler and told him to hurry up, because it was his turn. Zhuo Fan thought that at least he was still a little confused, but repeating the words after the prince may be useful. Therefore, he raised his hand up. Also folding his hand, he said the same thing as the prince, but added that if the prince would never betray him, then Fan would not do it. The prince, after his speech, said that Zhuo Fan is really a very meticulous person. The butler answered him with a smile. It's not because he doesn't believe him, but because rivers and lakes are too dangerous. The prince said that as it pleases the butler Luo. He added that in the end, he feels much better now that he has become his brother. Then Sung asked if Fan remembered their bet yesterday. He said that the one who lost should refuse to marry Sister Kui. He made a dying pained look and said that now that they were brothers, he would be able to give up Sister Kui. But then, Zhuo Fan realized that he had to tell the truth. The butler, Zhuo, told Prince Sung that there was really nothing between him and Miss Lung, and that the girl said so that the prince would leave her alone. This news undoubtedly pleased the young man. The prince was happy. He laughed and said that Zhuo Fan was really his brother. But then Zhuo Fan pulled him out of his dreams. The butler asked the prince what the true purpose of the Order of the Pearl was. The third prince hesitated slightly, and then replied that he had already told his brother everything. Zhuo Fan said that this plan is incredible, and the goals that need to be achieved can indeed be justified. The truth was one thing, but the butler said that the purpose of this plan is too small. And as a poet, he doubts that this is the true task set by the emperor. Butler Luo thought that every emperor is a great hero and has great goals. He still didn't believe the prince's words. There must be some secret in this order of pearls. Zhuo Fan thought that the prince might not know anything about it. Or maybe on the contrary, it was his acting skills too great. The butler said that since the secret order had been in the shadows for over 1,000 years, how did the Human Valley find out about it then? He added that if you think about it, the Human Valley did everything to stop the creation of the order. The guy noticed that in order not to be suspected, they went to the Imperial Palace to complain about these incidents so that they would not be suspected. The fat man thought about it, saying that it was impossible. He said that there are many eyes and ears in the Imperial City. Perhaps information about the secret order has already leaked. Zhuo Fan noticed that the information had been hidden for thousands of years, but now, assuming that the information about the secret order was revealed intentionally. In his mind, he was almost sure of it. He added that he didn't really care. The butler remarked that as long as it was good for the Luo family, then he wouldn't think about such things, saying that it was bothering him. Zhuo Fan left after saying goodbye to the fat man. And the prince, left alone with himself, said that the butler was too smart. Then teacher Tsuna appeared abruptly next to him. He said that the more he looks at Zhuo Fan, the more he feels like he looks like someone else. The prince asked him who. The teacher replied that Zhu Chengfeng. This surprised Sung because it is the name of the head of the 4 pillars. The teacher added that since Sung is Fan's brother from now on, this is the right choice that the fat man has made in his whole life, because someday he will become a member of the 4 pillars and help Sung control the world.